Anyone who's been to their fair share of funerals knows, the scariest thing in this world isn't meeting your maker. It's the endless, inescapable loop of coming back to life. Because everyone here is locked away in a giant iron box of a prison. Enduring 25 hours of agony a day. And when you finally break, you just get forcefully reset, over and over again. But not you. You went completely against the grain, and treated this hellhole as your own personal, free training ground. They all laughed and called you a madman, but your plan? It was to save all of humanity. Hey, he's alive, he's finally breathing. Your eyes snap open, and you gasp desperately for air. Your name is Chen Fan. Just a second ago, you were blasted to ashes while trying to tank a heavenly tribulation at the nascent soul stage. But now, you find yourself trapped in some pitch-black, godforsaken hellhole. Right across the room, man, nothing but skin and bones, is staring at you with sheer, unhinged obsession in his eyes. Brother, you're awake, I'm the one who brought you back. Tell me, do you remember your name? You ignore him completely, pure instinct kicks in, and you try to channel your energy to strike. But, nothing happens, you're completely empty inside, that late-stage nascent soul power you were so damn proud of? Gone, wiped completely clean. You are nothing but an ordinary mortal now. Hey, why aren't you saying anything? Seeing your silence, the man's voice immediately turns frantic and hostile. I'm asking you a question. What's your name? I need to verify who you are and log it in. If I don't register you, neither of us gets to eat or drink. He's trying to fish for information, you think, locking eyes with him. Your mind races. Whatever this place is, it is seriously messed up. And this guy? Definitely not someone to trust. You just let out a cold smirk. My head is pounding. Get me some water. We'll talk after I drink. At that, the guy instantly loses his mind, shrinking back like he's terrified of some invisible monster. He screams at you, completely hysterical. Why can't you just play along? Why won't you just cooperate? Suddenly, massive mechanical arms crash down from the ceiling, slamming the guy face first into the dirt and pinning him down. I'm sorry, please don't zap me. No, please, zap. A blinding blue light erupts in the room, and you instinctively throw yourself into the corner. You watch in horror as high-voltage currents rip through the man's body. After a few agonizing seconds of violent convulsions, the sickening smell of burnt flesh fills the air. The man is nothing but a charred husk. Dead as a doornail, but right after, a dead, robotic voice echoes through the room. Subject resurrected, Deng Bin. Born, August 1st, 2035. Region, Southeast Asia. Your pupils shrink to pinpricks. What the hell does that mean? A bizarre geometric array lights up with a faint glow, and a human body is reconstructed entirely out of thin air. Deng Bin, the very same guy who was just fried to a crisp, is now standing right in front of you, without a single scratch. Resurrection, with absolutely zero cost. Before you can even process the sheer insanity of it, the newly revived Deng Bin cracks his neck, shooting you a twisted grin. See that? According to the rules, if I can't squeeze a name out of you, the tower's claws are gonna take me out for good. His tone instantly shifts, his eyes locking onto yours with dead seriousness. And next, it's your turn. He slowly tilts his head up, glaring at the ceiling. Swoosh. The robotic arm shoots out again, not giving you a single second to react. It pins you dead against the wall. Deng Bin slowly strolls over to a hidden compartment and pulls out his tools. Don't blame me. Everyone in the tower has to go through this. He heats the tool until it's glowing red, and steps right up to your face. When I start torturing you in a minute, don't try to play tough. Spill all the names of your parents, relatives, and friends. Every single one of them. Got it? Your mind suddenly reels with a loud buzz. In a flash, it all makes sense. You want to torture me. To drag out the names of my loved ones, just so you can resurrect them into this hellhole to suffer too? You glare daggers at him. That's right. Deng Bin looks back with a sick excitement, desperate to see the terror on your face. This godforsaken place is called the Tower, and its only purpose is to torture people. Burning, electrocution, non-stop every single day. And if you die, they just bring you back to life and torture you all over again. It never ends. Oh, and by the way, they don't give you food or water here. So not only will you be tortured, you'll also starve and dehydrate to death, only to be revived again. He eagerly raises the searing hot tool, and slams it right against your chest without hesitation. Your flesh is instantly seared, the sickening stench of burning flesh shooting straight to your brain. How does that feel? Deng Bin pants heavily, leaning in with manic eyes. Ready to talk now? But you don't even bat an eyelid. You just stare at him with dead, icy eyes, looking at him like he's nothing but a piece of trash. Your physical cultivation might be gone, but the terrifying spiritual soul you forged over centuries in the nascent soul realm is still intact. Shutting off your senses and blocking out pain is as easy as breathing to you. Physical torture? That's it? Why you don't feel any pain? The twisted grin on Deng Bin's face completely freezes. His eyes nearly popping out of his head, he leans in ridiculously close to you. Realizing that you haven't broken a single drop of sweat. Hey, a mocking smirk creeps up the corner of your lips. You don't even curse at him, but the sheer aura and that terrifying glare are enough to absolutely shatter Deng Bin's mental defenses. Deng Bin's knees give way, and he drops straight to his knees before you, shaking like a leaf, all his previous arrogance completely vanishing as he slams his forehead into the ground over and over again. Teach me. Master, I'm begging you, please teach me how to block out the pain. If you just teach me, I'll do whatever you want. Anything. The tension instantly turns into pure satisfaction. You look down on this pathetic weakling with absolute disdain. You want to learn? You ask, your voice cold as ice. Because sooner or later, you're gonna be the one getting tortured like this, right? Yes, exactly. Dangbin nods frantically. The torture in this tower, it rotates. Right now, I'm the one torturing you. But in 10 or 20 years, it'll be someone else's turn to torture me. It literally never ends. They say the person who's been here the longest has been locked up for over 2,000 years. Over 2,000 years. You can't end it, and you can't even lose your mind. Being tortured while wide awake forever. Staying alive is far more terrifying than just dying. No wonder your trick of blocking out the pain made him surrender instantly. You seized the chance to press him, since resurrecting someone means you need their name, and you don't even know what I'm called. How exactly did you wake me up? Brute force? I used the brute force method. Dangbin didn't dare hide a thing. As long as you give an exact, unambiguous condition, they can be brought back. Like, if I said the last name is Chen, born on a specific year, month, and minute. If you were the only person with the last name Chen born in that exact minute, the condition is met. Then, the array can just yank you right over here. If it didn't work, I just swapped the last name. Trying every single common name, one by one. That is insane dedication. As long as you have infinite time, this array could dig up the entire 18 generations of human ancestors. Right at that moment, the electronic screen on the wall suddenly lit up, flashing a glaring red number, 53%. He violently scrambled up from the floor, sheer panic returning to his eyes. No, I can't keep chatting with you. He snatched up his tools, and like a complete madman, started mutilating your body all over again. Along with the sickening sound of flesh tearing, the number on the screen jumped to 54%. See that? Dangbin roared, his eyes bloodshot. As long as I torture you, the number goes up. My mission is to make sure it stays above 50% forever. If it drops any lower, the mechanical arm is gonna completely wipe me out. He gasped for air, gripping the weapon for dear life. To hit the quota, I have to torture you for 15 hours every single day, and you get completely wiped out once a day. Since there's no food or water in here, I have to kill myself every 2 days just to reset my own body. For 3 whole years, you have been trapped in here, treated like an animal waiting for slaughter, tortured over and over again for 3 whole years. Every single time you die, you just get dragged right back by this damn array. This hellhole is so sealed up, not even a single fly could get in. This so-called tower is nothing but an airtight, inescapable prison. You've tried absolutely everything to find a way out, but the result? There are absolutely 0 flaws. Phew, 90%. That's about enough. Inside the room, Dangbin collapsed onto the floor like a lifeless hound, staring at you with a face full of utter exhaustion and pure envy. Man, your trick for not feeling pain is absolutely insane. I'm working myself half to death torturing you, and you don't even let out a single peep. He rolled over, trying to find a somewhat comfortable spot. I can't hold on anymore. Gonna sleep for a bit. Same old rule. Wake me up when the number drops to 50%. Just go to sleep, you replied with a dead cold tone. Your battered and broken mortal body finally couldn't take it anymore. Everything went pitch black as the last ounce of life faded away. The familiar robotic voice echoed. Target for resurrection. Last name, Chen. The geometric array on the floor started glowing faintly. Your physical body was completely reconstructed once again. The very split second you opened your eyes, you didn't even glance at Dangbin snoring in the corner. You just stared dead straight at the ceiling. According to the pattern you had figured out using your own life over the past 3 years. From the moment you revive to the moment the mechanical arm drops down to grab you, there is a blind spot of exactly 1.5 minutes. Now is the time. Without a single moment of hesitation, you formed your fingers into a blade and struck frantically at your own major pressure points. Blood-burning art. This is a secret technique you stole from the cultivation world, burning up every last drop of your vital essence to trade for one single, ultimate burst of power. Boom! Blinding golden mist erupts from every pore in your body. Even though you're just immortal right now, the sheer power you bought by burning away your life force in this split second is violently terrifying. You don't even spare a single glance. Your whole body blurs into a flashing afterimage, hurtling straight towards that heavy alloy door that's been locked tight for 3 long years. Smash. A deafening, explosive crash echoes out. That incredibly thick alloy door is violently shattered into jagged pieces by a single punch from you. At the exact same time, the massive recoil force completely shatters your right arm. The sickening crunch of snapping bones and tearing muscles is enough to make anyone cringe, but you couldn't care less. The massive explosion from the door scares Dangbin so badly he practically jumps out of his skin. He stares at you, completely dumbfounded. What the hell are you doing? Time is running out. Without even looking back, you charge straight out of the room, completely covered in a blazing golden aura. But, just outside the door, is an endless, sprawling metal corridor. Both sides are lined with countless, tightly packed iron cells. Blood-curdling, agonizing screams echo continuously from all directions. This living hell is so much bigger than you ever imagined. You haven't even taken 2 steps before several emotionless guards suddenly warp into the hallway, blocking both ends. Their chests don't even rise or fall. They aren't breathing. They aren't even human. These androids simultaneously raise the metal spheres in their hands. The very next second, hundreds of crimson lasers sweep out, weaving together like a deadly, violent rainstorm. At your current speed, you'd need to be at least at the Foundation establishment stage to even think about dodging this. But right now, you're just a fragile mortal, burning through the last of your life force. There's no miracle here. In an instant, you are completely obliterated by the blistering heat of the lasers. Resurrected subject. Last name, Chen. You are standing right back in the middle of the room's formation, completely unharmed once again. That massive alloy door you just destroyed with everything you had, is somehow shining, as good as new. There's not even a single scratch left on it. The higher-ups running this tower couldn't even be bothered to show their faces. It's as if your earth-shattering jailbreak was nothing more than a speck of dust for them to casually brush off. You just stare deathly hard at that door, your chest heaving heavily. You can't just lay low, and you sure as hell can't escape. Over in the corner, Deng Bin is staring at you like you're some kind of freakish monster. It takes him forever to finally choke out. How the hell did you just break out of here? You take a long, deep breath, forcing your raging emotions down. Those guards out there, they aren't human, and the weapons they're holding definitely aren't from this era. Deng Bin swallows hard, letting out a bitter laugh. So, you actually figured that out, huh? The people in the tower call them synthetics. Just save your breath, he mutters, slumping hopelessly against the wall. His eyes are filled with pure despair. I've kept track. I've been locked up in here for at least 165 years. As death row inmates have whispered about it a million times. Absolutely no one can escape. There's not even a theoretical plan. Hasn't anyone from the outside tried a prison break? You ask coldly. A prison break for what? Deng Bin shakes his head repeatedly. This damn tower was built over 2,000 years ago. We all figure. The outside world was probably destroyed by war a long, long time ago. Even if you actually managed to escape, there probably isn't a single living soul left out there. This is just a living hell with no survivors. A complete dead end. The endless torture of infinite resets. And their absolutely crushing, overwhelming power. Coupled with an outside world that might already be completely dead, you lean against the cold wall. Yet a cold sneer tugs at the corner of your mouth. Since going head to head is a dead end, then let's glitch the system. I'm going to put myself into a deep sleep. You state, staring at Deng Bin. Your tone is casual as if you were deciding what to eat for dinner. Deng Bin is dumbfounded. How are you gonna do that? My soul is far stronger than an ordinary person's. You can't be bothered to explain the basic logic of the cultivation world to him, so you just lay out the plan. I can voluntarily shut down my consciousness and enter a deep dormant state. That way, I won't feel a thing from the outside world. Even if I'm stuck in this tower for decades or hundreds of years. Or even 1,000 years, it will pass in the blink of an eye. You stare at him intently, laying down the rules. If a riot breaks out in the tower, or if someone from the outside comes to rescue us, you must kill me immediately. The moment my life force drops to 0, the tower will reset my physical state. Which will force me to wake up. Got it? Wait for someone to rescue us? Deng Bin gives a bitter laugh. I'd have better luck praying for the earth to just explode on the spot. It's just a what if. But if the chance ever comes, this is our only trump card. You toss out the bait. As long as you keep an eye on things for me. Once we get out of here, I'll teach you how to cultivate. The real deal. Flying through the sky, moving mountains. Deng Bin's eyes instantly light up. After seeing all the insane things you've pulled off lately, he practically worships you as a god anyway. It's a deal. If anything happens, I'll kill you right away. You don't waste another word. Shutting your eyes, you forcefully channel a divine art that usually only a soul formation grandmaster could pull off. Astral projection. Even as a reincarnated nascent soul expert, skipping a realm to use this move is incredibly reckless. But in here, it happens to be the ultimate cheat code to escape endless torture. Your head slumps to the side, and you go completely still. Mustering his courage, Deng Bin creeps over to check your breathing. You're still breathing. You're not dead, which means you haven't triggered the tower's respawn mechanism. He actually glitched it. Deng Bin stares at you, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. And just like that, this routine becomes your ultimate hack. Every single day, Deng Bin tortures you until your life force fades away. You wake up from the respawn for 10 minutes, and then you detach your soul all over again. Basically putting yourself in AFK mode. Time flies by. In the blink of an eye, over 10 years have passed. Inside this pitch-black metal box, time is nothing but a joke. Until one day, right after you respawn, you open your eyes to see a glowing, blood-red countdown ticking on the wall's digital screen. 6 hours, 32 minutes, and 17 seconds. You grab the snoring Deng Bin from the corner and yank him up. Wake up, look at the screen. Deng Bin groggily opens his eyes. The second his gaze locks onto those numbers, his face goes as pale as a sheet. We're done for. We are totally done for. Time's up. It's shifting to the next cycle. What do you mean? You furrow your brows. My turn to torture you? No. The tower is going to throw me into another room, and let someone else torture me. Deng Bin's voice was shaking. Brother, you have no idea how twisted the people in this tower are. The ones locked up for 100 or 200 years are considered normal. But the ones locked up for thousands of years, they can't even be called human anymore. They're absolute monsters. He dropped heavily to his knees right in front of you. clinging desperately to your legs, practically groveling. Brother, that trick of yours to not feel pain, can you really not teach it to me? I'm begging you, I really can't. You shook your head. It wasn't just an excuse. A mortal body simply couldn't handle the strain of a nascent soul-tier spirit technique. The light in Dang Bin's eyes died completely. He collapsed onto the floor like a puddle of mud. Every breath he took heavy with absolute despair. Using the little time you had left, you finally asked what had been bothering you. Back then, why did you go through all that trouble using the brute force method to wake me up? What were you after? For the reward. Dang Bin stared blankly ahead. He answered numbly, if you successfully resurrect a newcomer, the tower gives you an extra year or two as an abuser, letting you delay your own torture. Sometimes they even toss you a sip of water, a bite of food, or even send a woman in. Brother, I haven't had a single drop of water in decades. Do you have any idea how much I craved it? You stayed silent. The countdown kept ticking away, second by second. With 30 minutes left, Dang Bin finally broke down completely. He buried his face in his hands, wailing out loud like an animal waiting for the slaughter. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. 20 years. In the next cycle, I'm going to be tortured ruthlessly for 20 straight years. Just let it end. I dream of it just ending completely. You watched him quietly. This was the pathetic struggle of the weak against absolute power. 5 minutes left. Dang Bin suddenly snapped his head up, his face covered in snot and tears. Staring at you like a drowning man clutching at his very last straw. You're no ordinary guy. You'll definitely be able to escape, right? Maybe. You didn't give him a definitive answer. Remember my name? I'm begging you, carve it into your brain. Dang Bin roared at you like a madman. Terrified you might forget even a single syllable. My name is Dang Bin. Bin as in guest. Born on August 1st, 2035. At 9:13 in the morning. If you manage to escape, you have to bring me back to life. I'll be your loyal subordinate for all of eternity. I'll be your absolute slave. Do you hear me? I promise you. You looked straight into his eyes. If I make it out of here, I'll pull you out too. And then, the countdown hit absolute zero. The temperature in the room skyrocketed. In a flash, the air became as blindingly hot as a steel furnace. With zero chance to fight back, you and Dang Bin were instantly incinerated into charred ash. Subject resurrected. The cold, robotic voice echoed once again. You forced your eyes open, gasping heavily for air. The room was exactly the same as before. But in the corner, Dang Bin was nowhere to be found. The monitor lit up again. On the left side, the screen was densely packed with hundreds of common surnames. On the right, birth dates are scrolling endlessly. The tower is rushing you, pushing you to keep playing its sick little game, trading human lives for rewards. You want me to be your slave? In your dreams, you let out a cold laugh, and just flat out ignore the screen, sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Who knows how much time passes? Eventually, the tower loses its patience. Click, the screen snaps off, and then, that dreadful, robotic voice echoes through the room. Subject for resurrection. Li Shu, born March 13, 1980, at 9:00 hours. Attempt 2. Attempt 100. The tower is just brute forcing it now. Like a tireless machine, it repeats the name and date, over and over again. You just sit there, watching coldly. A whole month goes by. Suddenly, the geometric circle on the floor erupts in a blinding light. A phantom silhouette thrashes violently inside it, until it finally takes physical form, slamming heavily onto the floor. Meet your new cellmate, Li Shu. He's here. The light flashes, and Li Shu's body is fully reconstructed. But the second he hits the ground, he doesn't even glance at you. He immediately bites down hard on his own finger, drops to the floor like a total maniac, and frantically starts writing numbers with his glowing golden blood. 39, 8, 15. He writes like his life depends on it, muttering seconds under his breath like a psycho. 50, 51, 52. You just stare blankly at this freak show. It isn't until the screen on the wall lights up with 60% that he finally lets out a huge sigh of relief, quickly slapping down a 22 at the end. 50. Then, in a flash, a robotic arm shoots down from the ceiling and violently pins him against the wall. The hell are you writing those numbers for? You raise an eyebrow. Li Shu keeps his eyes glued to the golden numbers on the floor, gasping for air. I was afraid you'd wipe them away. Looks like you're new to the tower, and your brain is still relatively normal. You don't say a word. The number on the screen starts ticking down, dropping from 60%. Fast approaching 50%. According to the tower's sick rules, you are the designated torturer right now. If you don't hurt him, you get punished. Do it. Seeing the number about to hit the red line, Li Shu starts panicking. If you don't torture me right now, that robotic arm is gonna fry you to a crisp. You don't even bat an eye. Trying to make me act as free labor for this garbage tower? Screw that. The worst it can do is reset my state. I can't feel a damn bit of pain anyway. BZZZT. Blinding blue arcs of electricity erupt instantly. High voltage violently rips through your body. The stench of burnt flesh fills the room in seconds. Li Shu's eyes go wide in shock. He expected you to scream, to beg for mercy. But you just lay there in the electrical storm, completely expressionless. You don't even flinch, even in the very last second, as your charred body begins to disintegrate. The way you look at him is like you're looking at absolute dirt. A stare full of sheer mockery and terrifying dominance. Subject for resurrection. Chen. The light flashed once more. You respawned with full health, casually cracking your neck like it was nothing. Li Shu was completely dumbfounded, his voice trembling. You can't feel the pain? Cut the crap. You let out a cold sneer, cutting straight to the chase. The numbers on the ground. What the hell are they for? Thoroughly intimidated by your inhuman, tough guy demeanor, Li Shu didn't dare play any more mind games, and just spilled everything. That's the exact time we entered this layer of the loop. He gulped hard, staring dead at you. August 15th, year 39. 14 hours, 22 minutes, and 50 seconds. According to my calculations, the loop intervals in the tower are always whole numbers. As long as we have this absolutely precise starting point, I can pinpoint the exact time the next loop breaks out. So what if you can? You asked coldly. How do we escape? By exploiting the loopholes and the synthetic guards. Li Shu's eyes burned with a fanatical light. Those synthetics don't have any emotions at all. They just rigidly follow their programming. As long as it's not strictly written in their rulebook. Even if we plot a prison break out loud right now, there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. And just like that, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a whole year had passed. Every day, you'd rather get electrocuted to a crisp by the robotic arms than bother torturing Li Shu. Since you had blocked out all pain anyway, just sitting around as a bystander waiting to die was a hell of a lot better than being a corporate slave for the tower. But this unintentional behavior of yours completely shattered Li Shu's last lines of defense. He became absolutely convinced that you were an ultimate badass, and that you had shown him mercy by sparing his life. Finally, he laid out his real, ultimate trump card. Have you ever heard of the space station? Li Shu lowered his voice, trembling with sheer excitement. Up in outer space, there are tons of survivors up there who managed to escape the tower. A space station. You sharply grasped the core of it all. Your brain went into overdrive. So, we kill ourselves. And let the people up there resurrect us on their end. Smart. Li Shu excitedly slapped his thigh. Rather than calling it a prison break, it's more like the space station is snatching people right out of the tower's hands. He explained, panting heavily. The machines on the space station have been constantly going through a master list of surnames and birth years. Starting from the year 1900, they are brute forcing the resurrection of the entire human race. The exact moment the space station calls out your name, if you happen to lose your life over here, the resurrection arrays on both sides will sync up. You'll be pulled straight up into space, completely breaking free from this purgatory. You immediately spotted the massive flaw in his plan. The odds are way too low. You sneered coldly, hitting the nail on the head. Across all of history, there are hundreds of billions of humans. How is that any different from hitting the jackpot in the lottery? You're looking at a 1 in a few 100,000 chance. Li Shu stared dead at you, his eyes burning with sheer obsession. Some people have been locked up in here for 1,000 years, and never once matched up with a sync window. But this is our only hope. We have to take the gamble. You stared coldly at Li Shu. What exactly is your plan? We don't rely on luck. We calculate it. A flash of cunning crossed Li Shu's eyes, his words spilling out rapidly. The space station resurrects people in a specific order. Starting from the year 1900, they go down the list of surnames. As long as we time it to the exact second they call our names. If we take ourselves out, we can glitch the system with 100% certainty. We'll get pulled up to the space station. It's all about hitting the exact time. You furrow your brows. How could you possibly know the exact minute and second the space station will call your name? What did you think I was doing when I first revived, scribbling numbers on the ground like an absolute madman? Li Shu sneers. That was my absolute baseline. August 15th, year 6139. 14 hours, 22 minutes, and 50 seconds. He points at the electronic screen on the wall. This screen drops by 1% every 36 minutes. That is our clock. The space station has a protocol. Each operator must revive 10 people every minute. Plug all that data in, and you can precisely calculate the exact moment they'll call our names. Good lord. You take a sharp, silent breath. In 1,000 years of cultivation, you've met countless mighty figures. But in terms of raw brainpower, this seemingly ordinary man standing before you is an absolute monster. Are you sure you can calculate it? You hit the core of the matter, without even pausing to work it out. He blurts it out. Right now, it is September 17th, year 6140. 13 hours, 0 minutes, and 50 seconds. I will be called this year on December 31st, at exactly 1:01 in the morning. And you, Chen Fan. He stares dead into your eyes. February 15th, year 41. 1:06 in the morning. Because of human error in their operations, I can't narrow it down to the exact second. But within that specific minute, as long as we continuously reset our status, it's a guaranteed success. Amazing. Without another word, you respectfully cup your fists toward him. With a brain like yours, you have my total respect. Soon after, time fast forwards. December 31st, year 6140. 0 hours and 1 minute. There is exactly 1 hour left until Li Shu makes his escape. You pull a blade from the hidden compartment, weighing it in your hand. You are ready to strike at a moment's notice. You memorized the formulas I taught you, right? Li Shu is sweating bullets, firing off his words like a machine gun. When you get up there, don't get cocky. The space station has moles planted by this damn tower. They specifically target escaped troublemakers like us. You have to lay low. Thanks. Good luck out there. You tighten your grip on the blade. The exact second the screen drops from 59% to 58%. Li Shu starts frantically counting the seconds. 1, 2, 3. All the way to 1109. Do it. Finish me. He snaps his head up, his eyes bloodshot. Slash. Without a single ounce of hesitation, you drive the blade deep into him. Li Shu drops dead on the spot. Resurrected subject. A cold, electronic voice echoes. Li Shu's body rematerializes inside the array. He failed. The timing was off. Again. Hurry. He roars at you the second his feet hit the ground. You raise your blade and bring it down, delivering another fatal strike. Still didn't work. He respawns on the spot again. This is a race against fate. You explode with everything you got. You strike him down hard for the third time. A few seconds later, resurrected subject, Li Shu. Born in 1980, the mechanical voice echoes once more. This time, as the blinding light fades, the cell is dead empty. Not a single soul in sight. And worse, the electronic voice starts glitching out like a broken record. It repeats Li Shu's name for 2 straight days, but it can never drag him back to this hellhole again. It actually worked. That crazy bastard really used his mortal brain to tear a hole right through this inescapable net. In the blink of an eye. It's February 15th of the following year. The synthetic guards in the tower are completely dead inside. They didn't even bother giving you a new cellmate. You just sit there, rotting away, staring a hole through the screen. 1:06 in the morning. It's time. I'm done playing your sick games. With absolute murder in your eyes, you brutally strike yourself down. At the exact same moment, without a second of hesitation, you trigger the blood ignition art. You instantly drain every last drop of your life force. Bam! You collapse into a pool of golden light. Resurrected subject, Chen Fan, a harsh flash of light. And you're standing right back in the cell, completely unharmed. First attempt failed. You curse violently in your head, enraged, but you don't waste even half a second. You grab the tool from the floor and smash it into yourself again. Second attempt, still failed. Do it again. You spiral into absolute madness, striking yourself down for the third time. Right then, everything changes. That familiar, sickening feeling of the array forcing your flesh back together? It's gone. Instead, a violent, overwhelming force grabs your soul and yanks you upward. You smash right through the metal ceiling of your cell, your spirit rocketing higher and higher. As you shoot up into the sky, you finally see the true face of this purgatory that has tortured you for over a decade. It really is a massive, black metal tower, hundreds of stories tall. Packed inside those hundreds of thousands of tiny iron boxes are living, breathing humans, suffering through endless torture. But that's not even the worst of it. When your soul finally breaks past the top of the tower and ascends into the atmosphere, looking down at the entire surface of the earth, a horrifying, bone-deep chill spreads right through your soul. As far as the eye can see, the scarred, ruined surface of the planet isn't some empty wasteland at all. It is covered in a dense, towering forest of steel, made of countless black towers. Tens of thousands of them. No, hundreds of thousands of them. This isn't just a prison. It's an endless, living hell, locking away hundreds of billions of human souls. Resurrected subject, Chen Fan. You snap your eyes open, but before your vision can even clear, a deafening, beast-like roar explodes right next to your ear. You whip your head around. A guy next to you, who just got resurrected, is thrashing around on the floor like a rabid animal. The poor bastard has completely lost his mind from the torture inside the tower. A bunch of massive guys rush in and violently pin him to the ground. Meanwhile, a woman in a white dress, with a sweet face, hurried over. Her voice was incredibly gentle. It's okay now. Calm down. You left the tower. You're safe. Under this highly deceptive soothing, the person actually slowly stopped struggling. The woman stood up, turned around, and looked at you. Even after being used to seeing crazy scenes, the professional smile on her lips remained absolutely flawless. Hello. Welcome to the Tianchang space station. I'm the psychologist, Yang Si. You leaned halfway against the metal wall, deliberately making your eyes look a bit dark and wary, not saying a word. Yang Si was clearly used to this, and just continued with the procedure. First time being resurrected, right? Don't be afraid. It is now the year 6141 AD. It's been over 4,000 years since your era. You wanted to use this chance to feel out the situation, so you just dropped a massive bombshell. It's not my first time. I just came out of the tower. As soon as those words came out, the entire room went dead silent. The muscle-bound guys holding down the other person all turned their heads to stare at you in unison. Yang Si froze on the spot. The fake, professional smile on her face stiffened completely. Impossible. Her eyes widened, looking you up and down like you were some kind of monster. You've been in the tower? Then how could you be so calm? You don't even have the slightest sign of an emotional breakdown. Did you get pulled up right after going in? You let out a cold laugh, your tone completely flat. I stayed there for almost 20 years. Does that count as long? A chorus of sharp gasps echoed through the room. The way Yang Si looked at you completely changed, her shock mixed with an unhideable fanaticism. 20 years? A full cycle, and you're actually a normal person? She took a deep breath, her speaking pace suddenly speeding up. I've been a psychologist here for 2 years. 9 out of 10 people fished out of the tower have to be locked up in the asylum. Your mental fortitude is practically inhuman. Then, she immediately started tapping rapidly on her wristband. According to station regulations, a top-tier mentality like yours qualifies for the highest privileges. I'm going to give you an S-class rating straight away. No objections, right? If it gets me a good job, sure, no objections. You replied sharply. Name? Chen Fan. You didn't hesitate. According to her explanation, the resurrection array is tied to soul recognition. So whether you use a real name or a fake one doesn't matter at all. Alright, Chen Fan, what kind of special skills did you have in the past? Yang Si stared intently at you. This determines your social class. Your mind raced. In your past life, you were an all-powerful, nascent soul master who shook the cultivation world. You didn't know a thing about music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. Seizing the fortunes of heaven and earth was what you did best. But talking about cultivating immortality with these mortals would be pure bullshit. I know a bit about herb cultivation. You picked an explanation closest to being a spirit plant farmer. Agriculture? That's highly technical work on the space station. If you mess up, you'll be in massive trouble. Yang Si frowned, but she still quickly entered it into your file. Half an hour later, you were brought to the so-called living area. For your eyes was an endless metal honeycomb. Your residence was a tiny 4-square-meter tin capsule room. Down below is a public area with absolutely zero privacy. In this hellhole, reproduction has been illegal for ages. Everyone lives practically forever anyway. So who even has the energy to fool around? Survival is the only instinct left. Fingerprints registered. Yang Si stood at the door of the capsule pod, warning you with a dead serious look. Listen up. Every single expense on this station costs credits. Eating, drinking, taking a shower, it all drains your credits. But that's not even the worst part. She pointed to the air vent right above you. Breathing uses up oxygen. Your normal metabolism releases gas. As long as you're alive and breathing, the system is automatically draining your credits. You listened, letting out a cold, silent scoff in your mind. These bastards calculated it to the absolute extreme. You literally have to pay a breathing tax just to stay alive. And what happens when the credits run out? You asked coldly. Severe punishment. They cut off your life support immediately and toss you straight back into the tower prison, Yang Si replied, her tone icy. If you want to be brought back from the tower again, you'll have to rot there for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years, just hoping to get lucky. Pausing here, she suddenly lowered her voice and leaned in close. But, if you work your ass off and save up hundreds of thousands of credits, if you ever die unexpectedly, the station will use those credits to buy you time. They'll broadcast your name nonstop for 24 hours and forcibly wake you back up. You instantly understood. Credits were literally life itself. No wonder these people work like dogs. Thanks for the heads up. You narrowed your eyes slightly, offering a completely half-hearted thanks. Yang Si stared at your chiseled profile, suddenly letting out a soft chuckle. Her gaze turned highly suggestive. I actually really like that intense, capable vibe you've got going on. If you ever get bored at night, hit me up anytime. I've already added you on your terminal. She turned and strutted away with light, swaying steps. Watching her leave, you felt absolutely nothing. In fact, you just wanted to laugh in her face. Women, in your past life in the cultivation realm, female cultivators desperate for a single pill you crafted would throw themselves at you. The line would literally stretch all the way to the heavens. You couldn't care less about this pathetic, low-level flirting. Right now, there was only one thing on your mind: power. You slammed the pod door shut, closed your eyes, and reached out to sense your surroundings. The spiritual energy was completely dead. There wasn't even a single drop of spiritual chi to cultivate with here. You snapped your eyes open, a violently dangerous glint flashing in your gaze. Without chi, normal cultivation meant just sitting around waiting to die. If you wanted to reach the peak again, there were only two paths left. First, find the right materials, track down an alchemy furnace, and forcibly craft spiritual elixirs. A chilling, sinister smirk crept up your face. Or, take the path of a demonic cultivator. But this absolute shithole was rigged with cameras everywhere. Forcing a fight would just get you targeted and blown to bits. The very next morning, you followed Yang Si down to the station's lowest greenhouse sector. The place was packed with all kinds of crops and algae, specifically grown to generate oxygen and recycle wastewater, clearly trying to get your attention. Yang Si had totally dressed up for the occasion. She was wearing thigh-high socks, radiating this playful, youthful energy. What on earth were you up to last night? As you walk down the road, she suddenly steps in front of you, blocking your path. Looking completely exasperated, she snaps, I sent you so many messages. Why didn't you reply to a single one? Playing hard to get, huh? Do I even look good today? You haven't even batted an eye at me. Your gaze is ice cold. Cut the crap. I'm gonna be extremely busy from now on. I have no time for romance. I appreciate the sentiment. Don't message me anymore. You want to survive. You want to get stronger. And women? Women will only slow down the speed at which you draw your blade. Yang Si is left completely speechless by your ruthless rejection. She bites her lip and shoots you a complicated look, before keeping her head down and leading the way. Soon after, you both arrive at the public terminal in the greenhouse lobby. New hires have to take a test. Yang Si says coldly as she enters your information. If you fail, you'll be sent down to the bottom floor to do grunt work. Just start it. You reply, not wasting any breath. The screen flickers, and a heavily pixelated, dark silhouette pops up. It's clearly one of the space station's higher-ups. Chen Fan, is it? Your file says you know a thing or two about botany. The silhouette's voice rings out with a cold, synthesized, metallic tone. I know a little, you reply. Good. The silhouette cuts right to the chase. Look at that potted aquatic plant behind you. What's its name? You turn your head and glance at it. After 1,000 years of cultivation, you've seen more magical herbs and spiritual plants than these mortals have eaten grains of rice. But as for its common name on Earth, you honestly have no idea. I don't know its name. You stare right into the screen, your tone arrogant yet utterly confident. But I know exactly what it does. It stabilizes the body's core and reduces inflammation. It has a bland taste and cooling properties. It's edible, but tastes absolutely awful, especially for women with a cold constitution. Eating too much of it will half kill them. As soon as you say this, a flash of disdain crosses young sis' eyes beside you. She probably thinks you're just making things up. However, the silhouette on the screen suddenly freezes. After dropping the connection for a full few minutes, the silhouette logs back on. Its voice now trembling with a rare hint of excitement. You've seen hornwort before? It's literally a weed you find in any ditch. Is it supposed to be rare? You shoot back. Good. The silhouette shouts, good, 3 times in a row, then quickly asks. Then what about the one to its left, the plant with 7 leaves? Panics. You blurt out without even taking a second glance. It's the exact opposite of the last one. Warm in nature and sweet to the taste. It boosts energy and clears meridians. Chewing it leaves a bitter aftertaste. Beautiful. The silhouette slams a hand on the desk and announces without a moment of hesitation, Chen Fan, you've passed. From today onward, you're the head of Greenhouse 031. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask directly through the terminal. Beep. The connection cuts off instantly. The lobby falls dead silent. Young C is staring at you like you're some kind of monster. Her jaw drops so low you could fit a fist in it. Oh my god, you're an absolute legend. Her cool and aloof act vanished in a second, and she grabbed right onto your arm. Her face filled with jealousy and pure disbelief. Becoming the head manager on your very first day? Do you have any idea how insane that is? I work my ass off as a therapist, and I'm practically killing myself just to make 200 points a day. But your position, you literally sit around doing nothing and rake in a clean 1,000 points. 1,000, you scoffed on the inside, completely unimpressed. Because from the very first second you walked through that door, all of your attention had been dead set on a few unknown patches of algae and some odd red and yellow herbs sitting in the corner of the lobby. It was faint, but you would never mistake that feeling. That was spiritual energy. To think this total dump actually had plants radiating spiritual energy. If you could just absorb them, breaking through to the first stage of chi condensation would be an absolute breeze. So, just to keep a low profile, you forced yourself to wait it out until dusk. Once every single person had cleared out of the greenhouse area, you bolted straight over to that pot of spiritual algae and sat down cross-legged. You closed your eyes, and the primordial heaven-devouring mantra violently roared to life within you. With the foundation of a nascent soul master from your past life, walking the path of cultivation all over again was as easy as breathing. In just a few short breaths, you violently stripped the spiritual energy right out of those plants. It transformed into wisps of white mist, frantically seeping into your pores. Deep within your dantian, a swirling vortex of energy the size of an egg took shape in a flash. Almost there, just a little bit more. You gritted your teeth, getting ready to push through in one massive surge and shatter the bottleneck to the first stage of chi condensation. Excuse me, are you Chen Fan? An incredibly jarring man's voice suddenly broke the silence right behind you. Your eyes snapped open, letting out a furious roar in your mind. Forcing down the murderous glint in your eyes, you slowly turned around. Yeah, that's me. What do you want? Make it quick. Standing right in front of you was a guy dressed in a sharp black suit. The man looked you up and down closely, then dropped his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. I'm with the separatists. Chen Fan, how would you feel about joining our ranks? Never heard of them. Get out of my way. You spat the words out like ice, turning your back on him to continue your meditation. But instead of taking a hint and leaving, the guy dropped an absolute bombshell. You really think grinding for points is gonna keep you alive on this space station? Don't be an idiot. The elites up top rotted to the core a long time ago. They never even planned on taking humanity back to Earth. You suddenly stopped, narrowing your eyes slightly, seeing that he'd finally struck a nerve. His tone grew even more intense. Bottom feeders like us? When we die, we just get thrown right back into the tower prison to be tortured. But the higher-ups, they've completely hoarded every single piece of top-tier resources for themselves. All they want is to breed us like absolute slaves, generation after generation. You just stared blankly at him as he desperately tried to brainwash you. Without uttering a single word, frustrated by your complete lack of reaction, he took a sudden, aggressive step forward, words spilling out of his mouth at lightning speed. The whole station is split into 3 levels. Down here on level 3, we're nothing but grunts. We literally risk our lives grinding for points just to earn a respawn. Level 2 is for their loyal lapdogs. They get priority respawns. As for the first floor, no one has ever seen them. Even when they speak, their faces are heavily pixelated. They can respawn endlessly without lifting a finger, hoarding all the top-tier resources. What gives them the right? So what? Their tone didn't even waver. To survive in the tower for 20 years and still pull an S-rank evaluation. You're definitely not ordinary. The man in the suit stared right through you. The separatists need you, but don't rush to answer. Let me give you some intel first, as a little welcome gift. He dropped his voice, his tone turning dead cold. Tomorrow night, the higher-ups are dropping thorned jellyfish into the residential zone. Those freaks can phase right through walls. They're highly toxic. The brass is deliberately causing casualties. It's all just to spark panic at the bottom, so everyone works like mad dogs to scrape together some points. Just as he finished speaking, snap. Main lights across the entire greenhouse section instantly blacked out, leaving only 2 dim emergency bulbs flickering. The station's power is running low. Lights and security cameras in the work zones are completely cut off at night. That's exactly why I came to find you now. I've said my piece. Watch your back. The man in the suit glanced up at the hall, then turned and melted into the shadows. His footsteps quickly faded away. The cameras were dead. Heaven is truly on my side. You whipped around, locking your eyes onto that patch of spirit-infused algae in the corner. Without a single second of hesitation, you sat cross-legged. The primordial heaven-devouring mantra surged violently through your veins. The last lingering traces of spirit energy in the air were violently siphoned dry, morphing into a raging current that flooded through every pore in your skin. Deep within your core, that egg-sized vortex of energy began to spin and compress with terrifying force. Breakthrough. You unleashed a feral roar in your mind. Boom. The mass of energy instantly liquefied, transforming into a pure stream that rushed through every bone and fiber of your body. Gathering chi into a stream. Early chi condensation stage. I did it. Feeling that long-lost surge of power coursing through you, your eyes snapped open. A brilliant flash of light exploded in your pupils. You raised your right hand, aimed at the red and yellow spirit grass over 30 feet away, and ruthlessly snatched at thin air. Telekinesis. Whoosh. The spirit grass ripped from the soil without a breath of wind, instantly bridging the gap and landing firmly right in the palm of your hand. You shoved the spirit grass into your pocket, buried both hands in your jacket, and took long strides back to the residential zone, acting exactly as if nothing had happened at all. Returning to your quarters, the second the door slid open, your brows instantly locked in a deep scowl. Someone was sitting on your bed. It was Yang Si. She was dressed in something striking and revealing. She perched on the edge of your bed, her clothes purposely disheveled. Her eyes practically dripped with seduction. What the hell is wrong with you? You stared at her, face completely deadpan. You ignored my messages, so I just used your terminal password to let myself in. Yang Si didn't even try to hide her intentions, reaching out to slip open her collar, her voice practically purring. Stop playing hard to get. You let out a harsh, silent curse in your head. This woman was nothing but a massive roadblock. If you didn't refine the spirit grass in your pocket right now, all its spiritual energy was going to bleed dry. Who the hell had time to screw around with her? Get out. You were just about to snap and throw her out. The fluorescent lights overhead suddenly flickered violently, popping with an ear-piercing crackle of electricity. The entire living quarters plunged into a terrifying, flickering darkness. Yang Si froze instantly, her face turned deathly pale. She scrambled frantically to grab her clothes. A power surge. It's a power surge. The monsters broke into the living quarters. Monsters? Your eyes turned ice cold. Weren't they supposed to come tomorrow night? Quick, we need to hide. Yang Si was shaking violently from head to toe. Hide where? You grabbed her by the collar, hoisting her up. You snapped fiercely. If those are spine jellyfish, this tin box won't do a damn thing to protect us. Before you could even finish, an ethereal shriek, like the wail of a deep-sea whale, exploded across the hall. You kicked the door wide open, and looked outside. Damn it. Several massive, translucent jellyfish, over 30 feet tall, were drifting through the air like ghosts. Hundreds, thousands of their tentacles seemed to lock dead onto every living, breathing thing. Run. Yang Si shrieked. She bolted instinctively toward the metal ladder outside. Your room was at the very top of the hive, almost 40 feet off the ground. Climbing down that ladder would take at least half a minute, and a jellyfish's toxic, barbed tentacle had already smashed right through the wall next door. It was lunging straight for you both. There's no time. Hold on tight. You wrapped your arm firmly around Yang Si's slender waist. Giving her absolutely no time to react, you step right onto the metal railing. Bang! Over Yang Si's blood-curdling scream. You held her tight, and from nearly 40 feet in the air, you leapt off without a second thought. The wind howled violently in your ears. The split second you hit the ground, the spiritual energy inside you erupted. You channeled it all directly into your legs. Boom! With a heavy thud, your feet crushed a massive dent straight into the solid metal floor. You landed perfectly stable, completely unharmed. You didn't even bend your knees. Letting go of Yang Si, you looked up, locking your eyes onto the colossal jellyfish above. A cold, ruthless smirk crept across your face. Yang Si shrieked out of pure instinct, squeezing her eyes shut in terror. But a second later, her eyes snapped open. She realized she was on the ground, completely unscathed. She stared at you, absolutely dumbfounded. Her face instantly flushed bright red. Whether it was the adrenaline of the massive drop, or the sheer dominance of how you held her, her mind was a total mess. What the hell are you staring at? Run. You didn't have a single second for her romantic little thoughts. You grabbed her roughly by the arm. The living quarters had completely devolved into absolute chaos. Countless people were scrambling wildly out of their tin box rooms. Reaching the door to the escape route, you whipped your head back around. You stared dead at the bloodbath unfolding in the hall. Without a doubt, this was the most sickening way to feed you had ever witnessed. The spine jellyfish's thousands of tentacles, which were just huddled together in a mass, suddenly fanned out in an instant. They shot toward the frantic, fleeing survivors at terrifying speeds. Whoosh! The tentacles lashed out like lightning, instantly snatching up dozens of poor bastards and hoisting them into the air. In just mere seconds, those pierced by the venomous barbs went completely limp, without even a single scream. Their bodies vanished at a mind-boggling speed. This trash space station doesn't even have a single decent laser gun. Your face turns pale with anger. You lower your voice, grilling Yang-Si. It's no use. No weapon works on them. Yang-Si grips your shirt tight, her voice trembling like a leaf. Physical attacks, energy weapons. They just pass right through their bodies. It's like they don't even exist. That crushing helplessness of being prey, without even a chance to fight back. It makes a violent rage boil up in your chest. If you still had your past life's nascent soul cultivation, these damn jellyfish wouldn't mean a thing. They wouldn't even be fit to be ground up for array materials. But right now, you can only watch helplessly as they finish feeding, letting out an eerie, echoing whale song. Then, their bodies fade from solid to ghost-like, vanishing into thin air. Phase shifting, spatial teleportation. You stare blankly at the spot where the jellyfish vanished, clenching your fists tight. In this hellhole full of danger, being weak is the ultimate sin. You have to get stronger, fast. In the blink of an eye, over half a month goes by. For the past 2 weeks, you've basically become a ruthless spiritual energy vacuum. During the day in the greenhouse, you boldly siphon energy straight from the spiritual algae. And at night, you swipe a few of those red and yellow herbs, taking them back to your room to refine like a madman. For an old nascent soul monster recultivating like you, it's as easy as breathing. Finally, after cramming all those resources, the energy in your body hits its absolute peak. Mid-chi condensation stage, breakthrough, evening rolls around. The second your shift ends at the greenhouse, Yang-Si strolls over right on schedule. After half a month together, this woman has settled down quite a bit. She's stopped throwing herself at you, but the way she looks at you, it's getting weirder by the day. Oh my god, you look totally different. She leans in close to your face, looking completely blown away. The body cleansing of a cultivator has given your skin an entire vibe, a massive glow up. You shoot her a glance and casually tease, "What? Falling for me even harder?" It was supposed to just be a joke. But uncharacteristically, Yang-Si doesn't brush it off. She just stares right at you. Her tone is shockingly serious. "I used to think you just had a nice vibe. But now, I seriously think you're gorgeous." You frown slightly. What a pain. A woman actually catching feelings. That's way worse than hitting a bottleneck in cultivation. Just then, a man's voice interrupts the moment at the worst possible time. "Excuse me, sorry to interrupt." You turn to look. It's the guy in the suit, the one from that separation society. The look in his eyes is pure, unfiltered fanaticism. "Your friend here, have her give us a minute." The suit points at Yang-Si. You pat her on the shoulder. You go on ahead. Yang-Si takes the hint. She gives you one long, deep look. Before turning to leave, "I knew you weren't just some ordinary guy." Seeing the coast is clear, the man in the suit cuts right to the chase. His voice trembling with excitement. "That night, you jumped from over 10 meters up with her in your arms, and didn't even bend your knees. Our guys saw the whole thing." Hearing this, your eyes instantly turn ice cold, and you unleash a terrifyingly oppressive aura. "You've been spying on me." You take a step forward, locking dead onto his eyes. Your voice cuts like a knife. The suit is forced back a half step by your sheer presence. He quickly throws his hands up with a nervous laugh. "Hey, take it easy. In all that chaos, you really stood out. It's only natural we noticed you. No offense intended, I swear." "Good." You coldly withdraw your gaze. "Next time, keep your eyes shut." The suit gulps hard. He rushes straight to the point, desperately pitching his grand vision to you. "Look, I'm here because we want to know if you'd consider joining us. Have you ever heard of powered mecha suits?" The suit gets more and more hyped as he speaks. "We managed to get our hands on the latest model, the C-21. Its max thrust hits 10 tons. That's like getting hit by 5 SUVs all at once. But this baby requires intense mental strength to pilot. And you definitely have what it takes. 10 tons of pure power." Your mind races, with your physical body currently at the mid-stage of chi condensation. Taking a 10-ton hit head-on would definitely damage your bones and muscles. This hunk of metal built by these mere mortals actually has some merit. What about the battery life? You cut right to the chase. 1 hour at full power. Half a month on standby. Seeing your interest, the suit immediately throws out an even sweeter bait. "Hey, if mechs aren't your thing, we also do cybernetic enhancements. We can replace your limbs, and even your organs, with heavy-duty cybernetics. Biological reflex speeds, combined with the destructive force of a mech. It is absolutely perfect. The only minor flaw is a bit of phantom pain." Phantom pain? Yeah, it's from the body parts you toss out. Even though they're completely gone, your brain still thinks they hurt. It's a super common side effect. Hearing this, a mocking, icy smirk pulls at the corner of your lips. Giving up the immortal path of cultivation for these backwards, parlor tricks? It was utterly laughable. "We have a 40% success rate. And even if the enhancement fails, we can revive you." The suit keeps blabbering on, desperately trying to sell you on it. You just sneer to yourself. This ultimate weapon these mere mortals are so incredibly proud of would max out at the power of a foundation stage cultivator, and they still have to suffer from some bullshit phantom pain every single day? And the mechs are even more pathetic. No matter how tough the iron shell is, the pilot inside is still weak and fragile, asking you to abandon cultivation, just to become a piece of scrap metal? It's the biggest joke in the world. Are you quite finished? You cut him off, your voice dripping with extreme impatience. Your eyes are cold as ice. I have absolutely zero interest in your junk metal. I only need 3 things: saltpeter, poria wood, and thistle. And for those last 2, the older the vintage, the better. The foundation pill. That is your one and only goal right now. The herbs in the greenhouse sector could serve as substitutes for most of the ingredients. But the poria and thistle? Those are absolutely irreplaceable. The suit freezes. He furrows his brow, thinking hard for a moment. Well, saltpeter is easy enough. You can just spend some points at the underground markets for that. But those 2 Chinese herbs you mentioned? On this entire space station, other than the mysterious first level, there's absolutely no way you'll find a second stock. Then get me into the first level. Your tone was uncompromising, leaving zero room for negotiation. Impossible. The man in the suit smiled bitterly. Even the highest ranking leaders of our separatist faction only operate on the second level. The first level is completely out of reach. He suddenly shifted his tone, a flash of cunning in his eyes. But, if you really want to find it, there's one other place that definitely has it. Earth. How'd I get there? You cut straight to the chase. Pilot a tugboat. Go down to the surface on a supply run. The man in the suit immediately threw out the bait. As long as you join us, I can get you a spot to go down to the surface. But, the surface of the Earth is crawling with absolutely terrifying thalamus sentinels. Not even laser weapons can pierce their armor. So before you go, you have to undergo cybernetic augmentation. Otherwise, you're just throwing your life away. More modifications? A surge of explosive annoyance hit you. I'm going to say this one last time. Stop trying to shove your worthless scrap metal into my body. Immediately after, you casually reached over to the workbench and pulled out a solid iron pipe, as thick as your wrist. Not bothering to waste another breath, your inner spiritual energy violently erupted. Raw, untamed power surged relentlessly into your arms. Screech, snap, the agonizing sound of twisting metal suddenly echoed sharply across the hall. Staring at you like he'd just seen a ghost, the man in the suit watched in sheer horror as you twisted that solid iron pipe into a tangled knot with your bare hands. You slammed it down at his feet with a heavy clang. This is real power. You brushed the rust off your hands. Staring him down from above, the overwhelming pressure radiating off you forced him to stumble backward. Go set up that tugboat for me, and don't ever bring up that annoying surgery again. Got it? The man in the suit gasped sharply, his voice shaking uncontrollably. Is this a superpower? Okay, no modifications, I get it. 1 month. Give me 1 month, and I swear I'll have that tugboat ready for you. It's a deal. You coldly dropped the words. In the blink of an eye, a whole month flew by. During that time, you shut out absolutely all outside distractions. No matter how much Yangtze tried to suck up to you, you mercilessly locked them out. You poured everything into your frantic, agonizing cultivation. Boom! As the final surge of spiritual energy rushed into your body, your eyes snapped open. The air around you rippled wildly, blasting every loose object in the room back half an inch. Late-stage chi condensation, it's done. Right now, not only had your spiritual power skyrocketed, but your physical strength had completely shattered mortal limits. Earth, even if it was hell on earth, to get that foundation establishment pill. You were more than ready to face it. Finally, just as planned, you arrived at the docking bay of the Tianwen space station. Now, you were sitting firmly in the cockpit of the 006 C1 model tugboat. The controls on this ship were incredibly straightforward. In less than an hour, you've already got the hang of all the controls. Outside the hatch, the guy in the suit hands you a headset, looking dead serious. Put this on. Keep in touch the second you hit the surface. He leans into the hatch, rattling off the mission briefing at lightning speed. Listen carefully. You've got 2 jobs to do down there. Number 1, our separatist faction's mission. Once you touch down, draw out the geometric sigil we gave you, and use the revival ritual to bring back a specific target. As for who it is, I'll let you know once you're on the ground. Number 2, the space station's official assignment. Right under your landing zone, there's a massive deposit of zircon. It's yellow-green, hard to miss. I want you to use the tug's drill and mine like crazy. Pack in as much as you physically can, and if you've got any empty space. You slip on the headset, staring back at him with a deadpan expression. Motioning for him to step back. One last warning, the suit guy grips the hatch tight, pure terror flashing in his eyes. When you get down there are 2 places you absolutely do not go near. First, the old city ruins. The place is crawling with mimics, mindless freaks warped by the revival rituals. Going there is a straight-up death wish. Second, is a massive, grotesque thing. Looks just like a human brain. The thalamus core, those nightmare sentinels that hunt at night, they all hide inside it and sleep during the day. If you see it, turn around and run for your life. Good luck, Chen Fan. Slam. The heavy hatch seals shut. You settle into the pilot's seat, not an ounce of fear in your eyes. Just a burning, frantic hunger for power. You yank the thruster lever hard. Earth. Here I come. 10. C1, April 3rd, year 6141, 5:21, 0 seconds. Axial docking, separated, acceleration, complete. A rapid sequence of commands locks in, and the tug violently breaks away from the Skybend station. The thrusters burn in reverse, fighting tooth and nail against the crushing pull of Earth's gravity. You don't even blink, keeping your eyes glued to the drop zone so you don't drift off course. It's the only thing that matters right now. In less than 5 minutes, the rugged outline of the surface slams into view. Just ahead in the city ruins, massive black towers pierce straight through the clouds. One look, and a wave of pure revulsion churns in your gut. You physically force yourself to look away. You feel it too, don't you? Suit Guy's voice crackles over the comms right on cue. Stare at it too long and your skin starts to crawl. It completely violates human aesthetics. It's all twisted, unnatural, asymmetrical garbage. That's the mental corruption setting in. You grit your teeth, swallowing down the nausea, with a flare of anger in your breath. Just as the words fade, the tug slams hard into the dirt. The hatch blows open, and this incredibly thick, intoxicating aura washes over you instantly. Every pore in your body opens up. Just one day down here, beats weeks of grueling training back up on the station, but you don't have time to stand around and marvel at it. The thalamus sentinels will be fully active once it gets dark. You've got 14 hours, tops. Time is insanely tight. You scan the area, nothing out of the ordinary. You raise your hand and deploy the mining probe right on the spot. The drill bites steadily into the ground. Your movements are smooth as water. It'll take 30 minutes for the probe to find the ore. If the light is green, just leave it be. It'll dig on its own. If it flashes red, you gotta move it manually. The guy in the suit's voice crackles through the earpiece. During these 30 minutes it's scanning. Am I free to move around? Just don't wander off too far, he adds. Otherwise, if the undergrounders see it unguarded, they'll come trash the machine. Undergrounders? You frown. It's a name you've never heard in your life. They're escapees from the tower prison. Their minds are completely twisted. They treat pain like it's some sick pleasure. He breaks it down for you in just a few words. And you know those red mushrooms? A normal person would suffer so much they'd end themselves on the spot if they ate one. But for them, their dopamine levels just skyrocket. The more it hurts, the better they feel. Your eye twitches at the thought. So, wouldn't the tower prison be an absolute paradise for them? Exactly. That's why the ones locked up in the tower are only normal people like us. Then, couldn't we just learn how to do that? If we learned it, the tower prison wouldn't be much of a threat, would it? The higher-ups at the space station are keeping a tight lid on it. We can't find out a damn thing about it. He drops that heavy sentence, and goes completely silent. You don't push for more answers, either. Instead, you step right into the depths of the woods, thick with spiritual energy, searching for aged spirit poria and dark purple giant thistles. These two are the core ingredients for the Foundation establishment pill. You can only hope to stumble upon them. Along the way, you manage to harvest quite a bit of spirit grass and herbs. Even though you didn't find those two main ingredients. Time flies, and it's already dusk. 5 o'clock. You need to head back, right now. Any later, and the thalamus sentinels will come out to play. The guy in the suit's urgent warning blares in your earpiece. With only a cheap condensation cultivation level, you definitely don't dare to be cocky. You whip around and sprint like crazy toward the tugboat. But just as you get close to the landing zone, a wet, sickening sound of flesh squirming drifts into your ears on the wind. Every nerve in your body instantly screams with tension. You quickly tap your earpiece, switching it to ambient pickup mode. Can you hear this? What the hell is that noise? I hear it. His voice instantly drops, heavy with a seriousness you've never heard before. Do not take another step. That sound, it's a thalamus core. Your mind just goes blank. My tugboat is right in front of me. If I don't keep going, how the hell am I supposed to get back to the space station? Move fast. First, let's confirm its exact position. It isn't completely dark yet. No matter how close you are, it won't attack you first. Gritting your teeth, you soften your footsteps and inch forward a little bit. Right at the edge of the woods, a massive hunk of flesh, easily 4 times as tall as a man, shaped exactly like a giant human brain. The semi-transparent monster is just squatting right there in plain sight. And your tugboat is completely engulfed inside of it. The entire hull is swarming with a dense, writhing mass of thalamus sentinels. Just looking at it makes your skin crawl. Do you see that thing? Oh, I see it all right. You stare at the writhing monstrosity. It swallowed my entire tugboat. What do? I can only say your luck is absolutely terrible today. The guy in the suit lets out a bitter laugh. Where this thing shows up is completely random. The odds of it spawning right on top of a tugboat are ridiculously low. Has anyone ever run into this before? Oh, yeah, he says it bluntly. The tugboats have autopilot. They can fly back on their own. Worst case scenario, the pilot dies out there. You can revive anyway, but it'll cost you a massive chunk of points. Plus the penalty deductions for failing the mission. He pauses, then adds, if you can just survive until tomorrow morning. And wait for it to disappear on its own, not only do you avoid the penalty, you'll also make a solid profit from the zircons you mined. You glare at the squirming mass as it lets out a low, muffled groan. You practically grind your teeth to dust. How the hell am I supposed to survive until tomorrow? Don't panic. I'll ask around for a way out. The earpiece goes dead quiet, leaving you alone in the woods. You stare intensely at the thalamus core just a short distance away, as the seconds tick down toward nightfall. 15 minutes later, his voice finally comes back through the comms. I got it. 2 options. Ways you might actually survive. Spit it out. Option 1. Run to the city ruins nearby. That's mimic territory. The thalamus sentinels won't dare set foot in there. Your eye twitches, and you reject it without a second thought. The high-tech gear those mimics pack would wipe me out in a heartbeat. How is going in there any different from suicide? Depends on your luck. If you're unlucky, you're out. He says it flatly. Don't want to take that one? There's option 2. Go underground. Underground? The underground belongs to the subterraneans. The sentinels won't go down there either. But let me give it to you straight. The subterraneans might not attack on sight, but they are incredibly bizarre. We've had almost zero contact with them. Once you're down there, you're entirely on your own. You glance up at the sky. 6 o'clock sharp. With only 1 hour left until dark, there is absolutely no time to hesitate. Option 2. You make the call instantly. Without a second of hesitation, you ask, how'd I get underground? What was your mission on the surface this time? He counters. It hits you instantly, and your eyes light up. The probe. Bingo. His voice spikes with excitement. The probe you deployed didn't get swallowed up, did it? No. Then what are you waiting for? His voice booms through the earpiece. Crank the probe's power to the absolute max and drill straight down. Punch a hole right through the surface. You spin around, sprinting madly toward the probe, and jam the throttle all the way to the max. The very next second, the drill unleashes a deafening roar. And with absolute do-or-die momentum, it violently plunges into the earth. Boom! The explosive rumble of the drill smashing through solid bedrock instantly shatters the air. The vibrations make the soles of your feet go completely numb. Even that massive, 4-person tall thalamus core nearby is writhing frantically. Amidst the deafening noise, its surface has already split open with tiny, jagged cracks. Countless thalamus sentinels are violently squirming inside the gaps, ready to swarm out at any second. How's it going? Are we through yet? The guy in the suit's voice in your earpiece is shaking with panic. There's only half an hour left until dark. Watch your back. Shut the hell up. You snap back through gritted teeth. The veins on your forehead are throbbing violently. You're just stressing me out more. As soon as the words leave your mouth, you catch out of the corner of your eye that the cracks on the thalamus core are tearing wider. A few sentinels have already squeezed half their bodies out. Only 15 minutes until dark. Less than 15 minutes. The sun's going down. The frantic reminder explodes through your earpiece again. I know. Your brows are tightly knotted together. Staring at the drill's progress, you curse under your breath and grab your drinking water, dumping all of it straight into the drill shaft. Sizzle. A massive cloud of white steam instantly erupts, and the drill's overheating alarm finally shuts off. After agonizing for another 10 minutes, the deafening roar of the drill abruptly cuts out. We're through. Quick, quick, quick. Hook up the cable and jump in. We're out of time. The guy in the suit's wild joy is practically bleeding through the earpiece. But you suddenly whip your head around, and your heart drops straight to the bottom of your stomach. The opening of the thalamus core has completely ripped apart. A pitch-black swarm of thalamus sentinels is flooding out like a tidal wave. In the blink of an eye, they're already at the edge of the drill shaft. There's no time. You make a split-second decision. Spiritual energy instantly surges through your entire body. Completely ignoring the safety cable, you take a flying leap straight down the hundreds of meters deep drill shaft. Oh my god, you just jumped? The guy in the suit's scream is instantly ripped to shreds by the rushing wind as you plummet. You desperately claw at the shaft walls with your bare hands and feet to slow down, but the horrific screeches above you are getting closer. Those sentinels are clinging to the walls like shadow creatures, skittering down with a rapid click-clack noise. They are closing in fast. You can even smell the suffocating, foul stench radiating off their bodies. Screw this. You instantly trigger the blood-burning technique. Letting go of the wall, you plummet straight down into the pitch-black depths like a falling star. Crack. It's the sickening crunch of your bones and muscles shattering. You slam brutally into the ground, a blinding wave of agony tearing through your legs. You can't even twitch, but those terrifying shrieks from above are still rushing straight down at you. Using every ounce of your remaining strength, you snatch the medicinal herbs from your backpack and blindly stuff them all into your mouth. Spiritual energy, mixed with the potent herbs, frantically washes over your injuries. Feeling is slowly starting to creep back into your legs. 20 seconds later, you stubbornly force yourself to stand up, even though every single movement takes a grueling amount of effort. Right at that moment, those sentinels reach the bottom of the shaft. They are just an inch away from you. But a split second later, it's like they hit an invisible wall. No matter how wildly they shriek and thrash around, they absolutely refuse to take a single step out of that shaft. All your strength instantly vanishes, and you collapse onto the ground. Gasping heavily for air, are you there? You tap your earpiece, calling out to the guy in the suit, but all you hear is the sharp crackle of static. You reboot it again, you shout again, still, no response. Just you, buried hundreds of meters deep underground. The signal was completely dead. You didn't have a second to lose. You sat cross-legged right there, circulating your spiritual energy to heal, agonizingly pushing through until dawn the next day. You could finally, barely, manage to walk. Right now, there were only 2 things on your mind: finding water and finding a way back to the surface. All the water you'd brought with you had been used up cooling down the drill. If you didn't replenish your energy soon, the monsters wouldn't even need to finish you off. You'd just collapse on your own. You flicked on your flashlight. Following the man-made tunnel, you headed deeper in, sticking to the paths with less vegetation. The more heavily trodden the path, the better your chances of finding a water source or a settlement. You walked for 2 whole hours. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from up ahead. Your nerves instantly spiked. You pulled out your defensive relic, slowly creeping closer. The moment your flashlight beam swept across the dark, your entire body went on high alert. It was a girl, with pale skin and a slender build. But her appearance was incredibly bizarre. Dozens of tiny iron nails were embedded directly into her face, and shiny, polished iron hooks hung from her eyelids. Just looking at her made your skin crawl. So these were the underground dwellers Shenjing had warned you about. The ones who treated pain like a twisted pleasure. You forced a stiff smile, lowering your voice to ask, "Can you understand what I'm saying?" The girl jolted in surprise, staring blankly for what felt like an eternity. Finally, she mumbled groggily, "You're from the surface." Yeah, you kept a safe distance from her, cutting straight to the chase. "Do you know how to get back up there?" She just stood there, her eyes totally glazed over, like she was dead drunk. She swayed the iron bucket in her hand, taking forever to reply, "I'm going to get water. Or you could come with me." "Water?" Your eyes lit up instantly. "Sure, I really need water right now." She turned and kept walking, barely saying a word. Every time you asked a question, she just grunted an hum. The rest of the time, she looked like she was about to pass out. You hadn't walked far, when the trickling sound of flowing water reached your ears. The moment the underground river came into view, the girl immediately scooped up half a bucket of water, tilted her head back, and chugged the whole thing down. You frowned, asking, "Have you not had a drink in days?" "No." She shook her head, looking at you like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "I was afraid of getting thirsty, so I drank a bunch ahead of time." You were completely dumbfounded. "So, to avoid getting hungry, you guys eat all your food ahead of time too?" "Yeah, exactly." She nodded. "Otherwise, if you wait until you're hungry to eat, think of how much you'd suffer." A bolt of realization suddenly struck your brain. Their entire world was completely upside down. Pushing down her shock, you asked tentatively, "So, you've been forcing yourself to stay awake? Because fighting off sleep gives you a thrill, and falling asleep actually makes you suffer?" "Well, obviously." She pointed to her own eyes. "I've been holding out for 2 whole days without sleep." You instantly understood why she looked so groggy. She had basically been awake for 2 days and 2 nights straight, exhausted to the absolute limit. You didn't ask anything else. You pulled out your canteen and filled it about halfway. Taking a sip, the crisp, sweet taste instantly spread through your mouth. The young girl looked at you, her eyes full of envy. "Does drinking water feel nice?" You nodded. "When your throat is so dry it feels like it's burning. A sip of cold water feels amazing. We undergrounders never get to feel pleasure." Her voice was heavy with sorrow. You didn't want to waste any more time, so you asked her straight out, "You got your water. Can you take me to the surface now?" "Ah?" She blinked, suddenly startled, as if she'd completely forgotten. "Oh, right, we were going to the surface. I'm sorry, I messed up." You watched her swaying, barely able to stand, and swallowed your anger. She stumbled forward, slamming headfirst into the wall. The bucket crashed to the ground, spilling water everywhere. I really can't hold on anymore." She looked at you, her voice trembling with desperation. "Please, just let me sleep for a bit, okay? When I wake up, I'll take you to the surface." With that, she didn't even wait for your answer. She just turned and dragged herself deeper into the tunnel. You stood there, watching her fade into the shadows, then glanced back at the pitch black, endless maze of tunnels behind you. Ahead lay an unknown underground village. Behind you was a dead-end drill shaft. You had no choice. Gritting your teeth, you finally stepped forward and followed her into the stone hut. As soon as you walked in, she collapsed onto the bed, falling instantly into a deep sleep. With no other options, you sat cross-legged in the corner, circulating your spiritual energy to heal your wounds and stabilize your core. All you could do was wait for her to wake up. You didn't know how much time had passed, when suddenly, there was a knock on the door. A man's voice called from outside, polite and gentle. "Hello there. Would you mind opening the door?" Your nerves instantly tightened as you slowly pulled the door open. Standing there was a middle-aged man in a black jacket. He didn't have a single scratch on him, completely different from those deformed undergrounders. He looked you up and down, and smiled. "Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Zug Fu. I live in this village. You could say I'm a researcher. I used to be from the space station, too." "Researcher?" You frowned, on high alert. "Researching their sick habit of treating pain like pleasure?" He leaned in closer, his tone dropping to a mysterious whisper. "So, care to see the results of my research?" "No thanks." You rejected him flat out, without a second thought. "I just want to get back to the surface as soon as possible. I don't care about anything else." Zug Fu glanced at the sleeping girl on the bed, a cryptic smile on his face. "You want to go back to the surface, but you're still here. You don't know the way, do you? Waiting for her to wake up and guide you? Well, I'd suggest you stop waiting." This girl's name is Jin Ling. In her obsession to push her limits, he often forces himself to stay awake for days on end, and when he finally crashes, he's out for a whole day and night. Maybe even longer. "Well, then I'll just wait." You couldn't care less. "Hey, you probably don't know this, but surface dwellers down here in the underground can't just stay overnight. He suddenly changes the subject, his tone dropping into something much heavier. If you stay down here too long, you'll get hit by the curse. Just like us, your entire perception of reality will be flipped upside down. And the worst part is, this curse is irreversible. Your heart skips a beat. You stare at him and ask, irreversible? Not even respawning can fix it? Nope, it won't do a thing. Zug Fu nods. He throws a question back at you. Are you thinking that once you're cursed, you won't have to fear the tower prison anymore? I strongly advise you against thinking like that. I wasn't thinking that, you reply, shaking your head. Not unless the curse can be broken. Smart man. His eyes light up, and he immediately breaks it down for you. Once you're hit with the curse, totally normal things like eating, drinking, and sleeping turn into pure torture. The hungrier you are when you eat, the more agonizing it gets. To avoid the suffering, we have to force ourselves to eat and drink way before we're hungry, and sleep way before we're tired. When we do get tired, we just have to fight through it. But I don't push myself to the absolute limit like the others do. You know why? Why? Because living like that, sooner or later, it drains the life right out of you. His tone turns grim. For people like us, the sensation of dying is 1,000 times more intense than eating. It hits you instantly. It's addictive. You get addicted to dying. Exactly. He gives a hard nod. Every single person who catches this curse eventually gets hooked on dying. The second they respawn, they just end it all again. We have all these villages down here, and we're allowed to have kids, but our population just keeps shrinking. This is exactly why. He lets out a heavy sigh, looking utterly defeated. Even with the power to respawn, we underground dwellers are just marching toward our own extinction. He pauses, then looks back at you, extending his invitation once more. Look, since we're just sitting here anyway, come check out my lab. Whether you actually decide to help me or not, I promise I'll personally escort you back to the surface at 3 a.m. You do some quick mental math. It's 2 p.m. right now, and the trip back takes 4 or 5 hours. You'd hit the surface just after dark, right when the Thalamus Sentinels come out to hunt. After a brief hesitation, you stand up. Alright, I'll go check it out with you. Zug Fu instantly perks up. He spins around and leads you straight to his stone cabin. The second you walk through the door, you freeze. The room is absolutely packed with lab equipment. Flasks, microscopes, alcohol burners, and a ton of highly complex machinery you can't even name. It's a completely different world compared to the rundown underground village outside. So, what do you think? Not too shabby, right? He beams with pride. Everyone in this village, and even the neighboring ones, chipped in to make this happen. After all, my research here is meant to break the curse, to save everyone's lives. You glance around the room, and you can't help but ask, where on earth do you get power down here? Underground river hydroelectricity, a 500-meter drop. That's more than enough for my lab. He doesn't say much else. Walking straight over to a radar-like machine, he starts tinkering with it, murmuring, I've been studying this for over 100 years, and I still haven't found a cure. But this infrasonic trap right here, it actually let me capture the source of the curse. Capture the curse? You freeze for a second. He ignores you. Suddenly, he looks up and flashes a smile. His eyes are filled with pure, fanatical madness. Before you can even react, he slams the switch on the machine. An unbelievably twisted, unearthly whispering instantly violently drills right into your mind. The feeling is absolutely agonizing. It feels like your skull was just smashed in with a sledgehammer. Raw energy violently surges through your veins. Your eyes snap blood red. Suppressing a terrifying wave of rage, you completely lose it. You use me as a damn lab rat? The very next second, your spiritual energy absolutely explodes, and you vanish entirely into thin air. Boom! A deafening crash rips through the room. Zug Fu is blasted backward like a ragdoll, smashing violently straight into his infrasonic trap. The machine shatters into a million pieces. The lab is an absolute wreck. He collapses to the floor, violently clutching his chest in sheer agony. But he is still staring at you with those crazy, fanatical eyes. Are you a cyborg? I scanned you. There's zero trace of any modification. How the hell do you have that kind of speed? That kind of terrifying strength? You walk toward him, slow and steady. Your eyes are dead cold. Aren't you scared I'll just end you right here? I am. He nods, completely unashamed. Wiping the blood from his mouth, he mutters, what I did just now, that was crossing the line. You had every right to beat me half to death. It's just a damn shame about the equipment. It's gonna take forever to fix. You brought that entirely on yourself, you snap. Right at that moment, footsteps echo from outside the door. Someone yells out, brother, you good in there? I'm fine. Just accidentally tipped over the lab table. Get back to whatever you were doing. Zug Fu immediately shouts back. He waits until the footsteps completely fade away, then turns to you with a pathetic, bitter smile. Brother, I honestly had no other choice. I caught the infrasonic wave that causes the curse, but I could never actually verify it. I've been totally stuck on this for years. You are the only normal human who's come down here in all this time. I didn't have a choice. This research, it dictates the survival of everyone underground. You don't push the issue any further, and just stare him down. How long does a normal person have down here, before the curse infects them? 2 to 3 days. His tone is dead serious. But, since you just heard the voice of the curse directly, that timeline might speed up. Speed up to when? Hard to say. It completely depends on what your body can handle. You cut the small talk, and immediately sit down cross-legged right where you are. Taking a deep breath, you focused your energy and instantly slipped into a state of inner vision. You carefully inspected every inch of your body for anything wrong. Seeing this, Zug Fu stood nervously to the side, not even daring to breathe. The inner vision only lasted 10 minutes before your eyes snapped open. A chilling aura radiated from your body. I'm running out of time. You glared at Zug Fu, your voice laced with a sharp, barely contained fury. Thanks to that damn experiment of yours, in exactly 10 hours. I'm gonna be completely infected by that curse. I need to get back to the surface, right now. Zug Fu froze, then quickly glanced down at his watch. 4 p.m. He quickly composed himself. If you leave now, you won't reach the surface until 9 or 10 tonight. You are 100% going to run into the Thalamus Sentinels. But, I guess getting killed by a sentinel is better than catching that curse. At least you can still revive. It's not a total dead end. With that, he stood right up. I caused this mess, so I'll lead the way. Fine. Your eyes narrowed into a dangerous squint. You let out an oppressive wave of power without holding back. But you'd better not try any more tricks. Otherwise, I won't just tear this lab to the ground. I'll make sure everyone in your village catches that horrifying symptom too. Zug Fu's face instantly went rigid. He quickly forced an apologetic smile. Don't worry, I promise I'll get you to the surface safe and sound. If we actually run into a sentinel, I'll even act as bait and draw it away for you. How about that? Don't bother. You were too annoyed to entertain his nonsense. You just spun around and dragged him toward the exit. Your footsteps were swift as the wind. I don't need a fragile mortal to be my meat shield. Just focus on leading the way. Mortal. Zug Fu instantly caught onto that word, his eyes going wide as saucers. Bro, don't tell me you're an actual cultivator? You ignored him, picking up your pace and walking even faster. Hey, slow down a bit. Zug Fu trailed behind, panting heavily, not daring to fall a single step behind. Meanwhile, back in a stone hut in the village, Jinling was gripping the windowsill, her eyes locked dead onto your retreating figures. Once you were far enough away, she immediately hunched over and slipped out the door. She began trailing you in total silence. Later, on the path to the surface, you suddenly spoke up. By the way, aren't you cursed? When I hit you back there, how did you even manage to make a sound? Zug Fu let out an awkward chuckle. Well, I had to let you vent your anger somehow. It wouldn't be right if you hit me. And I just stood there looking totally fine, right? His ridiculous logic left you completely speechless. You used to work on a space station. For a guy as smart as you, how did you end up cursed and trapped way down here? Zug Fu's expression instantly turned dead serious. If I told you that I came underground specifically to find a way out, would you believe me? You snapped your head around to look at him, your eyes filled with absolute shock. But he just flashed a wide grin and waved his hand dismissively, carrying a hint of bitter regret. Honestly, I was just young, arrogant, and obsessed with digging up the truth. I wanted to use the curse to fight the tower prison and lift it once humanity was finally free. But things got completely out of hand. This curse, it's 100 times more complicated than I ever imagined. Before I knew it, I'd wasted over 100 years down here in the dark. You look at him and give a solemn, respectful bow. Regardless of your original intentions, the fact that you've spent a century trying to break this curse, you have my absolute respect. He sighs, a bitter smile crossing his face. If I could do it all over again, I would never have come down here. I regret it, more than anything. The journey continues in silence. After walking for nearly half an hour, you suddenly spin around, your voice sharp and commanding. Come out, don't make me drag you out. It's me. The flashlights instantly flick on, illuminating Jinling's nail-pierced face in the darkness. She gives you an awkward, pleading smile. Zug Fu immediately scowls. Jinling, why the hell did you follow us? The surface is crawling with Thalamus Sentinels. Do you have a death wish? You want to get completely lost out there, is that it? Unable to argue back, Jinling quickly turns to look at you and says defensively, I made a promise to him earlier. I said I'd take him to the surface when he woke up. I can't just go back on my word. Forget it. You cut Zug Fu off completely. Let her tag along. You guys just need to guide me through the underground tunnels. You don't have to go up to the surface. It won't be that dangerous. Zug Fu hesitates for a moment before turning to warn Jinling. Fine, you can follow us. But unless I say so, you don't go running off anywhere. Do you hear me? I hear you. Jinling immediately nods like an obedient child. Watching this unfold, you ask casually, is she still newly born? Zug Fu chuckles. Born and raised down here in the dirt. She's only been through one rebirth. At most, she's just in her early 30s. To the rest of us down here, she's practically just a kid. The three of you press on, getting closer and closer to the surface. Suddenly, the earpiece you've been wearing all this time crackles loudly with static, and Xianjing's familiar voice comes through. Chen Fan, can you hear me? You reply with absolute calm. We were too far underground earlier. I didn't have any signal. I knew you'd still be there, though. Xianjing lets out a massive sigh of relief. Everyone else was ready to retrack your location. I fought them off and stopped the tugboat's autopilot from kicking in. The ship is right where you left it. Just head straight over once the sun comes up. I can't wait until sunrise. Your tone grows deadly serious. I've been exposed to something down here. I have to get back to the surface within 5 hours max, or I'm completely dead meat. Exposed? Exposed to what? Xian Jing is completely caught off guard. It's a long story. I'll explain everything once I'm back. You have zero time for chit-chat. Cutting straight to the chase, you say, right now, all I need to do is steer clear of the thalamus core and make it back to the boat in one piece. Hold on a sec, let me get someone to help you out. Don't rush up to the surface just yet. As soon as he finishes speaking, the earpiece went dead. It sounded like he ran off to make arrangements. Sugfu heard it all clearly and couldn't help but sigh. Man, the space station treats its people really well these days. You've been out of contact for this long, and they haven't even recalled your tugboat. Back when I was a pilot, if we lost contact for more than 8 hours, we were instantly written off as dead. The guy on my radio isn't from the space station's mission control at all, you explained calmly. And I'm not an official tugboat pilot, either. I use my own channels to get down to the surface. Not bad, brother. Sounds like you're pretty well connected up there. You bluntly changed the subject. Those whispers I heard in the lab. What the hell were they? It's infrasound, Sugfu quickly explained. The normal human ear can't pick it up. My equipment converted it into a frequency you could actually hear. Now I can say with 100% certainty that this omnipresent infrasound is the root cause of the underground mutations. You sighed, a little exasperated. So you caused all this chaos. Just to prove that, us science guys have to stick to the facts. If it hasn't been verified, we can't move forward a single inch. He said it with absolute conviction. You paused, then asked. That sound kept repeating specific syllables. What did they mean? How the hell should I know? He threw his hands up in the air. It's just naturally formed wave patterns. There's no special meaning behind it. You nodded. You didn't press the issue. As you kept talking, the three of you finally reached the surface exit. Just then, Jing's voice crackled through the earpiece again. Hey, do you copy? I got someone to pull up the satellite feed. I can give you your exact coordinates and point you toward the tugboat. As for how to dodge the sentries, that's entirely on you. Understood. You kept it brief. When can I move out? Whenever you're ready. But before you leave, light a campfire so I can lock onto your position. Just then, Zug Fu suddenly spoke up. Chen Fan, before you go, could you pass a message to your guy on the comms? Go ahead. I've been working on this underground research project, and I've hit a bottleneck. I want to see if he'd fund some lab equipment for me. I can share all my research data with him in return. After you briefly explained his request, the earpiece went silent for a few seconds. Jing finally gave his answer. I can help him, but we need to see the real deal first. We also want some of those weird underground plants, just to make sure we aren't working for free. Do we have a deal? Absolutely, Sug Fu agreed in a heartbeat, then quickly struck while the iron was hot. Also, I want to establish long-term communications with you guys. Could you give me a comms device? If I can access the space station's database, my research would speed up immensely. A comms device is fine. We can leave one for you, Jing's voice echoed back. But the spare is on the tugboat. How are you going to get it? We can't just charge right through the sentinels, can we? As soon as those words left his mouth, Sug Fu looked totally helpless. For an ordinary person to try and sprint to the tugboat right under the sentinels' noses, it was basically a pipe dream. Seeing how things were going, you hesitated for a few seconds before speaking slowly. I've got a way. I can use a secret technique to push your body's potential to the limit for a short burst. It'll give you explosive speed, way beyond any normal human. Might just be enough to shake off those sentinels. Sug Fu's eyes lit up instantly. Then you changed your tune, your voice turning deadly serious. But this technique comes with a heavy price. It's gonna drain your life force like crazy, right up until you completely collapse. Are you sure you still want to do this? Hell yes. Why wouldn't I? He didn't even pause to think. He agreed on the spot, the sheer fanaticism in his eyes practically overflowing. Just getting to experience this secret technique of yours makes it totally worth it. Let alone the fact that we can get the equipment too. He took a step forward. He couldn't wait to ask, when do we head out? For this technique, what do you need me to do? You cast a quick glance over at Jin Ling. Then you looked back at Sug Fu. Shouldn't we send her back first? Sug Fu immediately leaned in closer. He sounded anxious. Can she come with us? Having an extra person means a slightly higher chance of success. He turned his head to look at Jin Ling, his eyes practically begging for her agreement. Jin Ling's eyes lit up in a flash, and she nodded eagerly. I want to go. Take me with you. I promise I can make it to that tugboat. You didn't say another word, just turned around and headed straight for the surface exit. At the mouth of the cave, Sug Fu was staring at the pathetic little pile of wood and dry grass. His eyebrows were tied in a tight knot. If we want a fire big enough for the satellite to pick up, this little bit of junk isn't going to cut it. We need to go up to the surface and find more fuel. Are you going, or should Jin Ling and I go? You didn't even bat an eye. Neither. Going up there to scavenge for fuel is just gonna draw the thalamus sentinels right to us. The moment the words left your mouth, you raised your hand with a swift flick, and a fireball the size of a fist flared to life right in your palm. Sug Fu's eyes went wide as saucers, his breath completely catching in his throat. He opened his mouth to yell, but you shot him a quick shush gesture that stopped him dead in his tracks. A second later, you whipped your arm back, and the fireball slammed into a nearby tree with a loud boom. The entire tree instantly erupted into a roaring inferno. You pressed your earpiece. Shenjing, do you see the fire? It's 10:30 p.m. right now. Point the minute hand of your watch at the moon, and the hour hand will point straight southeast. Got it? The direction is set. Use the burning tree as your starting point. Sprint straight southeast, and you'll hit the tugboat. Zug Fu instantly panicked. You can't run in a straight line through the woods. What if we get off course? Shenjing's voice came through the comms, completely deadpan. Then just light another fire to signal me. I'll keep adjusting your heading from here. Whether you actually make it there or not, that's all on you. Zug Fu smacked his lips nervously and turned to you. So, we leave right now? You only spat out a single word. Go. Spiritual energy surged through your fingertips, converting into pure energy that rushed instantly into Zug Fu's body. Zug Fu shuddered violently, letting out a low growl. They're here. He took a single step forward, and his entire body launched several meters away. His eyes lit up, eager to try it again. You cut him off with a cold shout. Stop wasting it. This secret art burns your very essence. The faster you drain your stamina, the faster you'll burn out. Got it? Zug Fu's voice instantly filled with panic. I get it. I just got too excited. Sorry, but you completely ignored him. Casting an energy buff onto Jin Ling without looking back, you barked an order. Stick close to me. Yell if you fall behind. Without another word, you spun around and bolted out of the underground cave. The two of them shadowed you desperately. After a frantic 30-second sprint through the woods, a noise broke the silence. You roared, they're coming. Watch your backs. The words had barely left your mouth when dozens of thalamus sentinels lunged out from the darkness. Their speed was absolutely insane. In the blink of an eye, they were right on your heels. Zug Fu panicked. Chen Fan, he screamed. You spun around instantly. Several fireballs erupted from your hands. Some blasted straight into the sentinels, while the rest ignited the surrounding trees. A massive wall of fire roared into the sky. Xianjing's voice cracked over the earpiece, starting to guide your escape route. Copy that. You barked back. You instantly pivoted and kept pushing forward. But you just couldn't shake the sentinels off your tail. You hurled wave after wave of fireballs. Your spiritual energy was almost completely drained. You couldn't afford to burn anymore. Without missing a beat, you glanced back and screamed at Zug Fu at the rear. I need you to hold off these sentinels with everything you've got. I'm getting Jin Ling out of here. Zug Fu froze, completely caught off guard. Wait, what? Your voice held a crushing, unquestionable authority. Jin Ling will take the equipment back. You're staying behind to cover us. Do it, now. There was no time to think. Zug Fu grunted in acknowledgement and spun around. He threw himself entirely at the pursuing thalamus sentinels. Instantly, the sickening sound of a brutal collision erupted behind you. Just a few seconds later, the noise completely died down. Jin Ling watched it happen, her face completely devoid of emotion. She just kept sprinting relentlessly right behind you. After another agonizing minute of running, a light finally flickered ahead. Found the tugboat, you muttered. Where's Zug Fu? Asked Xianjing. He's dead. Jin Ling is still here. She'll bring the equipment back. Screw the equipment. Xianjing cut you off instantly. Just dump it on the ground and mark the spot. Let Zug Fu find it himself during the day. I want Jin Ling to go back to the space station with you. The separatists will want to study her condition. Ask her if she's willing. You turned your head to look at Jin Ling beside you. You repeated the words to her exactly. Jin Ling bit her lip. Her face twisted in conflict. While you were talking, you had already made it right up to the tugboat. Dozens of sentinels lunged at you. You instantly blasted them back with a volley of fireballs, dragging Jin Ling straight into the cockpit. Jin Ling stared at everything inside the cockpit. She grabbed the edge of your shirt tightly. I'm going with you. Alright, you reply. You casually toss the glow sphere and backup communicator out of the cockpit, then pull the joystick. The towboat slowly lifts off. The moment you take to the air, you suddenly remember something. You asked me to revive someone on the surface earlier, but I completely forgot about it. Doesn't matter. Xianjing's voice comes through with a laugh. With all the accidents that happened this time, just bringing all the resources back is already impressive enough. Not to mention bringing back a subterranean. You did a great job. You glance at Jin Ling, who is huddled beside you. By the way, what are we going to do with Jin Ling? She definitely can't stay on the space station forever. She has no official ID here, so she won't be able to stay long. Once we're done with the research, Xianjing replies. We can either use a towboat to send her back to the surface, or she can reset her status and return underground. It's up to her. Your eyes light up. Wait, couldn't we just awaken Zug Fu directly on the space station? He could share his research findings with you guys, and even use your database. It's a win-win. You're overthinking it. Xianjing immediately shoots the idea down. Privately awakening unregistered personnel on the space station is a serious violation. You'd get exiled for that. You don't push the issue any further. Leaning back in your seat, you wait for the towboat to dock with the space station. Half an hour later, the docking sequence initiates. As the countdown ends, a series of mechanical prompts ring out. By the time the cabin doors slowly open, it's already midnight. Hard capture complete. The pilot may now exit the cabin. You lead Jin Ling out of the towboat. Xianjing is already waiting in the service module. He walks up and pats your shoulder. Welcome back. Surviving 2 nights on the surface without a scratch. And bringing back all the resources too. you've got some serious skills. After saying that, he looks at Jinling hiding behind you. He pauses for a moment before speaking. You must be Jinling. Welcome. Jinling doesn't say a word, just shrinking further behind your back. Xianjing looks a bit awkward, but quickly shifts his gaze to your backpack. These plants in your bag, are they medicinal herbs? Did you pick them on the surface? You reply calmly, it's on my profile. I used to work in herbal cultivation, so I know a thing or two. Since I was down there, I figured I'd gather some to trade for points. Xianjing squints at your bag, looking thoughtful, before changing the subject. As for the ores you brought back this time, after taking out the mandatory quota, I'll convert all the rest into points for you. And transfer them to your personal terminal. Of course, our separation faction is going to take a small cut. You cool with that? You nod. I can't let you guys work for free. Oh, right. Xianjing suddenly remembers something. I couldn't get my hands on the Fushen and Daji you asked about. But I did hear someone has a wild ginseng that's over 200 years old. The words, wild ginseng, immediately lock your attention. In the cultivation world, a wild ginseng with enough years on it is a top-tier treasure. For the foundation establishment pill you want to refine, the main ingredients, Fushen and Daji, need to be over 100 years old. With this wild ginseng that's over 200 years old, the age requirement drops straight down to 20 or 30 years. Inside the service module, you stare intently at Xianjing, getting straight to the point. How do we trade for that wild ginseng? Xianjing throws his hands up. The owner isn't exactly thrilled to sell. Their asking price is sky high. 4,400,000 points. They won't budge a single point. 4,400,000. Your heart skips a beat. You instantly do the math in your head. As a head of the greenhouse sector, you only make 30,000 points a month. Even if you didn't spend a single point, it would take you 12 full years to afford it. Xianjing notices your face darkening. He speaks up immediately. Hey, don't look so grim. Our separatist faction can help you out. You shoot a glance up at him. How? Are you guys willing to fork over 4,400,000? I'm definitely on board. I can see you've got serious potential. Xianjing's tone turns serious. But, you'll need to convince more than half the faction. Only then is this a sure thing. You ask, convince them how? By showing off my skills? Just showing off won't cut it. Xianjing explains it straight. Whatever you can do, the enhanced humans on the space station can do too. 4,400,000 isn't a handout. You've got to complete missions. Prove your worth with real results. Make them see exactly what you're worth. You stay silent, waiting patiently for his next words. Don't stress. Every so often, high-difficulty missions pop up through the space station and our internal channels. It's the perfect chance for you to prove yourself. You nod in agreement. In your mind, a two-pronged strategy is already taking shape. On one hand, take missions to earn the separatists' backing, and on the other, use the herbs gathered from the surface to brew elixirs and sell them for profit. Right after that, you switch gears. Do you know anyone over at the space station's 3D printing lab? I do, yeah, but the higher-ups keep a tight leash on printing jobs. Specialized equipment parts won't pass inspection at all. I'm not printing any of that. Just a container, something that can handle extreme heat. Half a meter tall is fine. Xianjing glances at the herbs poking out of your backpack. He gives you a knowing look. Open flames are strictly banned on the station. I'll hook you up with an electric heating vessel. You don't back down an inch. No, it has to be exactly what I asked for. If I can't use it on the station, I'll take it down to the surface. You just get it made. Xianjing nods, conceding. You throw in one more request. And one more thing. Help me track down a guy. He's a friend of mine. Met him back in the tower prison. Yeah, name's Li Shu. The guy is an absolute genius. The only reason I made it from the tower prison up to this station is all thanks to him. He should be on the station's second level. Xianjing's eyes instantly light up. He said good? Alright then, I'll see what I can do. The minute I hear anything, you'll be the first to know. With that, he turns on his heel and leaves with Jinling. You quickly follow suit, stepping out of the service module. Your cultivation has hit a wall at the late chi condensation stage. So you simply give up on pushing through for now. For the next few days, you clock in to handle your sector's daily chores, and spend your off hours wandering the rest of the space station. Life falls into a quiet rhythm. Just like that, over 10 days slip by in a flash. Xianjing tracks you down again. This time, right in the main lobby of the greenhouse sector. He got straight to the point. Zug Fu found a communicator. He contacted us last night. But let's drop that. The reason I'm here is to talk to you about a mission. Your eyes instantly lit up. You finally got a job for me? He lowered his voice. Have you ever heard of the Europa space station? You froze for a second. There are other space stations? Of course there are. Shenjing fired back. Didn't you ever think it was weird? Everyone here is Chinese. There's literally not a single foreign face around. You caught on quickly. So, everyone else is on Europa? Not exactly. There are currently 3 human space stations left. Shenjing quickly laid it out for you. The biggest one is ours, Tianchang. Then there's the old International Space Station, which was renamed Paradise. And finally, Europa. It's packed with foreigners. You didn't waste time on the pointless details. Cutting straight to the chase. So this mission, it's about Europa. Exactly. Shenjing glanced around, making sure no one was listening. He dropped his voice to a whisper. Something went wrong on the Europa station last month. You raised an eyebrow, waiting for him to go on. Usually, dying and coming back to life isn't a big deal. Standard protocol means both we and Paradise Station have to send ships for backup. Shenjing's tone suddenly shifted, but this time, the teams both sides sent over, they were pretty much completely wiped out. Even after respawning, they couldn't even explain what the hell happened to them. You instantly figured out why he was here. You want me to go to Europa, and figure out what's really going on. Right, Shenjing nodded. Higher-ups have already sent in several elite operatives, one after another. Dead silence. That's when they thought of you. Your face darkened. You were obviously cautious. Shenjing immediately tried to convince you. Look, whatever you find this time, you get all the credit. And even if things go south, the division has your back. The exact second you get taken out, we'll wake you right back up the next. Seeing you still hesitating, Shenjing played his trump card. You know that wild ginseng we talked about? I'm pulling strings to reserve it for you right now. Whether the mission is a success or not, the ginseng is yours. The second he said that, your mind was made up. A fully backed top, where you get the ultimate prize no matter what. Yeah, this mission was definitely worth the trip. You didn't hesitate. Alright, I'm in. When do I leave? The sooner, the better. Shenjing had clearly prepared for this. He led you straight toward the service module. I've got an A-10 recon ship ready for you. You've flown AC-1 tugboat before, so you'll handle this without a problem. If you run into anything you don't get, just ask. I'll be on comms with you the whole way. After a long wait, the ship detached from the docking bay, blasting off into the dark toward the Europa station. 2 hours later, your ship was slowly pulling up near Europa. Well, pulling up, anyway. You couldn't actually dock. The station systems were completely dead. Forget docking. Even the internal lights and life support were totally offline. Looking ahead, it's pitch black inside. Like a deep, endless maze. Just waiting to be explored. You quickly zip up your pressure suit, asking through the comms. This space station doesn't look much smaller than ours. How did it just completely shut down? The word from the higher-ups is that it was a lab leak. A lab leak? The 3 major stations have totally different ways of dealing with the tower prison, Shenjing quickly explains. We play it safe. We focus on tech, build up our strength, and figure out the rest when we're ready. Heaven Station, though, they're totally extreme. They want to blow up the Earth and take the tower down with them. You listen, slightly shocked. That's insane. No turning back at all? Why not just stay out in space? Crazy as it sounds, a lot of people actually support it. Mostly the ones who spent an eternity locked up in the tower. Shenjing quickly gets back on track. Now, Europa Station. They're somewhere in the middle. They came up with a digital ascension project. The plan was to upload everyone's consciousness into a server, power it with solar energy, and boom, instant immortality. That way, they'd never have to fear the tower again. It all instantly clicks in your head. So, to pull this off, they went all in on biotech. They built a massive network of biolabs. And this whole disaster is because one of them leaked. Exactly, Shenjing confirms. My guess? The higher-ups keep sending teams over there just to steal their tech. I pushed you to go so you could snatch it up before anyone else does. Our separatist faction sent a crew in too, but they went dark almost immediately. It's all on you now. As his voice fades, you're fully sealed in your pressure suit, cautiously stepping onto Europa's docking bay. The entrance is a long, narrow corridor. It's so pitch black you can't even see your own hand. It feels like a bottomless abyss. You reach up and flick on your headlamp. As the beam sweeps across the end of the hall, several lifeless bodies suddenly appear, sprawled across the floor. You instantly tense up, pressing your comms. We've got a situation, you whisper. There are bodies up ahead. They're covered in some kind of white, mutated growth. Don't panic, Shenjing's voice comes through instantly. Those are just macrophages. Any remains left out in space long enough will end up like that. Just ignore them. You force down the sick feeling in your stomach, and keep pushing forward into the darkness. But after just 100 steps or so, a shout echoes from the shadows, mixed with a foreign language. You instantly kill your headlamp, and switch your comms to audio enhancement mode. A few seconds later, Shenjing's real-time translation kicks in. He says he can hear your footsteps. He's telling you to stop hiding, and come out right now. You frown hard, your mind racing. He's lying. I was completely silent. There is zero chance he heard me. Then don't go rushing in. Creep up a little closer, and flash your light to see what we're dealing with. You inch your way toward the source of the voice. But the second you get close, a terrifying, explosive force blasts directly into your mind. The sheer shock of it throws you hard to the ground. Your ears are ringing uncontrollably. Hey, what happened? What the hell is going on over there? Shenjing's voice is suddenly filled with panic. You steadied yourself, your expression grave. I just took a hit. A psychic attack. Is there any modern tech that can actually pull something like this off? Never heard of it, Shenjing replied, absolute certainty in his voice. The scientific community hasn't even proven that souls exist. How the hell could they build something like this? Interesting, you called out into the darkness, shouting in broken English, my friend, since we walked the same path, why hide in the shadows? Hearing your heavy accent, the other party immediately switched to Mandarin. You're Chinese? You laid your cards on the table, your tone heavy with pressure. If I'm not mistaken, you're a cultivator, aren't you? A cultivator? The voice paused, clearly taken aback, before letting out a spark of uncontrolled curiosity. Don't tell me, you're one of those immortal cultivators from Chinese web novels? You didn't answer, standing your ground without moving an inch. You pushed harder. Did you kill all of them? I only took out a few. The voice replied, its tone completely flat. You saw the mess on the floor. Most of them only died because they tried to push deeper inside. Then why did you attack me? You demanded. What exactly are you, man or ghost? The voice ignored the question and offered a workaround instead. You have a drone on your ship. If you're that terrified of me, why don't you fly it over and see for yourself? It was a safe bet. You turned around, grabbed the drone from your ship, and piloted it slowly toward the source of the voice. Suddenly, lights flickered on ahead. The drone's feed revealed a laboratory filled with complex, high-tech schematics. You called out through the drone, this station still has power? It's on backup power, the voice replied calmly, and there's not much left. I've been surviving on this last bit of juice just to make it to today. As soon as the words dropped, the lab doors slid open automatically. You flew the drone inside. Dead center in the room, resting inside a glass tank, was a perfectly intact human brain. The tank was wired up to a camera, a microphone, and a speaker. The voice you'd just been talking to was coming straight from this setup. The speaker crackled back to life. Well, does that put your mind at ease? I'm literally just a brain floating in a jar. Not a threat anymore. But you weren't buying it. You stood your ground and kept pushing. Then why did you stop those other people? And why the hell did you attack me just now? What's your goal? The brain didn't beat around the bush. I stopped them because they were heading my way. I didn't want to be found, so I dealt with them. But as for you, its tone shifted. I messed with you, simply because you have a normal, flesh and blood body. My psychic power is incredibly strong. Strong enough to bend a normal human like you to my will. I attacked you, because I wanted to hijack your consciousness and force you to carry me out of here. I just didn't expect your mind to be so much stronger than an ordinary person's. I failed, and I blew my cover. You raised an eyebrow. Why does it have to be a normal person? Wouldn't an enhanced human work? You really don't know? The brain sounded genuinely surprised. To keep enhanced personnel from going rogue, almost every piece of their gear is rigged with a failsafe. They've all been fitted with control chips. As long as those chips are active, I have absolutely no way to influence them. Hearing this, things start to click into place for you. And when you really think about it, it makes perfect sense. You ask again, since you're so desperate to get out of here, why don't you just reset your state? You can just be revived anyway, right? The brain lets out a bitter laugh. Resurrection tech only works on you humans. And I am not human. If I get wiped out, that's it. I'm gone for good. You stare at the device on the screen, but you're literally a vessel for human consciousness. How are you not human? But what if, from the very day I was created, I've only ever existed as this core? The brain asks back. I have no physical body, no name, no past. I've never even experienced what it actually feels like to be a real human being. The revival system would never recognize something like me. It hits you instantly. This is a completely artificial neural core. You chuckle, a hint of amusement in your voice. You just laid all your cards on the table. Aren't you afraid I'll just wipe you out right now? First of all, I am not afraid of being destroyed. The brain's tone remains perfectly steady. And secondly, the moment I saw you, I analyzed your tone and expressions. And figured out exactly what kind of person you are. Telling you everything gave me the highest statistical chance of survival. Or, to put it in terms you'd prefer, it adds one final remark. You're the kind of person who responds to sincerity, not threats. You raise an eyebrow. Interesting. The brain continues. All successful partnerships are built on mutual needs. Just making a good impression on you definitely isn't enough. Let me lay out my value. I am a byproduct of the top-tier technological research conducted by the Europa team. I essentially function as a super hub. No matter the problem, I can calculate the absolute best solution in a fraction of a second. Taking me with you is like having an entire team of elite tactical advisors right in your pocket. You don't let your guard down. You ask cautiously, and how exactly do I know that when you're feeding me these solutions? You aren't secretly setting a trap for me? Very simple. The brain answers without hesitation. Find me a physical body. Let me become a real human being. Once that happens, I'll officially join your side. Once we share a common bond, we'll naturally have a solid foundation for mutual trust. You have to admit, that actually makes a lot of sense. You agree right then and there, your voice dead certain. Deal. I'll take you with me, and I'll find you that human body. Following the brain's instructions, it only takes you a few quick moves to carefully detach the entire glass incubation vat. You hold it securely against your chest. Over the comms, Huang Jing immediately speaks up. Should we just head back now? Now that we have this thing, this mission is already a massive success. No, hold on. You ignore him, looking down at the brain resting in your arms. Are you familiar with the layout of the Europa space station? Is it safe for us to keep pushing forward? Yes, you can keep going. However, the brain replies without missing a beat, based on my simulations. If we keep going, there's about a 6% chance we'll die up ahead. Those odds mean nothing to you, since you can just reset. But if I kick the bucket, I'm done for good. So, my advice is, if you really want to keep exploring, put me back on the ship first, and you go at it alone. A 6% failure rate. You look around the lab, and pick up a piece of scrap iron from the corner. Spiritual energy surges at your fingertips. Using pure strength, you fold and twist the solid iron plate, forcibly crumpling it into a dense, heavy ball of metal. The brain, whose tone had been completely flat until now, speaks with uncontrollable shock for the very first time. You're actually a cultivator? Or wait, do you have superpowers? You give a mysterious smile, dodging the question. Now then, what's our failure rate? The brain instantly calms down. After running the numbers again, it says, factoring in your abilities, the failure rate is around 1 to 2%. With odds that low, even I can accept it, let alone you. Of course, it quickly adds, if you want to play it completely safe, you have to follow my lead. There are some dangerous spots you absolutely cannot go near. Deal. You nod. I'm a reasonable guy. Where to next? Straight to the jellyfish lab, the brain replies. To show you my sincerity, I'm going to give you a massive gift. You raise an eyebrow. What kind of gift? You'll see when we get there. The walk is quiet, with the brain leading the way. You bypass several hazard zones, arriving outside the jellyfish lab in no time. Inside the lab stands a massive glass cube, filled to the brim with water. A spiked jellyfish is slowly swimming inside. You're a bit surprised. I thought spiked jellyfish could phase through things. How is it trapped in there? The brain explains, this is the Europa Space Station's latest discovery. The spiked jellyfish's phasing ability is completely useless in water. As long as you have enough water, you can trap it. It's that easy to deal with? You immediately shout into your earpiece, Shenjing. Did the higher-ups at the Tianchang station really never figure out this trait? They really didn't, Shenjing replies. Tianchang's upper management has always played it safe. They'd rather dump resources into conventional development. Europa has always been hunting for unknown tech, so them discovering this doesn't surprise me one bit. You turn to look at the brain in your arms. So, this item you mentioned, don't tell me it's this spiked jellyfish? Of course not, the brain directs. Find the lab's charging port. Let me boot up the backup power in here first. You do as it says, placing the brain onto a smooth metal surface. The next second, the entire lab's lighting flares to life. Under the glowing lights, you spot geometric patterns used for casting resurrection spells inside the massive glass cube. It's an automated revival device designed specifically for humans. It clicks instantly. This device, it's used to. The brain cuts you off. It's used specifically to study the spiked jellyfish. Let me show you a little demonstration. With that, it activates the machine. An automated voice rang out, announcing the identity of a foreign operative. Just seconds later, a foreign man materialized out of thin air inside a glass cube filled with water. The newly revived man panicked instantly, frantically pounding on the glass walls, but it was completely useless. In an instant, the jellyfish absorbed him, leaving absolutely nothing behind. You stood outside the cube, watching with a twitching eye. The brain spoke up, normally. A spine jellyfish turns ethereal and vanishes after feeding, but right now, it has nowhere to run. After saying that, it woke up another test subject. Just like the last guy, he thrashed around in the water to no avail, ultimately becoming nothing but fuel for the jellyfish. It happened again, in just a few short minutes. The spine jellyfish swelled up like a balloon, looking like it was right at its absolute limit. But the brain showed no signs of stopping, relentlessly waking up more targets. Finally, pushed past its breaking point, the spine jellyfish burst open with a sickening pop, its entire body exploding in an instant. The moment it ruptured, a thick, murky fluid completely filled the glass tank. You stared at the slop in the tank, asking the brain in your arms with a low voice. This liquid, is it the venom from the spine jellyfish? Yep, the brain chimed in immediately. Just like how normal metabolism produces waste, absorbing all that energy naturally caused the jellyfish to secrete a massive amount of its unique essence. As soon as it finished speaking, a translucent tube shot out from the lab wall, piercing right into the glass tank and siphoning out every last drop of the murky fluid. A vial of it dropped neatly right in front of you. Now this is the grand prize I wanted to give you. The brain's voice trembled with excitement. This single vial contains the unique genetic signature of the spine jellyfish. If you inject this into your body, you'll be able to resonate with them. You could even control an entire swarm of spine jellyfish. But a normal human body could never handle the shock of this mutation, because the pain is unimaginable. The brain paused for a moment. Having your body torn apart and stitched back together over and over again. The sheer agony is way worse than any torture in the tower prison. In the prison, the worst that happens is you die, and then you just respawn completely fresh. But during this process, if you don't have absolute, ironclad willpower, you simply won't survive it. But you're different, it quickly added. You handle my psychic brainwaves without a scratch. Your mental fortitude is light years beyond a normal person's, and your physical resilience is completely off the charts. You can absolutely survive this. Think about it, controlling the entire spine jellyfish swarm. Your combat power would literally double. You were definitely tempted. You've always played it safe. Staring intently at the vial, you asked, this little experiment, are there any side effects? Honestly, I have no idea. The brain answered truthfully, because no one has ever survived to the final stage. You were rendered completely speechless. No one has ever survived. And you still want me to try it? Aren't you afraid that if I screw this up, you'll end up trapped in here and die with me? The brain frantically tried to explain itself. Listen, it's not that the success rate is low. It's just that spine jellyfish are incredibly rare. Every single test run costs an absolute fortune. Fine, since we've already come this far. You still kept an insurance policy. With a flick of your finger, you channeled a sliver of spiritual energy, sending it straight into the glass vat holding the brain. The brain panicked instantly. What are you doing? I just added a little spiritual energy, you replied. It's harmless. Actually, it's good for you, and you can absorb it. However, your tone suddenly shifted, carrying an undeniable, crushing pressure. If I die, no one will be around to regulate that energy for you, and you won't survive it. Understood? The brain sounded resigned. When it comes down to it, you still don't fully trust me. Exactly, you didn't sugarcoat it. After all, we just met. Seeing that it didn't push the issue, you picked up the vial of serum. When does the experiment start? Whenever you're ready. You didn't waste another word. Raising your hand, you took the entire vial, and injected every last drop into your body. In less than a minute, an intense, fiery agony swept through your entire body. But you didn't hesitate for a single second. You immediately sealed off your 5 senses, completely shutting out the excruciating pain. Watching you remain entirely expressionless, the brain was absolutely stunned. You used some special method to block the pain. You shot it a quick glance, and gave a slight nod. It was instantly gripped by a fanatic zeal, cheering wildly. Oh, this is fantastic. Since you can't feel the pain, the success rate just jumped from 30% straight to 40%. You raised an eyebrow. Only 40%? With odds that low, and you still had the nerve to let me try? I am not afraid of death. The brain retorted. I witnessed this scientific breakthrough with my own eyes. Even if I die right now, it's completely worth it. Looking at its crazed state, you inexplicably thought of Zug Fu. Both were absolute madmen, willing to risk everything in their pursuit of the truth. Time slowly ticked by. Under the combined effects of the jellyfish serum and your spiritual energy, your body began turning increasingly translucent. Your eyes snapped open in alarm. Didn't you say this would only alter my pheromones? Why is my body turning see-through? I don't know. The brain's voice was shaking with sheer excitement. You're not like ordinary people. It has to be your spiritual energy. It's reacting with the serum in completely unexpected ways. You immediately sat cross-legged and focused your senses inward. Just as you suspected, the spiritual energy coursing through your body was moving in a bizarre pattern, deeply stimulating every single bone and nerve. You guessed right, you said. It's definitely the spiritual energy. The brain shrieked. You're getting more and more transparent. Are you going to be okay? You didn't answer. Slowly standing up, you reached out your right arm, and pushed it straight toward the solid laboratory wall. A second later, as the brain watched in absolute disbelief, your right arm phased right through the solid wall. You've actually unlocked the power to phase through matter. The brain's voice trembled with awe. You pulled your arm back, carefully feeling the changes within your body. This phasing takes spiritual energy to maintain. I can't keep it up for long, you noted. It's only for emergencies. Even so, that's absolutely god tier. The brain suddenly snapped back to its senses, warning you sternly. Remember, unless it's an absolute emergency, do not use it. Whatever you do not phase your entire body. Otherwise, up here in the space station, you'll drift right out into the vacuum of space. And down on Earth, you'd plummet straight down to the planet's core. You give it a solemn, slight nod. Thanks for the heads up. I owe you one for helping me master this. Don't mention it. The brain snaps back immediately. Just don't forget our deal. Find me a human body, and we're square. Of course. You've done me a massive favor here. You can't help but trust it a little more now. Are we still going deeper? Just ahead is the Ascension Zone, Europa's core sector. I have no idea what's waiting for us in there. It's your call. Do we push forward, or what? You decide. Being the cautious type, you were just about to turn back. But right at that moment, Huangjing's voice suddenly crackles through your earpiece. Chen Fan? You still there? You frown. Yeah, I'm here. Where the hell have you been? Sorry about that. We just intercepted some major intel. Had to verify it, he says, his tone dead serious. I just found out, the anomalies on the Europa station are all because something went wrong in the Ascension Zone. The brain immediately chimes in. The Ascension Zone is the core sector. It's where they develop top-tier consciousness transfer tech. Exactly. Huangjing immediately picks up the thread. Rumor has it, Europa's cybernetic ascension project is actually a success. Nearly half of their people have already completed the transformation. That's why the higher-ups from Tianwen and the Heaven keep sending squads over. They all want their hands on this tech. His voice trembles with intense hope. Chen Fan, if we get this tech, humanity won't have to rely on resurrection anymore. We won't have to fear the tower prison. You don't answer right away. Instead, you look down at the brain in your arms. It immediately breaks it down for you. Before this, I would have told you to stay far away. But now that you've got your phasing ability as a safety net, if things get out of hand, you can just phase right through to the perimeter, and have the ship autopilot over to extract you. Theoretically speaking, you've got absolutely nothing to worry about. That's exactly what you needed to hear. Bolstered, you ask, which way to the core sector? You know the way? Just past this lab. Go up 3 corridors. At the fork, take passage A1, and you're there. Alright then, you say. Let's move. As the voice fades, you head in the direction it pointed. moving completely silently, in the long, dark, and narrow corridor. Your superhuman senses pick up the distant sound of heavy equipment breaching a door. There's someone ahead. You immediately soften your footsteps, creeping slowly toward the source of the noise. 3 minutes later, the breaching noise suddenly stops, replaced by the sharp hiss of pressurized gas. The brain whispers, if I'm right, they're using a cryogenic breach, freezing the metal to make it brittle, so they can shatter the door. The moment it finishes speaking, you feel a biting wave of cold air wash over you from ahead. Right after that, the sharp crack of snapping metal echoes out. Someone cheers in a foreign language, finally got it open. Eddie, is the drone ready? Don't worry, boss, it's already inside. Confirmed, the ascension zone is right ahead. No living souls inside, but there's a hell of a lot of brains. The guy called, boss, freezes for a second, then immediately snaps, keep that drone steady. Whatever you do, do not touch those things. A flurry of heavy footsteps echoes. As the squad pushes straight into the ascension zone, you hold your breath, listening intently, and whisper a few seconds later, 6 people in total. The brain sounds stunned. You can figure that out just by listening? You let out a soft chuckle. When it comes to crunching data and raw knowledge, yeah, you've got me beat. When it comes to stealth and tracking, you couldn't even hold a candle to me. With that, you shadow the squad in dead silence, slipping into the ascension zone right behind them. Dead center of the massive hall is an enormous pool, over 30 meters across, hooked up to an insanely complex web of cables. The other end of those thick cables all feed directly up into the ceiling, where a colossal, grotesque human brain, magnified hundreds of times over, hangs suspended in the air. What the hell is this? The squad leader mutters, unable to hold back his awe. His voice is completely dripping with shock. But right at that moment, the hall's loudspeakers screech to life. That monstrous giant brain is actually self-aware. It speaks first in a foreign tongue. Gentlemen, welcome to the true paradise. Then, it immediately repeats the exact same greeting in Chinese, meaning it already spotted you. Allow me to introduce myself. The giant biovessel's booming voice echoes again. I am the ultimate culmination of the Europa Ascension Project. The absolute aggregate of human consciousness. You may simply call me the aggregate. The tech guy in the squad absolutely loses it. No way, that's impossible. The final product was supposed to be a pure data network. How could it be a massive physical core? Because with current technology, complete digital upload is completely impossible. The aggregate's voice is chillingly flat. To achieve true mechanical ascension, you would need to wait at least another 5,000 years. And sadly, we just couldn't wait that long. It lets out a low, eerie chuckle, before dropping an absolute bombshell. I suppose none of you know the truth yet, do you? Whether it's the elites up in Paradise Station, or the upper brass of the Tianchang, where our little friend hiding in the shadows comes from. Ever since the tower prison appeared, none of them have ever died. What? The entire 6-man squad freezes dead in their tracks, their faces plastered with disbelief. Even Shenjing, monitoring from way back on the Tianchang station, lets out a sharp gasp through your earpiece. Of course it's true. The collective completely ignored the shock on everyone's faces. Just kept going. Just because we haven't died doesn't mean we never will. It's been over 4,000 years. Every single leader across the space stations is pushing the absolute limit of the human lifespan. We are staring down our final extinction. Its voice, suddenly twisted into hysterical, raving madness. And let me tell you, we are more terrified of dying than anyone else. Chapter 41, Torture Multiplied, Part 1. Terrified of dying? The leader of the 6-man squad was completely baffled. Don't all the station elites have priority resurrection rights? Oh, we do, the giant brain replied. But inside the tower prison, the human elites are only subjected to mental torture. So, we literally can't die. Mental torture? The leader froze when he heard that. The giant brain just kept explaining. There's a special type of cell in the tower prison. They call it the VIP room. It's built exclusively for locking up the human elites. This room generates a relentless simulation, forcing us to endure 10 times. Even 100 times more agony than any physical torture could inflict. A simulation? The leader was shocked. Like, the ones made with virtual reality tech? Not necessarily virtual reality, the giant brain replied. Some even suspect the tower prison uses some kind of dark magic to create these nightmares. Just think about it, the giant brain went on. Physical torture alone is already enough to make a normal person beg for death. Now imagine that mental torment multiplied by 10, or even 100. Can you even begin to fathom that kind of agony? God, the leader's voice trembled with a hint of genuine dread. That's horrific. Just thinking about it gives me the creeps. He shook his head, still confused. But here's the thing. Human lifespans are limited, aren't they? Even if the elites aren't being physically tortured, they're still going to die of old age eventually, right? Once they finally die, they just escape the prison and respawn right back at the station. Hey, hearing the leader's theory, the giant brain let out a sudden, chilling sneer. If you actually think that this is all the tower prison is capable of, you are dead wrong. What do you mean? The leader's face went pale. The giant brain explained. According to the memories of the few elites who actually managed to escape that place, Time flows completely differently inside the VIP room simulation. For every 1 hour you spend rotting in that nightmare, less than 10 minutes might have passed in the real world. So, if you do the math, the giant brain didn't sugarcoat the horrifying conclusion. Someone meant to suffer in the tower prison for 50 to 70 years before naturally dying of old age would actually be trapped in that simulation for 300 to 420 agonizing years, enduring pain 10, maybe 100 times worse than anything a normal human could feel. And there is no respawning, no way out. They are permanently trapped as the victim. Forever. I can't even imagine that, the leader muttered, letting out a heavy breath before asking another question. But if being an elite ends that horribly, why don't you all just give up your privileges? Just go back to being ordinary citizens. Wouldn't that save you from the torture? You really think you're the first one to come up with that? You think the entire elite leadership wouldn't have thought of that? The giant brain sounded utterly defeated. It's useless. Once an elite, always an elite. It's like we've been branded. Branded for life. Even if you willingly step down and become a regular person again, the second you die, the tower prison will still drag you straight into a VIP room. Giving up our status doesn't save us at all. The only thing left for us to do is to find absolutely any way to stop ourselves from ever dying. Exactly like what I am right now. The giant brain finally began explaining to the six-man squad the true horrifying nature of the biological ascension project. In order to achieve true immortality, I forcefully uploaded everyone's consciousness, including my own, straight into this massive brain. When the project first launched, so many fought against it. They were terrified it would fail. So, I made myself the guinea pig. I took the plunge first. And, it actually worked. After that, the entire space station completely lost their minds. Every single person was fighting tooth and nail to upload their consciousness. Elites, middle management, the lowest of the grunts, it didn't matter. Nobody wanted to be left behind to rot. No wonder, the realization finally hit the leader. Now I get it. Now I understand why there isn't a single living soul left on the Europa station. You all just uploaded yourselves into this thing. Well, not everyone succeeded in making the jump. The giant brain coldly added, a small fraction of them were killed during the bloody frenzy to secure a spot. Those guys probably aren't coming back. After all, the Europa space station is completely deserted. So, they'll be locked in the tower prison forever. I guess you could say, it's a bit of a shame. At this point in the conversation, the giant brain suddenly extended an olive branch to the six-man squad, and to Chen Fan, who was hiding in the shadows. It spoke up, how about it? Any interest in joining us? As it spoke, a projection screen suddenly unrolled itself behind the giant brain. Displayed on the screen was an absolutely massive, modern metropolis. It had blue skies, white clouds, lush green mountains, crystal clear waters, and birds singing among the blooming flowers. It was truly a picture of paradise on Earth. See that? The giant brain introduced. This is what life is like once your consciousness is uploaded. It's a virtual world, perfectly simulated by biological ascension tech. In that world, you don't have to work. You never have to worry about getting old, getting sick, or dying. All you have to do is eat, drink, and have fun, all day and all night. Faced with the perfect utopia the giant brain was painting, the six-man squad and Chen Fan were, naturally, incredibly tempted. But the problem was all of this really as wonderful as the giant brain made it out to be? What if the virtual world was just a scam? What if it was just a pre-recorded video? Keeping this in mind, the leader of the six-man squad spoke up cautiously. Joining you isn't entirely out of the question, but before we do, I want to ask, out of nowhere, why are you inviting us? What exactly is our value to you? 2 reasons, the giant brain answered. First of all, living in a virtual world doesn't consume any physical resources. So, having you join doesn't add any extra cost or burden on us. Furthermore, the giant brain continued, even in a virtual world, humans still have all sorts of psychological and entertainment needs. Things like movies, TV shows, comics, novels, and video games. And all of that media has to be created by actual humans. So, naturally, the more people we have entering the virtual world, the better it is for everyone. Got it, the leader said thoughtfully. So, what do the 6 of us have to give in return? It's quite simple, the giant brain replied. I'll make you a promise. As long as you're willing to stay behind and maintain the Europa space station, and work for us for exactly 50 years, then, in return, I'll let you enjoy the rest of your lives in the virtual world. It's a pretty fair trade, wouldn't you say? As it spoke, the giant brain suddenly shifted its focus, hinting, and that goes for our friend who's been hiding this whole time, too. The offer stands for you as well. Seeing that the giant brain had called him out, Chen Fan stopped hiding. He stepped out from the shadows and gave a nod to the 6-man squad from the Paradise space station. As a friendly gesture, the 6-man squad had no intention of making an enemy out of Chen Fan. So they nodded back in response. Since he was already out in the open, Chen Fan took the opportunity to ask the giant brain a question. Didn't you mention earlier that the higher-ups on the various space stations have managed to never die? So, before the biological ascension project, how exactly did those elites manage to stay alive? Chapter 42. Torture, Super Doubled, Part 2. Before I can answer that question, you first need to understand why humans age in the first place. The giant brain replied. Actually, experiments related to aging were already being researched way back in the 21st century. Back then, scientists discovered that the cells of all vertebrates, including humans, have a hard limit on how many times they can divide. This cap is known as the Hayflick limit. It's the reason why humans could, at most, only live to be about 120 years old. Ever since that discovery, countless people embarked on a quest to unlock the secrets of immortality. Desperately trying to shatter the Hayflick limit, the giant brain continued, and maybe, if they had just kept researching. With the continuous advancements in science and technology, humanity might have eventually achieved true immortality one day. But unfortunately, humanity discovered resurrection tech. Once we had the ability to resurrect the dead, researching biological immortality naturally became a complete joke. Because of that, humanity's research into the Hayflick limit came to a screeching halt in the year 2030. Which was exactly the year the resurrection tech was discovered. And things stayed like that, right up until the Tower Prison appeared. You probably don't need to explain what happened after that. The human elites, desperate to avoid death entirely, started pouring massive amounts of time and energy back into immortality research. This allowed the human lifespan to be extended to around 500 years. Now, this should have been a good thing. However, the giant brain suddenly shifted its tone. Once their lifespans were extended, it wasn't long before the human elites discovered something terrifying. The flow of time inside the Tower Prison's illusions. It actually changed along with it. The time flow, which was originally 6-1, directly jumped to 20-1. Calculated out, if the higher-ups want to die of old age in the Tower Prison, they'd have to stay in the illusion for a full 1400 years. That is 10, maybe even 100 times worse than physical torture. And for a whole 1400 years. So the elites completely lost their minds. They didn't want to die. They started pouring more resources into immortality research, even pushing the human lifespan to a maximum of 1000 years. But ironically, the Tower Prison adjusted the illusion's time flow right at the same time. Time flow, which had already been cranked up to 20-1, was bumped up again, growing to a terrifying 40-1. In other words, after the elites die, they have to rot in the Tower Prison's illusion for a staggering 2800 years. Now, the higher-ups couldn't accept this at all. They were terrified of death, absolutely paralyzed by it, more than anyone else. So they poured even more resources into researching immortality. Even if this immortality consumed a massive amount of resources, and could only be achieved on a tiny fraction of people. To this day, the lifespan of the human elites has been successfully pushed to 4000 years. At this point, the brain's tone carried a hint of sarcasm. I don't know if you've ever seen those human elites. The vast majority of them have aged to the point where they physically can't get any older. Their skin is completely covered in wrinkles. The suffering of aging and sickness is vividly displayed on them. But they just won't die. Looking at them, you'd call them elites? But they live worse than the lowest class on the space station. Chen Fan had really opened his eyes today. To think the space station's higher-ups had it so rough. Alright, enough nonsense. In the Ascension Zone lobby, the giant brain spoke to everyone present. He said all this in one breath just to tell you. Even if you go through hell and back to become a higher-up on the space station, you still can't escape the fate of being tortured by the Tower Prison. If you want true liberation, the only way is ascension. So, joining us is the only way to break free from the Tower Prison. The giant brain laid out the facts and reasoned with them. It not only knew how to use the Tower Prison's torture as a threat, but also how to use the beautiful life of the virtual world as bait. Anyone would be tempted by that. So, after a brief discussion, the boss of the 6-man squad spoke up. We're willing to work for you. But, to prove that everything you're saying is true, the boss stated his condition. Before that, you have to take one of us and upload their consciousness into the virtual world. Sure, the giant brain replied without hesitation. That request is very reasonable. However, as a price, the working hours of the remaining members will be extended to 60 years. Is that acceptable? Fine. The boss glanced over at the other members of the team. Seeing that no one voiced any objections, he turned to the giant brain. Then upload my consciousness. Do you need me to do anything? See that pool with countless people soaking in it? The giant brain replied, after you jump into the pool, a mechanical arm will peel back your skull. At the same time, the life support fluid in the pool will keep you from dying. Then, you can begin the consciousness upload. The boss didn't say another word. Under everyone's watchful eyes, he jumped straight into the massive pool used for ascension without a second thought. The very next second, everything happened exactly as the giant brain said. A mechanical arm slowly extended in front of the boss, and emitted a ring of red light. That light, sharp as a blade, easily sliced the boss's skull right off. How's that? Not bad, right? During the process, the giant brain didn't forget to narrate from the sidelines. The life support fluid has a powerful anesthetic effect, so the person doesn't feel any pain at all during the whole process. As they spoke, a black thread dropped down from above the pool and pierced directly into the boss's brain. The other end of the thread was connected all the way back to the giant brain. Obviously, that black thread was the data cable used to upload human consciousness. After about an hour of this, the giant brain, having been silent for a while, finally spoke up. Alright, his consciousness has been completely uploaded. If you don't believe me, you can verify it yourselves. As soon as he said that, the boss's virtual avatar slowly faded onto the massive screen behind him. The avatar was lounging in a beach chair, with a swimming pool just a few steps away. Right by the pool sat an iced drink. Seeing all this gave the team of 5 standing there a surreal, dreamlike feeling. Out of the 5 of them, Eddie, the tech guy, was the first to speak. Boss, is that really you? Yeah, it's me. Boss still seemed a bit disoriented by this post-upload world. He looked around, his face full of total disbelief. This is way too real. This virtual world feels exactly like reality. Eddie frowned. Boss, do you still remember your own name? Of course I do. The boss let out a light chuckle. My full name is Elvira Collins. Got Italian roots. And my absolute favorite food is pizza. Hearing this, the team of 5 all exchanged glances. There was no mistaking it. This was 100% their boss, not some AI churned out by a computer. Just to be perfectly safe, Eddie asked one last question. Then, boss, do you remember passcode we got right before heading out on this mission? 5102. Collins answered without missing a beat. He stood up from the beach chair and grabbed the iced drink sitting by the pool. He chugged down more than half of it, then smacked his lips. Sweet and sour. Gotta be orange juice mixed with grapefruit. He let out a long sigh, practically melting into it. Man, it's been ages since I had orange juice. This virtual world is seriously amazing. Chapter 43. Excuse me, are you human? Back in the main hall, Eddie's eyebrows were locked in a tight frown. He stared at the boss on the screen, completely quiet. What is it? A teammate noticed and quickly asked. Is something off? I can't put my finger on it, but... Eddie kept his voice low. I just feel like the boss is acting a little weird. But at the same time, he answered every single question perfectly. Seeing Eddie struggle to tell if the boss was real or fake, the brain floating in the glass culture vat suddenly blurted out of nowhere, Yo, buddy. The name's Collins, right? What about it? On the screen, Boss Collins heard the brain and snapped back. Who the hell are you? Don't you worry about who I am. The brain insisted, look, I got a surefire way to prove if you're a real human or not. So, you wanna play along? Collins hesitated for a few seconds, then shrugged. Alright, what do you want me to do? Hold your horses, the brain instructed. First, spawn yourself a piece of paper and a pen. Easy enough. Collins held out his hand, palm up. In the very next second, a fountain pen and a blank sheet of paper materialized right into his grasp. Holding the paper and pen, he looked at the brain. Now what? The brain answered, listen close. I'm gonna rattle off a string of numbers. And I need you to jot them down on that paper for me. Not too hard, right? Collins looked a little annoyed, but eventually, he nodded. Fine, shoot. I'm ready. Alright, listen up. The brain casually reeled them off. 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 8, 2, 3, 1, 1, 6, 1, 2, 3, 3, 9, 8, 7. You get all that? Got it. Collins stopped writing and spoke up. The brain hadn't spoken very fast, so Collins was able to catch the full 20 digits on paper after just hearing them once. Perfect. Seeing that Collins had it written down, the brain issued its next command. Now do me a favor, and memorize that whole string of numbers. Huh? Collins shot the brain a baffled look. Memorize the whole thing? Yup, the whole thing. The brain replied. Can you do it? Because as long as you can memorize it, I'll know for a fact whether you're a living human, or just a bunch of code. Well, watching this unfold, the members of the team of 5 couldn't help but shoot each other confused glances. They had absolutely no clue what kind of crazy trick the brain had up its sleeve. But confused or not, since Brain kept insisting that he could tell if Collins was the real deal, the 5-man squad held back and decided not to interrupt what he was doing. On the projection screen, Collins, who was stuck inside the virtual world, nodded. Looking a bit reluctant, he sighed, alright, fine. I'll give it a shot, but I can't promise I'll be able to memorize all these numbers. No worries, Brain reassured him. Just try your best to remember them. After saying that, the entire hall fell completely silent. The only sound left was their boss, Collins, constantly muttering to himself on the screen. He really did look like he was trying hard to memorize those numbers. Time slowly ticked by. Finally, Boss Collins stopped memorizing. He stood up and announced, alright, I've got that 20-digit number memorized. I'm going to recite it now. 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 8, 2, 3, 1, 6, 2, 1, 3, 3, 9, 8, 7. Well, I got them all right, didn't I? Saying that, he even made sure to glance down at the piece of paper on the table, just to prove he was right. But Brain, with a hint of slyness in his voice, replied, actually, Whether you could memorize all the numbers or not, didn't matter at all. What really mattered was your process while doing it. With that, Brain suddenly turned to Eddie from the 5-man squad and asked, "Hey, your name is Eddie, right?" Eddie didn't say a word, he just looked right at Brain. Using his eyes to acknowledge him, Brain then continued, "I just wanted to ask, how close are you with your boss, Collins? Do you guys spend a lot of time together?" "Yeah, I'd say we spend a fair amount of time together," Eddie answered honestly. "Mostly when we're out on missions, we're always together. But once we're back at the space station, we don't hang out as much." "Alright then, let me ask you this," Brain pressed further. "Does your boss have any subconscious habits when he's deep in thought? Like, I don't know, resting his chin on his hand? Spinning a pen? Touching his nose? Or maybe running his fingers through his hair?" "Actually, yeah, he does." Eddie had already figured out exactly what Brain was trying to do. A look of sudden realization washed over his face as he said, "When our boss is thinking, he always subconsciously covers his mouth with his hand. And he doesn't even realize he's doing it. Seriously, even if he gave himself a heat rash from doing it so much, his hand would still be right up there by his mouth." "Well, then the answer is pretty obvious, isn't it?" Brain asked, totally playing dumb. "Just now, did you see Collins cover his mouth at all?" "Man, that is absolutely brilliant," Eddie said in awe. "The things a person does subconsciously, they don't get stored in their memory. And if it's not in the memory, a computer obviously can't simulate it." So, Eddie looked straight at Boss Collins on the projection screen. "Boss, there's something wrong with you." Whoa, hey man." Boss Collins was starting to panic. "Aren't you jumping to conclusions a bit too fast here? Sure, I like to cover my mouth when I'm thinking, but I don't do it every single time. I just so happen to not do it right now. And because of that, you're just gonna decide that I'm not me? That's seriously messed up." "True," Brain chimed in, taking over the conversation. "Just using that one detail to conclude that you aren't the real deal would be a little too hasty. That's exactly why I prepared another test." Right then, Brain suddenly stopped talking. His annoying habit of building suspense was acting up again. Seeing Brain go quiet, Eddie hurriedly asked, "What else do you have?" Now that someone had asked, Brain finally spoke up. "It's simple. We just ask your boss a few highly subjective questions. If he's not a real human, he definitely won't be able to answer them. As for what counts as a subjective question," Brain explained, "just watch. I'll give you a quick demonstration." With that, Brain suddenly, completely out of the blue, fired a question at Collins. "Collins, tell me, are you a human being?" "No shit, of course I am." Collins shot back without a second thought. Brain just repeated himself. "Tell me, are you a human being?" "I just said I am." "What, are you psycho?" Collins repeated himself too, but Brain just asked again, "Tell me, are you a human being?" I am. Yes, I am." Collins was clearly getting incredibly frustrated, but Brain, completely unfazed, kept asking, "Tell me, are you a human being?" Fuck. Finally, Collins snapped. He roared, "Are you freaking kidding me right now? This isn't even a test. Stop acting like a damn lunatic." Even after that outburst, Brain asked the exact same question several more times in a row. "Are you a human being?" But Collins just stayed completely silent from then on. And just like that, the test was over. The Brain then turned to Eddie, from the 5-man squad, and asked, "Can you see what's wrong?" "Oh, there's a problem all right," Eddie replied without missing a beat. A massive one. Chapter 44, Conflict. Eddie broke it down. When he was asked, "Are you human?" Collins acted a bit impatient, maybe even angry. That's actually pretty normal for him. But the moment he went completely silent, I knew something was wrong. Knowing Collins' personality, he's just not the type to keep his mouth shut. Eddie explained, "Our boss is, well, how'd I put this? He's the kind of guy who loves to pick a fight over nothing. No matter what anyone says, he always has to fire back. If you forced him to keep quiet, he'd probably drop dead from holding it all in. So, when he's asked over and over again, 'Are you human?' the boss's real reaction would be shouting, 'Hell yeah I am,' or maybe, 'I'm your damn daddy.' Something like that. Point is, there's no way he'd just stand there in silence." At this, Eddie locked his eyes on the projection screen, glaring right at their boss, Collins. He demanded, "That's twice now. You've acted completely out of character in 2 back-to-back tests. You can't just brush that off as a coincidence, can you?" HMPH, suspended high in the air from the ceiling of the massive hall, the giant Brain let out a low chuckle. Not bad. You've actually taught me a little lesson today. I suppose computers still fall short compared to humans. At the very least, they just can't perfectly mimic human personality. Let's just say there's room for improvement." Meanwhile, inside the Ascension Zone's main hall, as the giant Brain kept rambling on, countless mechanical arms suddenly shot out from every direction. They lunged at Chen Fan and the others from all different angles. Clearly, now that its lies were completely exposed, the giant Brain realized playing nice wasn't going to work. It was time to use brute force. But the members of the 5-man squad hadn't fought their way into the core of the Europa space station by pure luck. Naturally, none of them were ordinary people. relying on their superhuman physical enhancements. They easily dodged the aggressive, incoming mechanical arms. Some of them even went a step further, grabbing the mechanical arms with sheer brute force and ripping them clean out of the walls. Floating in its glass culture tank, the brain couldn't help but marvel, impressive. These cyborgs are undeniably powerful. Even as it spoke, several mechanical arms lashed out toward the brain itself, as well as at Chen Fan. In this critical moment, Chen Fan wasn't about to take any chances. He channeled his internal spiritual energy, enveloping his body. In an instant, his entire figure turned completely translucent. Using his phasing ability to pass right through any physical obstacle, Chen Fan fell straight down, sinking right through the floor. In the blink of an eye, he vanished without a trace. How is that even possible? Seeing Chen Fan transform his entire body into a translucent state, almost like a ghostly jellyfish. The giant brain's processing completely stalled out for a second, and with it, every single mechanical arm in the massive hall froze in place. And it wasn't just the giant brain who was shocked. The members of the 5-man squad were also caught completely off guard by this bizarre sight. Standing totally frozen in their tracks. That guy, just now. After a brief moment of stunned silence, one of the squad members gasped. He just phased straight into the damn floor. Forget about him for now. As the squad's second in command, Eddie kept his cool and barked out orders. We need to find a way out of here first. If we're totally trapped, then we end it ourselves. Whatever happens, absolutely do not let that giant brain rip out our consciousness. At that exact same moment, pulled by Earth's gravity, Chen Fan plummeted straight out of the Europa space station, tumbling all the way down into the dark void of outer space. Because he had been wearing his pressurized spacesuit the whole time, he wasn't affected by the sudden vacuum and lack of pressure. Chen Fan was totally fine, but the brain, trapped inside its glass culture tank, was not handling it so well. Exposed to the brutal vacuum of space, visible cracks rapidly began webbing across the glass tank. It looked like it could shatter into pieces at any second. Worse yet, the cracks broke the airtight seal of the tank. The life support fluid inside immediately began to boil, rapidly vaporizing into nothing. It seemed the brain really was only fascinated by the unknown. As for everything else, well, it simply couldn't evoke any real emotional response from it at all. Even at this very moment, staring down such a crisis, the brain stayed incredibly calm. Hurry up and get the ship over here. I can hold on for about 1 minute. In stark contrast, you could hear a hint of real panic in Chen Fan's voice, because he actually cared if the brain lived or died. He didn't want the brain to die. He roared out, Huang Jing, hurry up. Where's the ship? The words had barely left his mouth when the suit guy's voice crackled through the earpiece. I'm already tracking your location with the ship. Don't panic. Crack. Right in the middle of their exchange, the glass incubation tank holding the brain fractured again with a terrifying crack. Even though space is a vacuum, sound can still travel through solid objects. So the sickening crunch of shattering glass traveled loud and clear right into Chen Fan's ears. He grew even more frantic. How much longer until the ship gets here? I've got eyes on you. The suit guy replied. I'm opening the hatch. Make sure you protect the brain. Got it. To prevent the violent impact of the drop from shattering the brain's tank completely, Chen Fan decisively channeled his spiritual energy, wrapping it like a protective cocoon all around the glass vat. A split second later, the suit guy expertly maneuvered the A-10 spacecraft and smoothly caught Chen Fan in mid-freefall. Once they were inside the cabin and the pressure stabilized, the glass tank finally stopped cracking. They were safe, at least for now. The suit guy couldn't hide his excitement. Man, we hit the jackpot on this run. Besides getting the brain and the intangibility ability, we also squeezed a ton of top-secret intel about the space station's higher-ups out of that giant brain. We seriously scored big. But while the suit guy was celebrating, Chen Fan noticed nutrient fluid steadily leaking out from the brain's shattered tank. He spoke up. Hey, your tank is leaking fluid. Are you gonna be okay? It is not a major issue, the brain replied calmly. Huang Jing, can you hear me? Loud and clear, the suit guy quickly answered. The brain gave his orders. I need you to prep a room that meets level 1 surgical theater standards. I also need a completely sterile glass tank. The glass itself must be weapons-grade bulletproof. Furthermore, the pH level of the fluid inside must be maintained precisely around 7.5. The sodium and chloride ion concentrations need to be 0.145 and 0.117 moles per liter, respectively. Keep the potassium ion concentration at exactly 0.139 moles per liter. The margin of error cannot exceed 0.01 moles. All of this must be ready before I dock, the brain stressed firmly. If I cannot replenish my nutrient fluid in time, I will most likely die. Got it, the suit guy replied. I've logged every single detail. Do you need anything else? That will be all for now. After that, the brain went completely silent, not saying another word. Out in the cold void of space, Chen Fan piloted the A-10 spacecraft, speeding rapidly away from the Europa space station. Chapter 45, Alchemical Fire and the Cauldron. Tiangong Space Station. A steady automated alert chimed inside the docking service module. Axial docking buffered. Pilots, please synchronize your flight speed. Air pressurization in progress. After an agonizing half-hour wait, finally, Chen Fan shoved the orbital hatch open. With every passing second, the glass vat holding the brain had drained almost all of its nutrient fluid. If they didn't swap it out right now, the brain was going to die. The second Chen Fan stepped out of the ship, he was met by the suit guy, who had been waiting anxiously. Hurry, the new tank and the sterile operating room are completely ready. Let's move. Yeah. Chen Fan glanced down at the brain in his hands without another word, quickly tailing the suit guy towards the sterile surgical room. Along the way, the suit guy spoke as they speed walked. Man, you seriously pulled off a massive win this time. Because of that, the mountain ginseng you wanted so badly, the Splinter faction voted unanimously to drop a fortune and buy it straight out for you. You already bought it? Chen Fan's face lit up with pure joy. Where is it? Honestly, Chen Fan cared way more about that ginseng right now than he did about the brain. His voice filled with worry. A century-old mountain ginseng is packed with natural plant spiritual energy. If you don't store it in a very specific kind of box, that spiritual energy is just going to slowly bleed away. Relax, I've got that covered, the suit guy reassured him. The guy who grew it is an expert in herbal cultivation. When we bought it off him, he heavily stressed that we absolutely shouldn't just pluck it straight out of the dirt. Otherwise, the spiritual energy inside would just leak out. So we held off on picking it. We were waiting for you. That's good. Chen Fan breathed a quiet sigh of relief. But then the guy in the suit spoke up again. Oh, and one more thing. That furnace you asked me to custom order? It's all sorted. Already? That was fast. A hint of surprise slipped into Chen Fan's voice. His mission outside had barely taken a single day. He hadn't expected the guy in the suit to prep the glass culture dishes in the sterile operating room. And somehow get his furnace made all at the same time. The efficiency was insane. Bro, it's the year 6141. What, do you think we're still stuck in the 21st century? Seeing Chen Fan's reaction, the guy in the suit explained, because you needed an open flame, getting the furnace approved was a tiny bit of a hassle. But really, just a tiny bit. Less than 2 hours after it got greenlit, the 3D printing lab had the whole thing knocked out. At this point, he suddenly dropped his voice. Looking playfully mysterious, he leaned in toward Chen Fan. Bro. First you want wild ginseng, and now you want a furnace. If I'm not mistaken, you're planning on forging pills, aren't you? The guy in the suit had done Chen Fan a lot of favors, and naturally picked up on a few of his secrets along the way. So, keeping the pill forging a secret was pretty much impossible. Realizing this, Chen Fan just owned up to it. Yeah, I am planning to forge pills. Taking them will help strengthen the body. I don't really care much about strengthening the body. The guy in the suit replied with a shrug. After all, no matter how much you train your body, you're still gonna get old in a decade or two, right? In the end, you'll just have to use resurrection tech to refresh your stats anyway. So, instead of working your ass off at the gym, you might as well just get cyborg surgery. Close your eyes, open them, and boom, you're basically a superhuman. He had no idea that Chen Fan was actually a cultivator, let alone just how terrifyingly powerful cultivators could be. Because of that, Chen Fan didn't bother arguing with him, as the two kept chatting. They unknowingly arrived right outside the sterile operating room. The researchers in charge of the culture dish replacement surgery were already fully assembled inside, and among the crowd of scientists, Chen Fan even caught a glimpse of Zhuge Fu. But, since time was of the essence, he didn't want to delay the emergency brain surgery. He held himself back from going over to catch up, and quickly hurried off with the guy in the suit. Oh, right. Just as they were leaving, Chen Fan suddenly turned to him. Could you prep a small lab that allows open flames for me? Ideally, one with really good soundproofing and total privacy. That's easy, the guy in the suit replied smoothly. The labs on the space station have always allowed open flames, so setting you up with a private little lab is no sweat. I just don't know how long you're gonna need it for. Chen Fan thought for a moment. If everything goes smoothly, probably about 1 to 3 months. That long? The guy in the suit asked, surprised. 3 whole months, just locked up in a lab, forging pills? Right, Chen Fan said. During that time, I have to be there constantly. I can't leave for even a single second. So, aside from the lab, I'm gonna have to bother you to stock up some food and water for me. That shouldn't be too hard, right? That's easy. The guy in the suit asked again. What about the fire? What are you planning to use for fuel? Would hydrogen work? Chen Fan asked, a bit unsure. I heard the labs on the station all use hydrogen as fuel. Hydrogen is pretty much the cleanest fuel out there, he replied. When it burns, it doesn't even leave any carbon dioxide behind. Using it to forge pills should be totally fine. But there's one thing I need to make clear first. He went into lecture mode. The station's labs don't supply mixed gases, meaning the hydrogen can only burn in pure oxygen. If you don't control it, the burning temp can max out at over 2,830 degrees. So, with temps that high, isn't it gonna incinerate all the ingredients in your furnace? Wait, over 2,800 degrees? Chen Fan's face lit up with excitement. Oh, they won't burn. They definitely won't burn. When it comes to forging pills, the hotter, the better. It'll actually bump up the success rate. Back in the cultivation world, when qi condensation and foundation establishment cultivators forge pills. Most people use coal for fuel, but cultivators from the big sects, they use the earth fire inside their sect's hidden realms to refine pills. Earth fire is basically just the heat coming from underground magma. With both of these methods, the highest temperature the alchemy furnace can maintain is only around 1300 degrees. If you want to push the heat even higher than that, you'd have to ask a golden core cultivator to step in and use spiritual flames, like the samadhi true fire, for the refinement process. So, as an independent cultivator still in the qi condensation stage, Chen Fan was originally stuck using coal to refine his foundation establishment pill. But who would have thought? The open flame provided by the laboratory would actually reach over 2800 degrees. Modern industry really does have its perks. In the end, Chen Fan still had to ask, I'm not worried about the herbs burning, but at over 2800 degrees. Is my furnace going to melt? Come on, don't you trust me? The guy in the suit promised him confidently, your furnace is made of tungsten steel. The melting point is well over 4000 degrees. Just go wild with it. If you break it, just come find me. Chapter 46, The Shabby Cultivator. By the time Chen Fan returned to the space station, he hadn't slept a wink for 2 whole days and nights. Even though a qi condensation cultivator needs slightly less sleep than a normal person, going without it for so long still catches up to you. So, not long after parting ways with the guy in the suit, Chen Fan headed straight back to his room to rest. When he finally woke up, it was already early the next morning. The first thing he did was glance at his personal terminal. Aside from a message left by Yangxi, there was another text from the guy in the suit. It read, Bro, the guy growing the mountain ginseng wants to meet you. If you're cool with it, just go find him in room B5211. At this point, Chen Fan's mind was completely focused on the foundation establishment pill. And to refine it, he desperately needed that century-old mountain ginseng. Since the ginseng grower wanted to see him, he naturally obliged and happily went on his way. The Tiangong space station had a population in the hundreds of thousands. Despite the huge numbers, it had remained perfectly orderly for 1,000 years. The reason was simple, in order to earn enough points, so they could revive themselves after death. Absolutely everyone on the station worked like their lives depended on it. They didn't dare stop for a single second, and when everyone is that busy grinding away, naturally, no one has the time or energy to go around causing trouble. Of course, that didn't mean every single person on the station was forced to toil away until the day they died. The older folks who had worked hard for 40 or 50 years, and had already saved up enough points for resurrection, still had the right to retire and rest, and that included the ginseng grower. When Chen Fan met the man, he could immediately tell his age just by looking at him. He had to be at least 60 years old, if not older. Right now, he was sitting cross-legged inside his capsule room. The tiny, cramped room was crammed full of all sorts of bottles and jars, along with several exquisite potted plants. Seeing Chen Fan arrive, the old man spoke slowly, Ah, fellow Taoist, you're here. My place is a bit cramped, so please forgive me for not hosting you properly. I hope you don't mind. As he spoke, Chen Fan could faintly sense a slight surge of spiritual energy rippling across the man's body, combined with the words, fellow Taoist. Chen Fan was genuinely shocked. He quickly cupped his hands in a respectful salute. I never would have thought. There are actually other cultivators here on the Tiangong space station. Hey, the old man chuckled lightly. The moment I heard someone wanted to buy my mountain ginseng, I already had a feeling. I figured there was an 80% chance you were a cultivator too. And now that we've met, I guess I was right. The man looked Chen Fan up and down, then asked politely, if I may ask, fellow Taoist, what is your current cultivation level? Chen Fan possessed a divine soul on par with a nascent soul cultivator. So with just one glance, he could tell the old man was only at the middle stage of qi condensation. But on the flip side, the old man definitely didn't have the ability to see through Chen Fan's cultivation level at a glance. Hence the question. Chen Fan smiled and replied, just by some stroke of luck, I've barely managed to scrape my way to the late stage of qi condensation. Ah, the late stage of qi condensation? Inside the capsule room, hearing the words late qi condensation, the ginseng cultivator jolted up from the ground in absolute shock. He stared in pure disbelief, looking Chen Fan up and down all over again. Are you seriously at the late qi condensation stage? How old are you even? Well, in reality, Chen Fan had been on the space station for barely 2 months. That sounded a bit too ridiculous. So, Chen Fan decided to lie, casually answering, 23. All in all, I've been cultivating for exactly 1 year now. Whenever humans were brought back by the resurrection spell, their physical age was locked at 22. Not to mention, all their injuries and physical conditions were completely reset. Since Chen Fan claimed to be 23, doing the math, it meant he had been cultivating on the station for exactly 1 year. However, even though Chen Fan was already lying, stretching his cultivation time from less than 2 months to a full year, the ginseng cultivator still looked like he had seen a ghost. Impossible. Cultivating for just 1 year? How on earth could you reach late chi condensation? He stared dead at Chen Fan, his voice shaking with agitation. Back at my old temple, I had a martial uncle with absolute top-tier talent. Everyone called him a genius. But even he took 96 whole years just to barely scrape into the late chi condensation stage. And you're telling me you reach late chi condensation in just 1 year? Do you take me for an absolute fool? 96 years, a top-tier genius, just to reach late chi condensation? Hearing that, a very weird expression crossed Chen Fan's face. The man's outburst made him realize something. Even though there were cultivators on Earth, they were apparently way weaker than he had imagined. It seemed like hitting late chi condensation was already the absolute peak of human limits over here. Realizing this, Chen Fan didn't even bother arguing with the guy. He just casually waved his hand. A split second later, a glowing orb of light materialized right in his palm. The spell Chen Fan cast was one of the most common, basic spells in the entire cultivation world. It was known as the light gathering spell. Once cast, it would condense a ball of pure light right in your hand. Mostly just used as a flashlight in the dark. Yet, even though it was just a painfully simple light gathering spell, the ginseng cultivator saw it. And looked like he was witnessing an actual god. Frozen in place, he stammered, that was a magic spell, wasn't it? I just felt the spiritual energy shifting. That's definitely a spell, it has to be. Chen Fan caught the implication right away. Curious, he asked, wait, you're in the middle chi condensation stage. Don't tell me you haven't learned a single spell yet? Well, it seemed the ginseng cultivator really hadn't learned a single spell. Caught totally off guard by Chen Fan's question, he stood there speechless for a moment. After stammering awkwardly for a good while, he finally spoke up. My name is Bu Tianren. My Taoist title is Master Lianmu. I joined the Grand Shangqing Zhengyi Wanshu Palace on Dragon Tiger Mountain back in 2001. May I ask, where you're from, senior brother? Despite his age, Bu Tianren was calling Chen Fan, senior brother. Clearly, he had already accepted Chen Fan's status as a late chi condensation master. Chen Fan accepted the respect without missing a beat. He answered truthfully, I'm Chen Fan. As for a Taoist title, I honestly never bothered picking one. Before I died, I spent most of my time in closed-door cultivation over at the Qingyang sect. After transmigrating to the cultivation world, Chen Fan had spent a very long time at the Qingyang sect, serving as their supreme ancestor, dominating an entire era with his nascent soul cultivation base. So, technically, he wasn't lying at all. The Qingyang sect? Back in the room, Bu Tianren frowned deeply. I've never heard of it. Could it be some hidden, ancient sect? You could say that. Chen Fan didn't really feel like explaining his lineage anymore. Instead, he smoothly changed the subject. Other than you, are there any other cultivators here on the space station? Well, yes. Speaking of the others, a hint of pride crept into Bu Tianren's voice. But those guys either have completely garbage talent compared to me, or they just don't bother putting in the actual work. So, not many have actually crossed the threshold. Only a tiny handful managed to scrape their way into the early chi condensation stage. As for reaching the middle stage like me, Bu Tianren sighed. There used to be a few others on the station, but they all died. And after they got resurrected, they just gave up. Didn't want to go through the pain of cultivating all over again. So now, I'm pretty much the only one left. Chapter 47. Refining pills and passing down spells. No time to cultivate, huh? Chen Fan asked curiously, by the way, how exactly do the higher-ups on this station treat cultivators like us? Bu Tianren replied, at first, they were actually pretty interested. They even gave us some resources. Then they had us work with their researchers. But they quickly realized that cultivators only live about 10 or 20 years longer than normal people, and our physical strength is just slightly better. We don't really have immortality, and our combat power is nowhere near that of the cyborgs. So, gradually, they just stopped paying attention to us. Now, the higher-ups' attitude is basically, do whatever you want. Cultivate or don't cultivate, they don't care anymore. We're completely ignored. Sigh. As he spoke, Bu Tianren let out a long, heavy sigh. He looked over at the century-old mountain ginseng he had been cultivating in his room for so long, and murmured, I grew that ginseng. Originally intending to use it to break through the bottleneck of the late chi refining stage. But, my talent is just too pathetic. Every time, I only barely managed to break through to the middle chi refining stage when I was nearly 60 years old. He smiled helplessly. Once a person gets old, the meridians in the body completely close up. Even with the help of a century-old mountain ginseng, it's incredibly difficult to make any further breakthroughs. So, I just never got the chance to consume this ginseng. And somehow, I ended up taking care of it for 220 whole years. When you sent someone to buy the ginseng, senior, I initially thought that you were also going to use it to break through a chi refining bottleneck. But once we met, I realized that at your young age, senior, you had already reached the late chi refining stage. At this point, Bu Tianren's demeanor suddenly became incredibly respectful. He spoke with utmost caution. So, I was thinking, Could it be that you're buying this ginseng to break through to the foundation establishment stage, senior? If that's really the case, then I am willing to offer it completely free of charge. I will give the mountain ginseng directly to you, senior. Absolutely free. Hearing this, a thoughtful look appeared in Chen Fan's eyes, and he remained silently lost in thought. Seeing this, Bu Tianren quickly added, please don't overthink it, senior. I genuinely want to help you reach the foundation establishment stage. That's all there is to it. I have no ulterior motives. After all, from ancient times until now, no one in our Taoist lineage has ever managed to break through to the realm of an earthly immortal. If you could become the first, senior, and then point out a clear path for us juniors, then never mind a single mountain ginseng. From then on, if you tell us to go east, we juniors would never dare go west. On the path of cultivation, the one with greater mastery is always respected as the senior. Chen Fan had seen far too many people like Bu Tianren, offering up heavenly treasures to curry favor with a senior. So, he accepted the offering without a second thought and said, all right. Seeing your devotion, it would be rude of me to refuse this ginseng. But I won't just take your things for nothing. Chen Fan took the mountain ginseng from the man's hands and continued. I can see that you only know cultivation methods, but you don't know any combat spells to protect yourself. How about I teach you a highly practical spell in return? This was exactly what Bu Tianren had been hoping to hear. Seeing that Chen Fan was willing to teach him a technique, he didn't even hesitate. He immediately dropped into a formal bow and cried out, thank you for granting me this spell, master. From now on, your disciple will. Whoa, hold on. Seeing Bu Tianren kneeling on the ground, Chen Fan hastily interrupted him. Taking a master isn't as simple as casually banging your head on the ground a few times. Look, I can teach you the spell first, but as for taking you in as a disciple, let me think about it. Having secured the mountain ginseng, Chen Fan didn't want to waste any more time chatting with Bu Tianren. Right before leaving, he finally added, about teaching you that spell. Get a pen and some paper ready tomorrow, and then come find me. Understood. Bu Tianren's tone couldn't have been any more respectful. He cupped his hands and bowed deeply toward Chen Fan's departing figure. Farewell, senior. Not long after leaving Bu Tianren's place, Chen Fan used his personal terminal to contact the guy in the suit, asking him about the alchemy furnace. The suit guy replied, I got that furnace ready for you last night, man. Along with the hydrogen gas you need for the alchemy, your food, your drinks. I got absolutely everything sorted out for you. Just head straight over to the open flame lab, alright? Anyway, I'm actually swamped on my end, so I won't be joining you. The suit guy explained, that brain you brought back earlier? Didn't it keep wanting a human body? Well, I went ahead and arranged one. I managed to set it up with a female body. Pretty good looking, actually. So yeah, I'm super busy dealing with all that right now. You had to admit, the suit guy's efficiency was incredibly impressive. Following the map on his personal terminal, Chen Fan quickly located the open flame lab the suit guy had mentioned. Inside, the lab was fully equipped with absolutely everything he could need. In the corner, there were daily essentials like food, water, and sleeping bags. There was even a tungsten steel alchemy furnace, already hooked up to the hydrogen pipes. Chen Fan could start refining the foundation establishment pill the moment he arrived. Ignite the fire, preheat the furnace, toss in the auxiliary herbs, and finally, add that century-old wild ginseng. Once the whole process was set in motion, Chen Fan just sat quietly by the furnace, keeping a close watch for any unexpected hiccups. Time slipped by. In the blink of an eye, it was early morning the next day. Bu Tianren showed up bright and early outside Chen Fan's lab, and asked with utmost respect, Senior, are you in there? His voice was barely a whisper, as if he was terrified of disturbing Chen Fan's meditation. Almost 5 minutes passed like this, before Chen Fan, still sitting quietly by the furnace, finally spoke up. Did you bring the pen and paper? These days, most people just use their personal terminals as notepads to jot down important things. But you know what they say, walls have ears. Considering that the higher-ups on the space station could snoop through personal terminals at any time, he decided to pass down his teachings the old-fashioned way, with pen and paper. Outside the lab, Bu Tianren respectfully replied, as always. Bu Tianren respectfully replied, as always, I've got the pen and paper ready. Also, this junior brought 2 other fellow cultivators with me this time. These 2 are incredibly dedicated to the Tao. Not only are they hardworking, but their talent for cultivation is actually a bit better than mine. Bu Tianren cautiously asked for permission, Senior, what do you think? Chen Fan completely understood what he was getting at. Giving him face, Chen Fan replied, since you brought them, they can sit in and listen. But keep in mind, none of you have formally taken me as your master yet. So, if any of you, including you, Bu Tianren, cause any trouble in the future, absolutely do not claim to be my disciple. Don't worry, Senior, Bu Tianren hurriedly assured him. We completely understand. Good. Chen Fan spoke slowly. I plan to teach you 3 spells. None of them are hard to learn. If there's anything you're really struggling with, you can come ask me anytime. The first spell is called the Light Gathering Spell. I already showed you how it works yesterday. It's a basic utility spell used for lighting. Make sure you take good notes. Aside from the light gathering spell, Chen Fan went on to teach the three of them the fireball spell, as well as the dust repelling spell. After receiving the techniques, the three of them thanked him over and over again, before happily taking their leave. Chapter 48. The pill is forged. Bonus chapter today, please keep reading. The next day, the guy in the suit came to see Chen Fan personally, bringing some bad news. The brain is having a severe rejection reaction to the new body. There's a real risk the whole thing might just break down. Left with no choice, the brain had to abandon the body transplant. Hearing this, Chen Fan was confused. Isn't the space station's cyborg technology supposed to be pretty advanced? Why not just hook him up with a fully mechanical body? Because the tech for that just isn't there yet, the guy in the suit replied. And never mind our Tiangong space station. Even the Europa space station, which literally specializes in mechanical ascension, hasn't been able to develop a fully mechanical body like you're talking about. You saw that for yourself the last time you went. The higher-ups over at Europa, the guy in the suit continued, couldn't pull off mechanical ascension, so they had to settle for the next best thing and switch to biological ascension. Anyway, with where our tech is at right now, the best we can do for mechanical modifications is slap on a few prosthetics. But trying to turn an entire human body into a machine? Alright, fair enough. Chen Fan wasn't exactly thrilled by high-tech stuff, so he changed the subject. So what about the brain? How is he doing now? Oh, he's totally fine, the guy in the suit said. Since he doesn't have a physical body, he basically lacks all human emotions except for a thirst for knowledge. So the transplant failing didn't really bum him out at all. Oh, right. The guy in the suit suddenly turned to Chen Fan and asked. Yesterday, Bu Tianren suddenly told me he didn't want any of the credits from selling that wild ginseng. He told me to transfer them all to your account. I mean, I have no problem sending them to you. Just wanted to double check that you're cool with it? Chen Fan wasn't about to turn down a massive pile of free credits, so of course he agreed. Alright then, the guy in the suit finally said. If there's nothing else, I'll be heading out. And hey, if there are any new updates on the space station, I'll be the first to let you know. Outside the lab, after shooting the breeze with Chen Fan for a bit, the guy in the suit said his goodbyes and took off. For the next few days, nothing major really happened. But as for Bu Tianren and the other two, after Chen Fan taught them the cultivation methods, they practiced like crazy every single day. And whenever they hit a wall, they'd come straight to him for advice. For the sake of that mountain ginseng they gave him, and considering how incredibly respectful they were, Chen Fan basically answered every single question they had. Because of this, Bu Tianren and his crew quickly got the hang of the basics of their spells. Other than that, while Chen Fan was locked away making pills, Yang Si dropped by all the time. And you know how it goes, spending all that time together sparked something. It didn't take long for them to naturally start dating, since the higher-ups on the space station really didn't care about cultivators anyway. Chen Fan just went ahead and taught her his own cultivation method. Once she found out that practicing it would make her skin glow and make her look even prettier, Yang Si threw almost all her free time right into cultivation. Her talent was pretty average, honestly, but luckily she had Chen Fan guiding her. So, in less than a month and a half, she officially crossed the threshold into cultivation. Just like that, 3 whole months of alchemy flew by. The guy in the suit finally brought Chen Fan some good news. After putting in a ton of time and effort, they finally tracked down Li Shu, who was working on the second level of the space station. Maybe it was because of his connection with Chen Fan, but Li Shu straight up accepted the suit guy's invitation, and officially became a member of the Separation Society. By the end of the month, after almost 4 long months of waiting, Chen Fan finally finished brewing the Foundation establishment pills. The day they were done, this incredible scent filled the air. Spiritual energy was so intensely thick, it felt like it was practically spilling out of the lab. Inside the lab, Chen Fan pulled out the porcelain bottles he had prepped beforehand, and carefully, so carefully, scooped all 3 Foundation establishment pills from the furnace right into them. Only when that was done did he finally step out of his sealed room. By this point, a whole crowd of people who knew Chen Fan had already gathered right outside the lab. Besides the usual familiar faces who always came around, like the guy in the suit, Yang Si, and Bu Tianren, Chen Fan also spotted Li Shu, Zug Fu, and the brain in the crowd. Li Shu looked exactly the same as Chen Fan remembered. Just this totally deadpan, expressionless face from start to finish, like a completely emotionless robot. As for Zug Fu, he was craning his neck, trying so hard to peek into the lab behind Chen Fan, flashing this wild, absolute fanatical look on his face every few seconds. And then, there was the brain. This guy was just soaking in his vat of nutrient blood without making a single sound, so Chen Fan really couldn't tell what the hell was going on in its head. Welcome back, senior. The moment he stepped out of the lab, the very first thing Chen Fan heard was the voices of Bu Tianren and his 2 friends. They were literally kneeling on the floor, paying their respects with as much reverence as humanly possible. Bu Tianren couldn't even hold back, practically blurting out, "Senior, if I may ask, those pills you were making. Everything went perfectly. Chen Fan didn't say much else, just giving everyone a smile and a solid nod of confirmation. After catching up with the group for a few minutes, Chen Fan made an announcement. I'm going into deep cultivation, he said. I probably won't be showing my face around here for a really long time. So, we'll do things the usual way. Saying that, Chen Fan suddenly turned to look at the guy in the suit. While I'm locked away in there, I'm gonna have to bother you to keep bringing me my food and drinks. Not a problem, the guy in the suit replied, though he looked a bit curious. How long are you going to be locked in there this time? Maybe 3 to 5 years? Chen Fan said, not entirely sure himself. Honestly, it's hard to say. Could be even longer. 5 years? The guy in the suit stared at him in absolute shock. You're just going in to meditate, and it's gonna take 5 whole years? Chen Fan just chuckled, completely brushing off the need to explain the timeline. And honestly, it wasn't just the suit guy. Everyone else standing there also looked totally stunned. Or just straight up couldn't believe it. The only exception was Li Shu, who stayed completely ice cold the entire time. With all the cultivation experience and insights he had piled up from his past life, it was no exaggeration to say that as long as Chen Fan had those foundation establishment pills, he was absolutely guaranteed to break through to the foundation establishment stage. There was straight up zero chance of him failing. So, the moment that elixir was successfully refined, he could basically be considered a quasi-foundation establishment cultivator. Now that his true power was hidden within, Chen Fan's entire presence was completely different from before. Speaking in the tone of an elder instructing his juniors, he turned to Bu Tianren and the other two. While I'm in seclusion, you must not slack off on your cultivation. Wait for me to come out. I will definitely have uses for you all. Hearing this, joy instantly lit up the faces of Bu Tianren and the other two. Bu Tianren was the first to speak up, eager to show his loyalty. We will obey the master. We will obey your orders, senior. We wouldn't dare slack off. Chen Fan nodded, then turned his gaze to the rest of the group. Alright, you're all dismissed. And while I'm in seclusion, if anything important comes up, you can still come find me anytime. I just can't physically leave this room. But chatting with you guys is perfectly fine. When ordinary cultivators go into seclusion, they do it to avoid being distracted by worldly affairs. So they can focus entirely on their training and increase their chances of a breakthrough. Because of that, they usually don't take visitors. But Chen Fan was different. He was a reincarnated master cultivating from scratch, meaning he had a near 100% guarantee of breaking through. So, even if he was interrupted by outside matters, it wouldn't cause any issues at all. Chapter 49, Closed Door Seclusion. Time holds no meaning in the world of cultivation. Ever since the foundation establishment pill was completed, Chen Fan stayed locked away in the hidden chamber. During this time, he hardly did anything at all. He was simply adjusting his physical and mental state. As he rested and gathered his strength, the days slipped away in the blink of an eye. Inside the chamber, Chen Fan, who had been sitting in deep meditation for exactly 3 whole months, suddenly felt a spark of spiritual light flash across his sea of consciousness. Sensing the moment had come, he decisively swallowed the foundation establishment pill he had prepared. The very next second, spiritual energy erupted from the pill like a roaring tsunami, rapidly flooding into every bone and limb in his body. Relying on his incredibly strong soul, Chen Fan used his willpower to guide the raging energy, forcing it all to converge directly into his violet palace. Who knows how much time passed? As the gathered spiritual energy grew denser and denser, finally, quantity triggered a shift in quality. The vast ocean of spiritual energy inside his violet palace began transforming from a gaseous state into something solid. It slowly forged into a solid Tao foundation. Just as the old saying goes, refine the primordial breath within the Dantian, forge the foundation to become an immortal. Master the reversed flow of the 5 elements, and only then, can you plant the golden lotus within the flames. The instant his Tao foundation was forged, Chen Fan could clearly feel excess spiritual energy overflowing from his body. An ordinary person wouldn't have noticed a thing, but Bu Tianren, who was deep in his own intense training, suddenly snapped his eyes open. He looked at the 2 cultivators beside him, his expression deeply serious. You too, you felt that just now, didn't you? The other 2 were also cultivators who had received Chen Fan's teachings. One of them nodded in response. Yeah, this surge of spiritual energy. Senior Chen must be breaking through. At that exact same moment, taking a quick, sneaky break from work, Yang Si, who was busy practicing the cultivation method Chen Fan had given him, also picked up on that strange shift in the air. It's Chen Fan. Realizing what was happening, Yang Si let out a long sigh, a totally helpless look spreading across his face. In fact, it wasn't just Yang Si, Bu Tianren, and their group. At that very moment, all 31 cultivators aboard the Heavenly Palace space station sensed the spiritual energy spilling out from Chen Fan's location. The reactions were mixed. Some were thrilled, some were stunned, and others just found it absolutely unbelievable. It was a wild mix of emotions. But foundation establishment isn't something that happens overnight. Ever since taking the pill, Chen Fan had remained completely locked away in his chamber, losing track of time entirely. During that period, nothing major happened on the Heavenly Palace station. However, the man in the suit did bring some crazy news about the Europa space station. Europa's biological ascension project totally failed. Maybe the technology just wasn't mature enough yet. That massive brain, the one carrying the consciousness of all their top executives, had recently died from a total genetic collapse. And the second that giant brain collapsed, all those Europa executives dreaming of eternal life? Naturally, they all died a gruesome death right along with it. According to the rules of the Tower Prison, after human elites die, they get locked up in VIP rooms for special treatment. Man, it was. Calling it miserable doesn't even begin to cover it. Even though, based on the principle of mutual aid, both the Heavenly Palace and the Eden space stations are supposed to help Europa rebuild. With all their top brass gone, who knows how many decades it'll take before Europa actually gets back on its feet. Not long after the giant brain collapsed, the Heavenly Palace space station welcomed the arrival of the annual New Year. On New Year's Day, almost everyone puts down their work to gather and celebrate with friends and family. So Chen Fan made an exception, stepping out of his secret chamber to have a quick drink with Yang Si and the others. Winter passed and spring came again. Chen Fan remained in his chamber, continuing his closed-door cultivation. He had been in that chamber for 13 whole months. Just today, Chen Fan heard from the man in the suit about another massive piece of news. I only heard this from Li Shu, man, so I can't be 100% sure. Outside the chamber, the man in the suit lowered his voice, whispering mysteriously to Chen Fan, "Word is, the top brass of our space station have a few guys who are barely hanging on. Their lifespans have hit the absolute limit. To avoid dying and ending up in the Tower Prison, they spent a fortune building multiple vacuum cryo chambers. Since Li Shu happens to be the one running the project, I got the intel immediately." "Cryogenic freezing?" Chen Fan asked, curious. "There's something I still don't get. It's not 100% guaranteed that the higher-ups will respawn in the Tower Prison after they die. Couldn't they just assign more people to resurrect them?" "That's true," the man in the suit replied. "But on the flip side, the privileged top brass from the station will get special treatment in the Tower Prison too. The prison allocates way more resources trying to resurrect human leaders. So when you balance both sides out, their chances of respawning back at the space station drop to just around 50%. Leaving another 50% chance they'll be resurrected by the Tower Prison. Throw in the torture those higher-ups face in there, which, you know, no normal person could ever endure. Because of that, the top brass are terrified to take the gamble. So their only choice is to freeze themselves." Then, Chen Fan asked, even more curious, "Does this freezing process have absolutely no side effects?" "Oh, the side effects are massive," the man in the suit exclaimed. "This kind of cryo-sleep can only extend their lifespans by about 100 years tops. Once those 100 years are up, they're still going to drop dead. So now, they are completely losing their minds with panic. They're willing to try literally anything that might save them, no matter how ridiculously low the success rate is. Or how many resources it burns through." "Damn," Chen Fan commented after hearing this. "Those higher-ups have officially gone insane. We really need to watch our backs from now on, make sure they don't do anything desperate and blow up the entire space station." "I'll keep an eye on it," the man in the suit said. "The reason Li Shu told me about their situation is exactly because he was worried they might snap." With a hint of pride in his voice, he added, "Right now, our separation society acts as the space station's last line of defense. We are the contingency plan." After finishing his report on the higher-ups, the man in the suit chatted with Chen Fan a bit more about the recent happenings at the Tiangong space station. Before finally saying his goodbyes and leaving, Chen Fan's closed-door cultivation continued. 1 year passed, then another. Before he even realized it, he had been isolated in the chamber for 2 full years. During the second year, Yang Si still came to keep him company every single day. But Bu Tianren visited less and less, until eventually, he vanished completely. Chen Fan only found out what happened when he saw a message left on his personal terminal. The guy felt he was too old, hopelessly believing he had no chance at cultivation. So he just went and hit the reset button. He was planning to respawn and continue training under Chen Fan in his next life. Now who knows how long it'll take for the space station to resurrect that idiot. As time marched on, the blink of an eye brought them to the 3rd year of Chen Fan's seclusion. The man in the suit showed up again with more news about the top brass. "Bro, trust me on this. The intel I got today is absolutely mind-blowing." Outside the chamber, the man in the suit told Chen Fan, "The space station's top brass finally figured out why the Tower Prison is locking humans up. Please keep reading, guys, don't stockpile the chapters these next few days." Chapter 50, The Black Mist. "Wait, what?" Chen Fan gasped, shocked. "Why?" The man in the suit replied, "Because when a person is being tortured, they generate a type of black mist. And this black mist contains a massive amount of energy. You can think of the black mist like oil, natural gas, or solar power. It's not too hard to understand when I put it like that, right?" "I get it, but..." Chen Fan asked, completely confused. Aren't they always saying that matter and energy can't just be created out of thin air? This black mist generated from torturing people. It sounds like it's coming from nowhere, almost like some sort of perpetual motion machine. That just defies all logic. You're right, it doesn't make sense, the man in the suit agreed. But the very existence of resurrection can't be explained by science either, can it? When you think about it that way, humans generating black mist when tortured. I guess that makes it easier to accept, huh? True enough. Chen Fan stopped obsessing over whether the black mist made sense. He changed the subject. Since you said people generate this black mist when they are tortured, there is one thing I do not get. How come I never saw any of this black mist you were talking about back in the tower prison? Because the black mist is completely invisible to the naked eye, the man in the suit replied. The only reason the station even discovered it is mostly thanks to Li Shu. He invented a special kind of lens. You just put them on, and you can see the mist with your own eyes. Seriously? Chen Fan always knew Li Shu was a genius, but he never realized the guy was on a whole other level. Li Shu really is something else, the man in the suit continued. Because of this discovery, he is now the team leader of the station's research group. His status is super high right now. And since he joined our separatist society, anytime the research team makes a new breakthrough, we are the first to know about it. Man, Li Shu has really made it to the big leagues. Thinking about this, Chen Fan could not help but ask, so, what is Li Shu's research team working on lately? Trying to figure out how to harness and use the black mist, of course, the man in the suit answered. They are treating it like a brand new energy source. The higher-ups are taking this really seriously. So, while trying to save themselves, they have actually carved out some resources just to fund his research. The black mist. Outside the lab, after chatting with Chen Fan about the mist, the man in the suit hurriedly said his goodbyes and left. Strength is the foundation of everything. Even though the space station was undergoing massive, earth-shattering changes, Chen Fan just stayed locked up in his secret room, focusing entirely on his training. Time flew by, as seasons came and went. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. Another major event happened on the Tiangong space station. Well, I guess you could call it a major event. But honestly, it does not really affect us that much. Outside the secret room, the man in the suit looked at Chen Fan and said, "Remember how I told you that all the higher-ups on the Europa space station died? Well, not too long ago, one of those Europa executives unexpectedly resurrected right here on our station. Guy just got lucky. He had a Chinese name, and just happened to be brought back by our people. Thanks to him, we got our hands on a ton of tech related to the Biological Ascension project." Chen Fan had never been much of a tech guy, so he just stayed quiet. He listened silently as the man in the suit continued. You know how back on the Europa station, that giant brain mentioned a virtual world? You remember that, right? I remember. The phrase, virtual world actually piqued Chen Fan's interest. He pressed, what about it? The man in the suit replied, well, it turns out the virtual world that Giant Brain was talking about is completely real. Think of it like a massive online game. The Giant Brain is basically the server keeping the game running, and everyone who uploads their consciousness becomes a player inside that game. That was a pretty vivid analogy, but Chen Fan was still confused. That is how it works, Chen Fan said. Then how do you explain Collins, the leader of that 6-man squad? Why was his version inside the virtual world totally fake? The man in the suit answered, because the giant brain only has so much computing power. That is not hard to grasp, right? Everyone knows that the more players you have in an online game, the heavier the load on the server. It is the same deal with the giant brain. So, to save computing power, the big shots at the Europa station only uploaded their own consciousnesses to the cloud server. As for the middle and lower classes, they were just turned into fuel. Fuel used to power up that giant brain. And that includes Collins. As for exactly how he was turned into fuel, man, I cannot even begin to explain that to you. I am not exactly a scientist, after all. To Chen Fan, the resurrection of a Europa station executive was just a minor distraction. He did not really care about it anymore. Instead, he pivoted and asked, by the way, how is the research on that black mist going? Any progress? Nope, the man in the suit said after a moment's thought. According to Li Shu, the black mist is this highly unusual, inert substance. And by inert, he means it barely reacts to anything physically or chemically. It stays completely stable no matter the environment. So, even though that black mist is packed with a massive amount of energy, it's going to be really hard to figure out how to actually use it anytime soon. Oh, right. At this point, the guy in the suit seemed to suddenly remember something. He turned toward Chen Fan and added, lately, Li Shu has been asking me about how you're doing. He says he needs your help with something. But when I asked him what exactly it was about, he just laughed and refused to say. So, I figured I'd ask you, roughly how much longer until you're out of seclusion? Soon. Inside the hidden room, Chen Fan, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly snapped his eyes open. In that instant, a wave of spiritual energy, so dense it felt almost physical, surged and erupted from his body. Now that his foundation was fully formed, Chen Fan was just one single step away from the foundation stage. Outside the room, the strange phenomena triggered by Chen Fan opening his eyes made the guy in the suit instinctively feel a bit uneasy. With a hint of panic in his voice, he called out, "Hey man, are you okay in there?" My heart just suddenly started pounding out of nowhere. "Nothing went wrong, did it?" "Relax, I'm perfectly fine," Chen Fan replied. "If everything goes as planned, I should be able to finish up by February of next year." "Around the spring festival, huh?" The guy in the suit looked thoughtful. Half expectant and half curious, he spoke to Chen Fan through the wall. "Alright then, when the time comes, I'll bring the guys over to throw you a welcome back party." After a bit more small talk, the man in the suit said his goodbyes and left. Chen Fan, meanwhile, continued his deep meditation in the hidden room. Chapter 51, Foundation Establishment. Please vote with your monthly tickets and keep reading. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, it was February 10th of the following year. Right at noon, Chen Fan, still sitting cross-legged in the hidden room, suddenly felt a stir in his spirit. He instinctively stood up from the floor. As he moved, radiant bursts of light suddenly surged all around his body. Countless wisps of white mist swirled through the air. This mist was actually the overflow of energy from his breakthrough into the foundation stage. Spiritual energy so pure it had taken physical form. For a moment, the entire room looked like an absolute wonderland. As time passed, some of that spiritual energy drifted out of the room. It didn't take long for it to catch the attention of the other cultivators aboard the space station. And things were very different this time around. The sheer density of this spiritual energy was far greater than when Chen Fan first went into seclusion. So, as soon as they noticed these strange signs, the cultivators all began to instinctively gather outside Chen Fan's hidden room. Now, there weren't that many cultivators on the space station, but with all of them crowding together like that, they definitely caused quite a bit of a commotion. Because of this, the guy in the suit and his crew from the Separatist Society, along with Li Shu and the researchers working hard on the second floor, all started making their way toward Chen Fan. The crowd completely packed the hallway outside the room, blocking it off entirely. Under the watchful eyes of the massive crowd, Chen Fan slowly stepped out of the hidden room. Compared to before, it was incredibly obvious. His entire aura had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. This profound change made everyone in the crowd instinctively think of a single word: Bai Li Bi. He's a true immortal. Senior Chen actually did it. Out in the hallway, as soon as they saw Chen Fan step out of the room, a young guy, looking barely in his early 20s, rushed forward. He dropped to his knees, bowed his head to the floor, and shouted, "Your disciple, Bu Tianren, respectfully welcomes Senior Chen out of seclusion." The moment he said this, two other cultivators who had been studying the arts alongside him also hurriedly dropped to their knees, bowing deeply. "Your disciples, Qian Ming and Ran Zuyu, respectfully welcome Senior Chen out of seclusion." Their sudden display instantly fired up the atmosphere in the crowd. And since Chen Fan had just broken through, the spiritual energy within him was still uncontrollably pouring out. So, upon feeling that overwhelming aura that belongs exclusively to a foundation stage cultivator, every single cultivator present dropped to their knees and bowed to Chen Fan. The entire crowd roared in unison, respectfully welcoming Senior Chen out of seclusion. Now, knowing Chen Fan's personality, he really wasn't a fan of doing things in such a high-profile way. But he didn't have much of a choice. The Tiangong space station was only so big. The moment he broke through, the other cultivators were bound to hear the commotion. Attracting a massive crowd was pretty much inevitable. Chen Fan just let out a helpless smile. He swept his gaze over the crowd of kneeling cultivators and spoke in a calm, steady voice. "You can all get up. They say that when a man attains enlightenment, even his dogs and chickens rise to the heavens. Since I've successfully reached the foundation stage, naturally, you'll all get your share of the benefits. In a little while, I'll find a good time to hold a formal lecture. I'll pass down my teachings, share my knowledge, and answer any questions you might have." The moment those words were spoken, the cultivators went absolutely wild with joy. As if on cue, the crowd roared together in unison, "Thank you, Senior Chen." Chen Fan just waved them off, not saying another word. His gaze shifted to Yang Si, the only person in the crowd who hadn't dropped to her knees. She quickly managed a polite smile and murmured, "Congratulations." Maybe it was a sense of inferiority, or perhaps something else entirely, but facing Chen Fan right now, Yang Si had unknowingly become much more reserved. An invisible wall had quietly built up between them. Chen Fan didn't think too much of it, though. He simply gave her a slight nod in return. Receiving his nod, Yang Si quickly looked away, staying completely silent. Heaven knows what was actually going through her mind. Out in the main corridor, once the crowd of cultivators had finally cleared out, Li Shu finally stepped forward. He had a pair of glasses perched on the bridge of his nose. Now, that was an incredibly rare sight on the space station. Since the resurrection spell basically resets a person's physical state and cures absolutely every illness, nearsightedness simply didn't exist here. And without bad eyesight, naturally, nobody wore glasses. Realizing this, Chen Fan couldn't help but stare at the frames on Li Shu's face, feeling a bit suspicious. "Could it be?" "You guessed it," Li Shu said, seemingly reading Chen Fan's mind. "These glasses let me see the black mist," he explained. Dark mist goggles, essentially. As he spoke, he reached into the backpack slung over his shoulder and pulled out an identical pair. He held them out to Chen Fan. Well, wanna give them a try? Try them how? Chen Fan took the glasses instinctively, looking at him with utter confusion. Li Shu didn't waste his breath. Instead, he reached back into his bag and pulled out an intricately designed dagger. Without a second thought, he slashed his own arm. An instant later, a thin line of blood began to slowly seep from the cut. Seeing that, Chen Fan instantly understood what Li Shu was getting at. He quickly slipped the dark mist glasses onto his face. Through the lenses, he could faintly make out wisps of an ethereal black mist drifting straight out of Li Shu's wound. His eyes widened in shock. Whoa, is that the black mist? Yeah. Through the lenses, a brief, manic flash of obsession flickered in Li Shu's eyes. Perhaps trying to hide that fanatical gleam, Li Shu ducked his head, nervously pushing his glasses up his nose as he spoke. What you're looking at right now is exactly what the tower prison has been harvesting, the black mist. This mist holds a massive amount of raw energy. So, what do you say? Want to try absorbing a little? Wait, I can actually absorb this stuff? Chen Fan asked, eyeing him with heavy suspicion. There won't be any messed up side effects, right? There might be. Li Shu's voice dropped, sounding almost like the whisper of a demon. But at the same time, the mist can absolutely skyrocket your power levels. So, there are side effects, but it'll make me stronger? Hearing that, a flicker of deep hesitation crossed Chen Fan's eyes. To absorb it, or to leave it the hell alone? After a moment of tense deliberation, Chen Fan kept his guard up and carefully drew in a single wisp of the black mist, no thicker than a strand of hair. He hardly took in anything at all, but man, the kick was absolutely brutal. Pure agony, blinding rage, violent frustration, crushing anxiety, a torrential flood of negative emotions slammed into him all at once, drowning his entire consciousness in an instant. Thankfully, the wave of darkness faded just as fast as it hit. Once he finally caught his breath, Chen Fan snapped at Li Shu. My head just flooded with some seriously messed up thoughts. What the hell was that? Li Shu slowly lifted his head. By now, that manic gleam in his eyes had mutated into outright, unchecked madness. Dropping the act entirely, he stared dead at Chen Fan with the crazed look of Columbus spotting the new world. His eyes burned brightly. Just as I hypothesized, the black mist actually can be absorbed by a human body, but only on one condition. The subject has to be just as insanely strong as you. Their willpower, their physical resilience, every single stat has to be off the charts. Just as you hypothesized? Chen Fan instantly locked onto the most crucial part of that sentence. His face darkened with sheer annoyance. Are you kidding me? After all that, you were just using me as your lab rat? Would it have killed you to give me a heads up first? My apologies. That was incredibly out of line. Coming down from his high, the feverish obsession slowly drained from Li Shu's eyes. But even though the words "I'm sorry" came out of his mouth, his face remained completely, chillingly blank. Chen Fan felt a bit speechless at this, but he watched as Li Shu continued. That black mist is formed by human resentment. To put it bluntly, it's just people's negative emotions. And since you absorbed all those negative emotions, naturally, all sorts of dark thoughts crept into your head. That's the side effect of absorbing the black mist. Li Shu looked at Chen Fan and added, and as for that point, we just saw the proof of it with you just a moment ago. And the other thing is, black mist also boosts the power of whoever absorbs it. He stated with absolute certainty. If you don't believe me, just calm your mind and feel it for yourself. See if there are any changes to your spiritual energy. Brothers, drop your monthly passes if you have them. Chapter 52. The space station's second level. Seeing how confident Li Shu was, Chen Fan didn't argue. He just calmed his mind and silently focused on the shifts in his spiritual energy. A moment later, he nodded and said, it really did increase, but not by much. It's probably less than 1% of my total capacity. Yeah, Li Shu replied. That's completely normal. After all, I only gave myself a tiny cut on the arm. It didn't cause that much pain. Realizing something, Chen Fan asked, so you mean, the more pain a person goes through, the more black mist they produce? Exactly. Perhaps still not entirely used to wearing glasses, Li Shu subconsciously adjusted the frames on the bridge of his nose again. He suggested, why don't you come with me to the second level? I'll show you some of our experiments regarding the black mist. I can go to the second level? Chen Fan asked, taken aback. Yeah, I've got the clearance for it now. As he spoke, Li Shu suddenly turned to the guy in the suit beside him. Why don't you tag along too? With that said, he led the way toward the space station's second level. The rest of the research staff followed closely behind him. Walking down the corridor, Chen Fan and the man in the suit exchanged a quick glance. The two didn't say a word, and quickly fell in line at the back of the group. Compared to the first floor, the second level of the Tiangong space station was noticeably much smaller. As Chen Fan walked, he noticed countless holding cells lining both sides of the corridor, all fitted with heavy bunker doors. Driven by curiosity, he peered into one of them. Locked inside was a young man. He wasn't yelling or causing any trouble. He just sat there crouched on the floor, staring blankly ahead. He was so quiet that it felt kind of creepy. That's a pseudo-human. Seeing Chen Fan staring into the cell, Li Shu chimed in to explain. He's probably been locked up in there for over 120 years. That long? Chen Fan asked in shock. Wouldn't he just die of old age? Nope, Li Shu explained. Inside a pseudo-human's body, there are tons of cancer cells capable of infinite division. And all of these cancer cells are completely controllable. They act just like stem cells, differentiating into all the various tissue cells found in a human body. And since they are fundamentally cancer cells, they can completely bypass the Hayflick limit. That's why pseudo-humans never age. Out of habit, Li Shu pushed his glasses up his nose. He continued, and because of this very trait, space station's higher-ups paid a massive price to send cyborgs down to the surface just to capture one of them. It's just a shame. It's been exactly 120 years, and the station still hasn't been able to figure out a single damn thing from studying this pseudo-human. Walking down the second level's corridor, Chen Fan listened to Li Shu's explanation while glancing into the other nearby holding cells. In the cell right next to the pseudo-human, he spotted a creature standing on all fours. Its entire body was covered in a thick, pitch-black carapace. This thing, Chen Fan actually recognized. It was a thalamus sentinel. Their individual combat strength wasn't all that impressive, but they made up for it with almost endless numbers. They were a massive headache to deal with. Walking a little further down, Chen Fan looked into another cell. There, he saw something entirely blood-red. It was a grotesque, bizarre thing that looked exactly like a giant fleshy tumor. Just looking at it, it felt like staring at some unspeakable monstrosity straight out of the Cthulhu mythos. Don't overthink it. Beside him, Li Shu seemed to read Chen Fan's mind. He casually explained, that giant tumor there? We created it by combining the cells of a domestic pig with a thalamus sentinel. This cultivated specimen. Sure, the monster looks terrifying, but in reality, it doesn't even have basic mobility. Hearing this, Chen Fan asked curiously, this fleshy mass, and those mimics and thalamus sentinels from earlier. What do you guys even feed them? We don't feed them anything, Li Shu replied, his face entirely blank. These unknown lifeforms can survive just fine without eating a single thing. Wait, Chen Fan was thoroughly confused. Doesn't that make them perpetual motion machines? Strictly speaking, no, Li Shu answered. It's just like how you cultivators can absorb spiritual energy from the world around you. These unknown entities also have their own ways of drawing in energy. It's just that with humanity's current level of technology, we haven't been able to figure it out yet. As they spoke, Chen Fan followed Li Shu into a laboratory packed with all sorts of instruments and testing equipment. The lab looked a lot like the Spine Jellyfish Laboratory on the Europa Space Station. Right in the center, there was another massive glass cube. Carved inside the cube were bizarre geometric patterns, specifically designed for resurrecting human beings. Li Shu walked straight up to the glass cube. Without even looking back, he called out to Chen Fan behind him. Watch closely. I'm going to show you exactly how that black mist affects a human. With that, he began tapping away at the terminal outside the glass cube. Under his control, a synthesized electronic voice echoed from inside the cube, announcing, Resurrected subject name, Yuruma. Born on February 21st, 31,982 BC, at 1:03 a.m. The very next second, completely naked ancient human, with body hair noticeably thicker than a modern person's, materialized out of thin air right inside the glass cube. Is that an ape man? Chen Fan asked, after observing it for a few seconds. No, Li Shu corrected him flatly. Ape men are also known as Homo habilis and Homo erectus. There's still a definitive gap between them and modern humans. Modern humans are classified as Homo sapiens. So, what you're looking at right now, is a Homo sapiens that lived over 30,000 years ago. From a purely biological standpoint, a Homo sapiens from 30,000 years ago is practically indistinguishable from modern humans like us. Inside the laboratory, Li Shu pushed his glasses up with his right index finger, his expression ice cold. Originally, I planned to use modern humans for these experiments. I personally couldn't care less. But doing that would put too much psychological pressure on the other researchers. They just couldn't handle the moral implications. So I switched over to using ancient Homo sapiens instead. An ancient human's intelligence really isn't all that different from ours. Inside the glass cube, the newly resurrected ancient human first looked around in a daze. His face was full of curiosity and shock. A few seconds later, the ancient human realized he was trapped inside a glass isolation tank, and he instantly became violent and frantic. He began violently slamming his fists against the tempered glass, letting out furious, guttural roars. Li Shu paid absolutely no mind to this. He simply kept typing away at the terminal. As he worked, a clear glass tube filled with that swirling black mist slowly lowered down from the laboratory ceiling. Seeing this, Chen Fan looked thoughtful. So those are the black mists generated from human suffering? Li Shu tapped the glasses on his face. He explained, both that transparent glass tube and the black mist glasses we're wearing have a specific amount of zirconium woven into them. That's what allows us to see the black mist with our own naked eyes. Chapter 53, Black Mist and the Tower Prison. Damn. Hearing Li Shu's explanation, realization dawned on Chen Fan's face. No wonder the space station was mining rare metals like zirconium ore. So after all this time, it was all for scientific research. Back in the laboratory, under the watchful eyes of Chen Fan, the man in the suit, and the rest of the research team, Li Shu controlled the clear glass tube, forcing it brutally right into the ancient human's back. The very next second, accompanied by the ancient human's agonizing screams, a massive amount of black mist began flooding into his body like a running river. Chen Fan knew all too well just how terrifying that black mist really was. Just moments ago, he had only absorbed a tiny fraction of it, and his consciousness had instantly been swallowed whole by an endless tide of negative emotions. If even a cultivator like Chen Fan reacted that way, it wasn't hard to imagine what an ancient human injected with a massive dose of it would go through. Right now, he had to be enduring unimaginable agony. The man's entire body convulsed violently as he let out endless, heart-wrenching wails. The gruesome sight made everyone, Chen Fan included, wince in sheer discomfort. Only Li Shu remained completely expressionless. Like a heartless machine, he just stood there without batting an eye, watching the ancient human suffer through that agonizing torture. And not only that, Li Shu even started explaining things to Chen Fan as he watched. Normally, you can't just directly absorb the black mist. If you want to take it in, you have to use a conduit. And even then, you can't absorb too much all at once. Otherwise, you end up wishing you were dead. Just like this ancient guy here. After saying that, Li Shu just stood there in total silence. As if he was waiting for something to happen. The seconds painfully ticked by. Roar. Finally, the ancient human just couldn't take the agonizing pain anymore. His mind completely shattered, letting out these guttural, beast-like screams. Right at that moment, Li Shu calmly warned Chen Fan. Watch closely, it's starting. Inside the glass cube, as more and more of the black mist pumped into the ancient human's body. His body actually started swelling up right before their eyes. In just the blink of an eye, the guy ballooned into this massive, grotesque tumor. And the tumor was covered in these spikes. Soft, squirming spikes that looked like tentacles densely coated its entire surface. Honestly, looking at it was just downright horrifying. And that concludes the experiment. Li Shu turned to Chen Fan, who had watched the whole sick process, and explained. See that? You can absorb the black mist, but it has to be in strict moderation. If you overdose, you mutate into a giant flesh tumor, just like him. And honestly, if it was just a physical mutation, it wouldn't be a huge deal. After all, we have resurrection magic to completely reset a person's state, right? So, as long as you die, the mutation gets wiped and you're back to being human. But the real problem is, Li Shu paused, stressing every single syllable. Turning into that tumor is highly addictive. Addictive? Chen Fan froze for a second. What do you mean by that? Li Shu thought for a moment. Let's put it this way. When a normal person pets a cute puppy, the dopamine released in their brain is about 30 units. Basking in the warm winter sun? That's about 40 units. A satisfying yawn gives you 50. And it slowly scales up from there. The dopamine rush you get from scratching a really good itch is right around 100 units. Sex gives you 200 units. Hard drugs? Those push it all the way up to 1000 units. Once you hit that level, it becomes psychologically impossible for a human being to quit. And that right there is the very core of addiction. As he spoke, Li Shu suddenly pointed at the monitor on the control terminal. You see the number on that screen? Yeah, I see it. Chen Fan replied, staring blankly at the display. The number flashing on the screen was 10,000. In that exact moment, a terrifying thought hit him. He swallowed hard, hesitating. Wait, this 10,000. Don't tell me it's, you guessed it. Li Shu cut in. That 10,000 is the exact dose of dopamine being pumped out by that tumor. Which means, the moment someone overdoses on the black mist and mutates into that thing, they experience a wave of pure ecstasy that words can't even describe. That kind of high? It guarantees a 100% addiction rate. From that second on, they are nothing more than mindless slaves, craving their next hit of the black mist. And worst of all, Li Shu stressed his words carefully, since the addiction is purely psychological. The mental damage caused by the black mist is completely irreversible. Even if you kill them and use resurrection magic to reset their physical body, their mind will still be screaming for that mist. They'd willingly turn themselves back into that hideous tumor just to feel it again. But, of course, Li Shu continued calmly, even though the side effects are completely catastrophic, there's no reason to just write it off completely. After all, the payoff for absorbing it is massive. As long as you strictly control the dosage, the black mist will continuously boost every single physical attribute of the human body. Not to mention, it can even skyrocket a cultivator's spiritual power. Chen Fan wasn't stupid. He knew perfectly well that Li Shu hadn't dragged him all the way up to the second floor of the space station just to give him a science lecture. He cut straight to the chase. Shenjing mentioned earlier that you needed my help with something, so just spit it out. After dumping all this information on me, what exactly do you want me to do? Hey, Li Shu let out a rare, sudden chuckle. But the smile was terribly forced and unnatural. A totally empty smile that didn't reach his eyes at all. But this alone was enough to show Li Shu's sincerity when asking for a favor. He genuinely wanted Chen Fan's help. Li Shu turned to Chen Fan and said, since humans release massive amounts of black mist when they're tortured, it's pretty obvious that the tower prison is torturing them. Most likely just to harvest that black mist. So, to figure out exactly why the tower prison is collecting it, and what on earth they want to use it for, our Tiangong and Paradise space stations have been sending wave after wave of cyborgs down to the surface. But without exception, not a single one of those cyborgs made it back alive. And they didn't manage to uncover a damn thing, either. That's why I thought of you, Li Shu continued. Plus, you were in closed-door cultivation before, right? So I never really had the chance to bring this up with you. But now that you're out, and by the looks of it, your strength seems to have skyrocketed. So, I was hoping you could lead the team. Infiltrate the tower prison and investigate exactly what's going on over there. The technology of those pseudo-humans seems to be leaps and bounds ahead of ours. Just take those glowing orbs, for example, the ones that shoot red lasers and can effortlessly slice a human body into countless pieces. That alone was enough to make Chen Fan incredibly wary. Add to that the fact that after the cyborgs went to the tower prison, not a single one came back alive. Considering all this, Chen Fan wasn't in any rush to give Li Shu an answer. He just quietly looked at the guy, waiting for him to continue. Sure enough, Li Shu laid out his terms, saying, if you're willing to take this mission. First off, you can have your pick of any cyborg from both the Paradise and Tiangong space stations. On top of that, whatever weapons and gear you need, we can fully equip your team with. And then, there's my brain, along with Zug Fu. While you're out there executing the mission, we'll be right here in the backline, providing you with full tactical support the entire time. And if this mission is a success, you'll get first dibs on any results from our future research into the Black Mist. So, what do you say? Li Shu finally added, if you're not satisfied, feel free to name your own terms. Chapter 54, Combat Power. The biggest difference between a Foundation Establishment cultivator and a Chi Condensation cultivator is that Foundation Establishment cultivators can rely on artifacts to fly through the air. And let me tell you, the gap between being able to fly and being grounded is absolutely massive. Because of this, Chen Fan's absolute top priority right now was figuring out how to forge a flying sword for himself. Since he could name his own terms, Chen Fan turned to Li Shu and said, 204,883.10. I want about 1,000 grams of refined metal. And as for the purity, the higher, the better. That shouldn't be too hard, right? It's not hard, Li Shu replied, his face completely blank. But what specific metals do you need? Gold, silver, copper, iron? Or maybe titanium? Gold, silver, copper, and iron were all incredibly common metals. As for titanium, it was a metal widely used in the aerospace industry, 7,888, which was why Li Shu brought it up. Chen Fan thought about it for a second and said, I'll just take silver, nickel, and lead, those three. And as for the ratio, give it to me in a 3:4:3 ratio. Li Shu was a very smart guy. Hearing Chen Fan's request, he said thoughtfully, the silver, nickel, and lead you're asking for, they're all highly conductive metals, both electrically and thermally. To put it simply, they transfer energy quickly with minimal loss. So, I'm guessing. As he said this, a brief flash of fanatic excitement crossed Li Shu's eyes. Are you asking for these metals because you're planning to forge a magical artifact? Yeah, seeing that Li Shu had hit the nail right on the head, Chen Fan openly admitted it. I'm planning to forge a flying sword for self-defense. That's actually a pretty solid combination, Li Shu chimed back in. High-purity silver, lead, and nickel. Aside from their excellent energy transfer properties, lead also brings high toughness and malleability to the table. And on top of that, nickel alloys are even stronger than steel. I've never actually seen a flying sword before, but even I can figure out that mixing those three metals together is definitely the absolute best choice for forging a magical artifact. It's just that, at this point, Li Shu suddenly shifted his tone. That 3:4:3 ratio you just mentioned? That's probably not the optimal blend for forging. That ratio can definitely be optimized further. Revealing his true intentions, he added, if you don't mind, why don't you tell me exactly how you forged this flying sword? 70%. Let me see if I can help you improve the process. Let me see if I can help you improve it. Well, this. If Li Shu could actually optimize the metal ratio, it would definitely take the flying sword's quality to a whole new level. So, Chen Fan really couldn't find a single reason to say no. Willingly taking the bait, he replied, alright, fine. I'll teach you the whole process of forging the flying sword in a bit. But you have to promise me one thing. Help me forge a really high-quality flying sword. Deal? No problem at all. Getting his hands on Chen Fan's flying sword forging technique was obviously a huge win for Li Shu, so he agreed without a moment's hesitation. Of course, Chen Fan didn't get the short end of the stick, either. It was a win-win for both of them. Back in the lab, after coming to an agreement with Chen Fan, Li Shu continued. Our operation this time is a massive joint effort between the Paradise and Tiangong space stations. And since you're the team leader, I need to arrange our tactics properly. So, I need you to cooperate while we test your physical stats. It was a perfectly reasonable request. Chen Fan nodded. Alright, what are we testing first? Let's start with strength. Li Shu grabbed a resistance machine from the lab and handed it over. This is specially designed to measure cyborgs. A normal person couldn't even budget, but I'm guessing you won't have any problem. Chen Fan didn't waste any time. He took the machine and immediately channeled his spiritual energy to enhance his body. He pulled with about 70% of his full strength. A second later, the machine lit up with a score of 500. 500 kilograms, huh? Li Shu stared blankly. I'm actually pretty surprised. I mean, even a cyborg maxes out at around 700 kilograms of pull. It made sense that Chen Fan couldn't outmuscle a cyborg. After all, a cultivator's true strength lay in their endless array of techniques. Not just raw physical numbers. After strength, they moved on to speed. According to Li Shu's data, an athletic adult could sprint 50 meters in under 7 seconds. Cyborgs, on the other hand, usually clocked in between 7 and 9 seconds. And those fitted with heavy-duty armor modules could even take 10 seconds or more. But in stark contrast, Chen Fan's results were absolutely insane. Still holding back at 70% effort, he smashed out a 5.6-second run. Next up was reaction speed. And just like with sprinting, cyborgs actually fell behind normal humans here, too. An average guy's reaction time was about 300 milliseconds, while cyborgs usually dragged at 400 to 500 milliseconds or more. Meanwhile, Chen Fan breezed through the test in less than 200 milliseconds. After running through the whole battery of physical tests, Li Shu gave his final assessment. I've got a formula here to calculate an individual's combat power. It's a standardized metric that the Tiangong and Paradise space stations came up with together. The math is pretty complicated, so I'll just skip right to the final score. Li Shu explained calmly, a normal adult male has a combat power somewhere between 5 and 6. Now, a cyborg fitted with strength modules can hit about 63 points. As for you, based on those rough tests we just did, I'm clocking your combat power at around 79 points. And that's with you completely unarmed. Li Shu emphasized his point. Sure, the strength-modded cyborgs score high on raw power, but their bulky frames make them terrible with firearms and other weapons. You, on the other hand, have a massive edge over cyborgs when it comes to speed, explosive burst, and reflexes. So, whether you're using guns or melee weapons, in your hands, 1 + 1 equals way more than 2. Factoring all that in, I'm bumping your official combat power up to 89 points before making it public. How does that sound? Make it public? Chen Fan scowled at the idea. Li Shu quickly explained, I know you want to keep a low profile, but laying low means you won't get any respect. And no respect means the space station won't prioritize resources for you. Besides, you're the leader of this mission. Without an 89 combat score to back you up, you really think you can keep those cyborgs in line? You think they'd actually listen to you? Flexing his muscles a bit would definitely secure him better resources. Chen Fan understood the logic perfectly, so he caved. Fine, whatever. Go ahead and publish my profile with the 89 points. Just, don't go running your mouth about anything else. Of course, Li Shu agreed, turning to grab a sleek monocle off the lab table. He held it up. This is a high-speed camera laced with zirconium. By tracking a target's movement speed, their reflexes, explosive burst, and even their drag resistance while running, it can roughly calculate their combat power. It's not perfectly accurate, but it gives you a solid ballpark figure. Oh, and since the lens is laced with trace amounts of zirconium, it also lets you see the black mist with your own eyes. Here, it's yours. Li Shu pressed the monocle into Chen Fan's hand, grinning. I built this thing myself. And, well, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan, so I just went ahead and named it a Scouter. Chapter 55, Locked and Loaded. Chen Fan stared at him. Who would have thought a guy like Li Shu actually reads manga? In the lab, Chen Fan wore a rather bizarre expression. He took the combat power detector and clipped it over his left eye. He gave his head a slight shake. Not bad at all. It felt really secure. This detector wouldn't just fall off from large or sudden movements. It was perfectly fine to wear even in the heat of battle. Good stuff. After handing over the gear, Li Shu added, the roster for this operation. I'll just send it straight to your personal terminal. If there's anyone on there you don't like, just let me know. I'll kick them off the team right away. And as for that flying sword you wanted, Li Shu thought for a moment before saying, give it 3 days. It works out perfectly, since the operation kicks off in exactly 3 days anyway. I'll have someone deliver the sword to you then. I appreciate the trouble, Chen Fan replied politely. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had come and gone. Knowing he had an upcoming mission to execute, Chen Fan poured almost all of his energy into consolidating his cultivation base. He spent the entire time in secluded meditation. Finally, in the early hours of the 4th day, Li Shu delivered the newly forged flying sword he had promised. By the standards of the cultivation world, The quality of this flying sword was absolutely top tier, making it what is commonly known as a high-grade magical artifact. Once properly nurtured, it could sever an enemy's head from 1,000 miles away, or be ridden to travel 10,000 miles in a single day. Upon receiving the blade, Chen Fan immediately carved his spiritual imprint into it.